A massive crowd of young adults was abruptly dragged into an unknown dimension. Instantly, a glowing system prompt materialized, forcing everyone to gear up for the Chapter 1 adaptation. The countdown until the first monster slaughter, barely 4 minutes and 21 seconds. Amidst the panic, a long-haired dude blinked as a secretive treasure chest spawned exclusively for his eyes only. Now, armed with the god-tier mystical power he looted from the chest, how will he survive the upcoming monster bloodbath to unravel this insane mystery? We rewind exactly 1 day to our main character, Jong-sun, who stood trapped inside a bizarre dimension echoing with aggressively grinding mechanical gears. A piercing chime shattered the silence. Player Jong-sun, your time is up. Right as the voice faded, a mysterious girl dripping in divine radiance extended her glowing hand, trying to pull him into the unknown. Yet to grasp the full picture, we must delve into the Temple of 10,000 Demons. The Greed Demon commanded legions to forge a sanctuary from pure hellfire gold, ripped straight from Hell Mountain. Originally reigning over the tower's absolute peak, the third catastrophic war between deities and fiends changed everything. Every last remnant of the dark factions, including this very temple, was violently hurled straight down from the towering summit. Following their brutal downfall, just as the realm dared to breathe a sigh of temporary relief, an unknown cosmic threat ambushed them instantly, reducing everything to ashes. These monstrous outsiders aggressively slaughtered the divine constellations, using abilities far exceeding godly realms, completely wiping out the defenseless players who had absolutely nothing left. A broken reality where every single awakened soul was eradicated. That is the tower's current nightmare, leaving Jong-sun as humanity's absolute last hope. It is totally insane. The demonic sanctuary plummeted straight down to the 92nd floor. Honestly, that disaster gave us a literal cheat code. The ultimate prize I am hunting for is buried right here, Mammon's hidden stash. If I harness its divine power to actually reverse time. Jong-sun plotted silently. Just then, the second he pushed the heavy doors open, the system pinged. Player Jong-sun has successfully breached the Temple of 10,000 Demons. First Blood, an awakened, has infiltrated the cursed temple. You have just unlocked a ridiculously historic and legendary milestone. A mere mortal stepping right into divine territory, glorious achievement unlocked. Completely brushing off the glowing blue text, Jong-sun exhaled a heavy, exhausted breath. I actually survived the trek. So this is the notorious demon sanctuary, right? He murmured, locking his eyes ahead. A blindingly massive ocean of glittering gold stretched infinitely before Jong-sun's face. But before he could even drool over the loot, the entire cavern violently quaked, sending terrifying fissures crawling across the ancient ceiling. Panic spiked through Jong-sun's veins. Is it over there? I am literally out of time, he growled, his face twisting anxiously, instantly triggering his unique skill, Journey's Milestone. This is the absolute peak radar ability for exploring and tracking, via heroic leap. Without this busted radar, discovering the demon temple or even surviving this hellscape would have been totally impossible. I am betting everything on you again. Guide me straight to Mammon's vault, he whispered. Instantly, the glowing compass needle spun, forcing him into a dead sprint. A solid wall. Why is it pointing at that junk? Jong-sun, mentally cursed as the needle, zeroed in on a rusty wall candle. With 0 seconds left to debate, our desperate protagonist instantly snatched the metal fixture and violently cranked it downward. Instantly, the heavy stone rumbled and shifted apart, exposing a pitch-black hidden tunnel inside. Sprinting down the endless spiral staircase, he finally crashed into a colossal golden gate. Staring at the barrier, Jong-sun smirked to himself. This is definitely the Greed Vault. Who knew I would actually owe that snake Felix a huge favor? My blood still boils whenever I recall how badly he scammed me. Right on cue, a wildly frustrating flashback flooded the main character's brain. A sketchy dude rocking a monk outfit tossed a rusty key at Jong-sun's feet, like literal trash. Here, take this junk. Consider your quest fully paid off. A single key, yeah, plus my wallet is completely empty right now anyway. Hearing this absolute garbage, Jong-sun fiercely refused, instantly glaring daggers at the scammer. That totally violates our official guild contract. If you keep milking my labor for free, I am walking away. Hearing his threat, Felix and his shady goons erupted into mocking laughter. Not sweating it at all. Breach the contract, and your hunting career instantly turns to dust. Are you really testing me? Back then I was totally clueless about the key's true value, and foolishly accepted it as my fee. Jong-sun let out a dark chuckle, brutally shoving the artifact into the heavy lock. Instantly, a blinding system prompt exploded on screen. The hidden property of the golden key has awakened. Mammon's golden key, an elite item granting absolute clearance into the demon's legendary vault, entered the sanctuary of greed. As the heavy door swung open, a brain-melting ocean of mythical loot assaulted his vision. Mountains of pure gold and silver stretched infinitely. With every step deeper, absurdly overpowered artifacts were just casually stacked everywhere. The legendary cursed blade Tierfing, An authentic heavenly demon technique scroll. A 10th circle ancient magic grimoire. An actual dragon's heart. How the hell did they hoard all these god-tier drops? Jung Sun mentally screamed in pure awe, just as the cavern's violent quakes aggressively escalated, demanding immediate action. Looks like that dimensional rift has officially sealed shut. Time is up, Jung Sun roared, his eyes locked on the needle. Show me the ultimate prize. Trusting the artifact, our main character sprinted straight toward a blinding, towering mountain of pure gold. No way. Is this actually the legendary hoard? Gasping in disbelief, he frantically dug into the shimmering fortune. Suddenly, his fingers grazed cold glass. He yanked an ancient hourglass from the pile. Jackpot. This was no ordinary trinket. It was the relic of Kronos, a divine masterpiece capable of rewinding its owner's timeline. This absolute game-changer was Jung Sun's only target, the sole artifact powerful enough to rewrite their doomed destiny. But there was a massive catch. Activating this relic wouldn't reset the world, it only rewound his personal existence. If I warp back, crush the divine war, and scale that cursed tower to annihilate the outsiders alone, I can absolutely dodge this apocalyptic nightmare. Without hesitating for a single second, he made his move. Jung Sun slammed the hourglass upside down. Instantly, blinding light erupted violently, discharging crackling lightning absolutely everywhere. Kronos' relic is now active. For the very first time, the tower's rigid timeline violently shattered and flowed backward. The cosmic countdown began. 9 minutes and 58 seconds remained until the final grain of sand dropped. Once I rewind this hell, I will ruthlessly slaughter anyone in my way to fix this, Jung Sun vowed. But before he could celebrate, a deafening explosion utterly shredded the rocky ceiling above. A grotesque nightmare of writhing, eye-covered tentacles smashed through the debris, diving straight toward him like a missile. Relying on pure instinct, he miraculously sidestepped the strike. Catching his breath, our main character finally locked eyes with his terrifying attacker. It was straight nightmare fuel, a vile cluster of colossal snakes completely infested with blinking, bloodshot eyes. Catching his scent, the demonic serpents viciously lunged together, snapping their venomous jaws wide open to devour him whole. He immediately sprinted for his life. Fortunately, this ultimate cosmic vault was packed to the brim with legendary divine armaments. Exactly. This wasn't just a shiny gold stash, it was the personal armory of the ancient gods themselves. Jung Sun's eyes blazed with wild excitement. He instantly snatched the nearest weapon, Astropi, the mythical lightning bolt of Zeus. I can't drag this entire armory back in time. Might as well go absolutely crazy while I can, he smirked. Planting his feet firmly, he gripped the crackling spear and launched it with explosive earth-shattering force into the monstrous swarm. Apocalyptic lightning obliterated the cavern, violently electrocuting the vile serpents. Shockingly, the hulking abomination actually survived the direct nuclear blast. Thrashing in agonizing pain, it ruthlessly whipped a fleshy tentacle into Jung Sun, sending him crashing backward with a groan. This boss is actually built different. Jung Sun gritted his teeth. Suddenly, an enormous greatsword nearby erupted into a raging inferno. The glowing blade literally called to him. Wait, is this Levatine the legendary apocalyptic sword? With godly gear, I can absolutely shred this outsider's defenses. Plus, this cursed blade was forged to incinerate the world. Surtur's blade, adrenaline pumping, he snatched the burning hilt and dashed headfirst toward the colossal monstrosity at supersonic speed. Effortlessly weaving through a lethal storm of snapping jaws, Jung Sun closed the gap and unleashed a devastating fiery slash. A cataclysmic blast rocked the vault. The parasitic outsider's true, extremely hideous form was finally exposed to the world. Jung Sun narrowed his eyes. As the thick smoke cleared, the grotesque creature's actual pathetic body lay totally bare. A repulsive wild boar, pulsating with parasitic tentacles. A bald pig. Are you actually kidding me right now? He scoffed. If Surtur's flames can't finish the job. Jung Sun clicked his tongue. Scanning the glittering vault, his eyes locked onto another spear. It was Brionac, the unstoppable spear of light wielded by Lug, an absolute cheat-tier weapon guaranteed to pierce any defense. Try tanking this, he roared, unleashing a flawless throw. The glowing javelin ripped through the air at blinding divine speed. The cosmic strike brutally impaled the disgusting boar, piercing clean through from skull to tail. Completely overwhelmed by his pay-to-win arsenal, the pathetic monster was instantly annihilated before it could even flex its true power. As the beast faded into dust, a crisp system window popped up. First blood, you successfully eliminated an outsider. Legendary achievement unlocked. Kronos' hourglass is fully active. The legendary treasury of greed has completely collapsed. This divine vault is now utterly masterless. Player detected inside the vault. You completely possess the ultimate golden key right now. Jung Sun is officially crowned the new sovereign of the treasury. Greed is dead. Its infinite power now bows to you. Causality violently rewinding for vanquishing greed. System warning. All currently equipped skills are permanently wiped from existence. Tower experience entirely wiped, forcefully returning to the tutorial. The world violently dissolved, instantly warping him into a dense forest. A confused crowd had already spawned there. But the absolute creepiest part, it genuinely looked like they themselves. Panic erupted instantly. How did they end up here? Where are we? I was literally just at my desk. Terrified whispers immediately echoed through the bewildered crowd. Suddenly, a glowing blue system window materialized right in front of their faces. Welcome to the tutorial. The terrified masses stared blankly at the glowing text. A tutorial? What kind of sick joke is this? Yet amidst the absolute chaos, one young guy stood completely unfazed, his sharp eyes scanning the area. This was our main character, Yong Se-hoon. Taking in the nostalgic landscape, a chilling realization hit him. Did I actually regress to the past? What freaking tutorial? Somebody explain. How are we supposed to know? We are all trapped here too, a voice snapped back. But for Se-hoon, who had already lived through this hellscape, he felt absolutely zero shock. They are just as pathetic as my first life. I should keep my distance. He calculated, silently stepping back into the shadows. But right at that exact moment, a trembling hand violently gripped his sleeve. Bro, do you know what is going on? What karma dragged me into this nightmare? Glancing back, Se-hoon instantly recognized the desperate face. Ah, I remember this dude from the first timeline. He got brutally slaughtered, his throat entirely ripped open. Pushing away the bloody memory, Se-hoon offered a chill response. Chill out. How can I possibly chill? We just got kidnapped by a floating screen. Is this some messed up prank? The guy hyperventilated. Meanwhile, Se-hoon mentally scoffed at his own useless attempt at comforting the doomed man. Words mean absolutely nothing right now. Once the bloodshed kicks off, the screaming will die down real quick. Right on cue, a blood-red system alert flashed before their eyes. Tutorial Chapter 1, Adaptation. Time until the first monster wave, 4 minutes and 21 seconds. Absolute dread washed over the trapped civilians. Monster wave. Are we going to die? Ignoring their pathetic whining, our boy Se-hoon, entirely focused on his own glowing status panel. Everything mirrors the past timeline. But checking his actual stats. Player Yong Se-hoon, Level 1, Title Empty, Strength 7, Agility 9, Stamina 8, Intellect 12, remaining stats 0. But his unique skills. Power of Greed, Power of Gluttony. Se-hoon frowned hard at the holographic text. I was clueless before, but damn, my base stats are absolute trash. Whatever. What the heck are these broken abilities? He mentally clicked on his newly awakened unique skills, realizing he somehow scored double jackpot powers. Suddenly, memories of his final moments flashed back, recalling the exact system voices right before his regression. I was not hallucinating. I can actually wield that divine tier power. Without wasting a single second, Se-hoon channeled his aura, and instantly a glowing mythical treasure chest materialized right in his palm. The treasure of greed has unlocked. Dragon's Breath, the literal inferno of a red dragon. Mjolnir, the legendary hammer wielded by the thunder god Thor himself. Heavenly Demon Control Art, the ultimate forbidden martial arts of the demonic cult. Armed with this insane starter pack, an overwhelming surge of pure confidence exploded within Se-hoon. With these god-tier cheats, I can totally crush those alien bastards this time around. But before he could smirk, the safe zone timer hit 0. A grim warning flashed. Tutorial Chapter 1, Adaptation. The first massacre begins now. Survive the wave and prove your worth. The entire crowd lost their minds. It is happening. What do we do? Pure hysteria broke out right as terrifying shadowy wolf figures began stalking out of the dark tree line. Bro, are those actual wolves? That is the monster wave, they shrieked. Smelling their absolute terror, the beasts grew hungry, sprinting forward with bloodthirsty glowing eyes. Run for your lives, there is a whole freaking army of them. The mob scattered like frightened bugs, but before they could even sprint 3 steps, their escape routes vanished, blocked off by a second pack of demonic wolves, locking them into a deadly ambush from all sides. Checkmate. Nowhere left to run. Blood drained from everyone's faces as the grim reality of death finally sank in. Are we seriously dying here today? If you want to breathe tomorrow, pick up a weapon, Se-hoon commanded with ice-cold authority, making every single head snap toward him. Suddenly, a panicked office worker violently grabbed his collar, spitting in rage. Hey, are you totally blind? Fight those literal monsters barehanded. Have you completely lost your mind, kid? Wait, do you actually have a survival strategy? The massive tank of a man Kang Han-cheol questioned intensely. Unbothered by the aggressive collar grab, Se-hoon just calmly adjusted, his shirt knotted, and dropped the hardest line. It is simple. I will butcher the monsters. You guys just stay alive. Han-cheol froze, but at that exact second, the guy sweated, wondering how he'd survive this feral wolf pack completely solo. But Jong-soo ignored the panic, his eyes locked in. Time to test drive this new power. He instantly triggered the Treasury of Greed, pulling out a legendary manual, the Ten-Set Tan Tui, a ruthless Shaolin kicking technique. Gripping the ancient scroll, Jong-soo absorbed its mastery in a heartbeat. Just then, the alpha beast lunged, its massive drooling jaws snapping wide open. It aimed straight for his throat. Too bad our hero wasn't looking for a deadly smooch. He unleashed the first stance, his leg blurred, delivering a bone-crushing strike dead center. The monster shrieked, launching backward like a ragdoll. Catching this, the rest of the savage pack erupted into a bloodthirsty frenzy, swarming him from all sides. But Jiangsu, his eyes went dead cold. He dashed right into the danger zone, launching himself upward. He stomped down with terrifying force. The concrete exploded, sending beasts flying off a massive shockwave. The civilian survivors just stared, jaws dropped. This guy was moving like a literal Avenger. Who the heck is he, barehanded against monsters? They gasped, completely mind-blown. Meanwhile, the musclehead Han Chol finally clicked. No wonder Jiangsu smirked at danger. He is insanely overpowered. To solo a feral raid without a single blade, he's definitely hiding crazy specs. Watching this, my blood is absolutely boiling, but not from terror. What is this hype? Han Chol muttered, casually raising a massive arm to block a bite. He gripped the beast's skull and chokeslammed it straight into the dirt. The brutal impact carved a massive crater. Whoa, he just totally wrecked that monster barehanded. The crowd cheered. Suddenly, that cowardice morphed into a blazing, undeniable fighting spirit. If they can dominate, so can we. We literally have the numbers advantage, guys. Grab anything you can swing. The mob rallied together, cutting back to the tank, Han Chiol. His eyes stayed glued to Jiangsu's carnage. Flawless execution. His raw stats are low, but that technique, absolutely lethal. We fight totally differently, but damn, I want to team up with this dude. Meanwhile, Jiangsu had turned the battlefield into a graveyard of battered, whimpering mutts. He gasped for air. Almost done. My current stats are just too trash for marathon battles. Am I gassed out already? He cursed. Suddenly, a terrifying heavy glare locked dead onto him. What is this insane pressure? Someone god tier is definitely watching me right now. Boom. The blue system screen flashed, confirming his worst fears. The Crow constellation is judging you. A literal constellation, and the Crow. That's the Vault's true master, the Demon King, Mammon. The greed god is spectating. Did he catch me stealing his skills? If he finds out, I raided his stash. I am dead meat. Do I play dumb? Stealing divine skills, usually, means instant smiting. I literally crawled through hell to regress back in time. Is it game over already? Jiangsu panicked. And right on cue, proving his absolute nightmare. The divine entity caught on. A chilling system alert pinged. The Crow constellation detects twisted fate. The cosmic being nods above you, suddenly recognizing the mythical time-reversing hourglass. The constellation smirks. The second that text faded, the suffocating godly pressure totally evaporated. Jiangsu finally breathed, but the anxiety lingered. He totally knows I used the regression item, yet zero punishment. Did this cosmic being actually plan for this? It feels super sketchy. Looks like a silent green light. Well, if it's free real estate time for Power 2. Jiangsu smirked. Buzzing like a kid with a fresh cheat code, he reached out his hand and roared Power of Gluttony crickets. Absolutely nothing happened. Missing the required trigger conditions, the system rudely popped up. Target required. Jiangsu slowly shifted his gaze downward, staring at the bloody wolf carcasses. He tilted his head. Just dead meat here. Will this trigger? Only one way to find out. Time to experiment with this absolute glitch of a skill. Muttering under his breath, he unleashed the devastating power of gluttony straight at the beastly pack. Instantly, reality warped. Exploding from Jungsol's arm, an absolute swarm of pitch-black fang-bearing shadow serpents materialized. These nightmarish vipers lunged, sinking their spectral fangs deep and shredding the wolf with terrifying speed. In mere seconds, flesh and bone vanished, entirely devoured by the dark abyss. Meanwhile, Jongsol jumped back, utterly spooked by the horrific anomaly shooting from his own flesh. What the actual heck? It just wiped out everything. Not a single trace remained. But before he could even process the absolute carnage, a translucent system window popped up. Target consumed, nutrition completely absorbed, strength stat boosted by 1. Agility stat boosted by 2. Zhongzol's jaw practically hit the floor, staring wide-eyed at the shadows. Literally burping in front of him. Wait, what? Free stat boosts, just from looting corpses. If I spam this, I could max out my physical limits instantly. He grinned like a madman until cold dread hit him. Hold up. If this works like Mammon, the greed demon won't Beelzebub, the absolute lord of gluttony. Notice I'm stealing his power. Crap, I got too hyped, and giving our boy zero time to panic. The mythic owner of that exact trait locked eyes on him. The starving prince constellation pauses his spectral feast and stares in shock. Reading this, a cold sweat washed over Jongsol. This dude is built entirely different. Escaping Mammon was pure luck, but Beelzebub is a high-tier demonic calamity. Plot armor won't save me here. His anxiety spiked off the charts, but suddenly the system pinged again. The starving prince constellation opens his jaw to speak, but aggressively stuffs more meat inside instead. Jongsol blinked, completely flabbergasted by the absolute absurdity. A literal hell lord, a supreme cosmic being, is geeking out over raw wolf meat. Is he seriously that starving? Honestly, this is a massive W for me. If he wants a buffet, I'll serve him a feast. Smirking Zhongxiol instantly reignited the gluttony skill. He dashed forward systematically, devouring the entire wolf pack, sending Beelzebub into an absolute frenzy of joy. The Starving Prince constellation hypes up the epic banquet, seeing the cosmic entity totally vibing. Zhongxiol exhaled, having narrowly dodged a massive bullet. Perfect, it's all going smoothly. Nutrition absorbed. Strength boosted by 0.1. Agility boosted by 0.5. The gains are dropping, but whatever. Grinding raw stats isn't my main objective right now. Zhongxiol calculated silently. Looking up at the sky, he linked up directly with his cosmic sponsor. You're definitely craving more, right? Zhongxiol casually provoked, and Beelzebub fired back instantly. The Starving Prince constellation aggressively drools, calling that a mere appetizer. Hearing this, our main character smirked wickedly. Spoken like a true gluttony demon, let's wrap up this chaotic tutorial, or rather our little business deal. Just like that, the bloodbath concluded. Thanks to our overpowered protagonist aggressively tanking the vast majority of the beast wave, the newbies easily wiped the stragglers. The mob clearing is done. The wolf pack is totally annihilated. The survivors cheered wildly. Then a collective system alert chimed. Tutorial Chapter 1. Adaptation. You have successfully survived the opening onslaught. Every single player caught in the crossfire is rewarded 50 survival points. Meanwhile, Zhongxiol scanned the exhausted crowd, his tactical mind racing. Everyone actually survived the opening phase without a single scratch. In his original timeline, this exact wave was an absolute bloodbath. Did my solo leveling rampage against the beast swarm totally rewrite the butterfly effect here? Interrupting his thoughts, the ruthless system tallied their battle contributions, projecting a massive, glowing leaderboard. Rank 1, Zhongxiol, rocking 220 points. Rank 2, Kang Hunchol with 80. Rank 3, Josiah, trailing with 40 points. Scanning the scoreboard, Zhongxiol rubbed his chin thoughtfully. 220 is a solid flex. In this brutal tutorial phase, maximizing your kill count and ranking guarantees god-tier loot drops while aggressively skyrocketing your chances of catching a constellation's eye. Obviously, top rank is mine. Despite surviving, I realized something critical. I desperately need a physical weapon. Even hoarding Mammon's vault, my base physical stats are absolute trash. There's a severe ceiling here. I absolutely need gear to bridge this massive power gap. The main issue, though, this starter zone has 0 decent drops. I'll have to plunge into the deep forest, grind my stats, and hunt for epic gear. Boosting my stats will unlock way better system items. Mammon's vault awaits. Driven by that dark greed, Yongson dashed straight toward the looming tree line. Suddenly, a sharp female voice pierced the tense silence. Hold up. Where do you think you're going alone? The main character halted, his eyes narrowing as he turned around. That voice. Why does it echo with such familiarity? Wait, is she the legendary tornado from my past life? Yongson's mind raced the second their eyes locked. My memory of this pathetic crowd is blurry, but Josiah, her fierce face is utterly unforgettable. She absolutely dominated the tower's upper floors alongside Kang Hunchol. She was a supreme ranker, an absolute beast, he recalled. Closing the distance, Josiah fearlessly blocked his path. Seriously, what's your solo survival plan? She demanded. What a massive headache. In this bloody tutorial, every ticking second dictates life or death. Babysitting extras isn't my job. He groaned inwardly, keeping his mouth stubbornly shut. Irritated by his cold silence, Josiah pushed harder. Hey, are you even listening? Her tone snapped his focus back. I'm merely mapping out the perimeter, he lied smoothly. Waiting around here guarantees our doom. Catching this exchange, Hanchol chimed in with his own unwanted advice. Skip the scouting. We desperately need a group strategy session. How else will we survive the impending monster wave? Let's formulate a plan. Will a cozy circle chat actually save us? Yongson scoffed coldly. Absolutely. If nothing else, it prevents mass panic, Josiah countered fiercely. Meanwhile, Yongson's patience was evaporating into thin air. Time is a luxury I absolutely cannot waste. Swallowing his heavy sighs, he mentally calculated his next ruthless move. How exactly does talking stop claws and fangs? When wave 2 hits, you'll all be running for your lives anyway. Even so, those monstrous wolves could strike instantly. Wandering off solo is pure suicide. Josiah screamed desperately, but instantly, a merciless cosmic system answered her with a glowing blue notification screen. Chapter 1, Adaptation Phase. Survival countdown until the second bloody massacre, 2 hours and 57 minutes. Yongxion's eyes darted across the glowing text, his tactical brain firing. Under 3 hours, the death clock is ticking. Dismissing them entirely, he spun on his heel, eager to hunt. Over his shoulder, he tossed back one final warning. Retreat. Your survival depends entirely on memorizing those glowing system alerts, not following me around. You're all trapped, waiting anyway. Go play commander in your little imaginary strategy circle. Plunging into the dark woods, Yongseon vanished. Josia stood paralyzed, her jaw dropped. Wait, did he seriously just ditch us? Actually, go arm yourselves with heavy branches, his voice echoed back hauntingly. His sheer chilling detachment left her completely frozen. Completely unfazed by their rising panic, Yongseon was already slaughtering a massive pack of savage brown wolves. The exact moment he breached the gloomy tree line, he spotted the vicious beasts prowling his territory. Their overwhelming numbers actually caught him off guard. Why is this dark forest practically infested with these mutts? A perfect all-you-can-eat buffet for my stats. A wicked grin spread as he unleashed his gluttony to devour their essence. But even infinite hunger hits a brutal ceiling. A flashing system prompt appeared. You have consumed a brown beast. Diminishing returns activated. No further stat boosts can be forcefully extracted from this specific species. The Starving Prince constellation violently rejects this mundane flesh. Chewing on a cracked femur, Yongseon read the divine complaint and sighed. Bored of the flavor already, you truly are a demonic glutton. These low-tier mobs are absolutely pathetic anyway. Hold your divine horses. I'll hunt down a gourmet meal for your twisted palate. Just give me 5 minutes. Instantly, the entity greedily obliterated an entire ribcage, its cosmic eyes blazing with anticipation. Now, to satisfy this insatiable patron, Yongseon desperately needed a fresh slaughter. Actually, let's test a risky theory. Smirking, he ripped open his Treasury of Greed interface. A blinding, ethereal blade materialized in his grasp. The legendary Graham, the divine sword of wrath that once butchered dragons, the exact mythic weapon that decapitated the colossal Fafnir. Sadly, his vault currently only manifested these artifacts as ghostly energy. These godly relics had lost their physical shells, leaving only raw, destructive aura. A real tragedy I can't physically wield it. No matter. If I forge this spectral energy into a solid weapon, I'll birth a brand new legendary blade. Channeling his intense focus, Yongseon violently forced the sword's mythic phantom into a heavy wooden branch he held tightly. But reality is a cruel joke. The second that overwhelming divine aura crashed into the mundane material, the branch instantly detonated into useless gray ash, completely incinerating his dream of an overpowered early-game weapon hack. His ultimate cheat item fantasy evaporated like smoke. Damn it all to hell, mere wood can't handle a dragon slayer's wrath. This proves the raw energy obliterates weak vessels. If I absorb it recklessly, my own fragile body might explode next. Sure, this basic martial arts manual works, but if I unleashed a high-tier skill like the Fire Dragon's Breath, my mortal vessel would instantly crumble to ashes. Plus, this absolute power of greed answers to me and me alone. I tested sharing this broken ability by tossing a trash-tier artifact to a random wolf, but the results were absolutely zero. That severely limits my arsenal. Right now, almost 0 relics are actually safe to equip. My sole path forward, grinding my base stats until my physical body can handle these legendary artifacts. No shortcuts allowed. Step 1. Secure a solid weapon. Jung Soo-woon pushed deeper into the perilous woods, though scoring elite drops early on is totally brutal, even for a regressor like him. Scanning this massive wilderness yielded absolutely 0 decent gear. A tracking skill would be clutch right now. Looting used to be a total breeze. This method feels totally gross, but desperate times call for nasty measures. Without hesitation, Soo-woon summoned a bizarre artifact directly from his treasury of greed. Behold the Knoll Snout, looted from a garbage-tier hyena beast. It literally weaponizes a monster's hypersensitive tracking instincts to hunt. System alert: Knoll Snout completely assimilated. A ghostly hyena aura violently merged right into Jung Se-woon's physical form, awakening a ridiculously overpowered sense of smell. Armed with this beastly radar, our main character finally locked onto his actual target. Bingo, that heavy stench of oxidized iron. Soo-woon smirked inwardly, instantly dashing at absolute full speed toward the invisible marker. Meanwhile, his patron constellation, the Greedy King, started spamming desperate alerts about literally starving to death. The dramatically famished cosmic being kept crying that his divine stomach was literally caving into his spine. To shut the whining deity up, Soo-woon had absolutely no choice but to max his speed. Seriously, am I raising a gluttonous pig? Instead of serving a legendary constellation, he grumbled silently. But a massive hurdle abruptly blocked his path. The destination was miles away, and sprinting at max velocity was rapidly draining his stamina without any payoff. Way further than anticipated, but that metallic scent is definitely blazing from this exact direction. But suddenly, Soo-woon's casual vibe vanished entirely as a chilling, bloodthirsty new odor violently hijacked his beastly senses. Hold up, a predator is near. That is definitely not a basic gray wolf. Soo-woon whipped around, completely stunned, as a monstrously massive beast materialized directly from the shadows. It somehow had him perfectly cornered, effortlessly mirroring his exact tracking ability. In my past life, I was nothing but a pathetic runaway coward, But this timeline changes. Today, Sewun vowed silently as explosive martial aura furiously erupted around his stance, crackling with raw internal energy. Opposite him, the towering alpha predator clearly lacked any remaining patience, letting its ravenous hunger completely take over. Realizing its prey stood completely unfazed, the massive monster violently lunged forward first, snapping its razor-sharp jaws toward Sewun's calf. Luckily, thanks to his veteran combat reflexes, our hero casually sidestepped the lethal bite. After just one single clash, the terrifying truth dropped. This alpha beast boasted movement speed far surpassing any standard brown wolf. This mutant is definitely no ordinary monster ruthlessly targeting vital arteries. It clearly wants an instant one-shot execution to finish me, hyper-focused on my critical blind spots. If I hadn't perfected the 10-step retreat art, I'd literally be shredded meat right now, he realized with a chill. Enraged by its missed strike, the monstrous beast instantly ricocheted for a savage combo, allowing the protagonist absolutely zero breathing room. Too bad for this rabid mutt. Sewun's regressor-level reaction time easily matched its frenzied pacing, gliding flawlessly through another 10-step retreat maneuver to evade the fatal swipe for a second time. He swiftly pivoted to its blind flank, unleashing a devastating roundhouse kick into its ribs. Expecting the beast to launch backward, he faced a shocking reality. The alpha barely flinched, forcing a rattled Sewun to frantically leap backward to reset his stance, his striking limb violently shuddering from the heavy recoil. Are my base stats really this pathetic? That was a clean gut shot. Crap, since when are they built like literal tanks? He hissed, narrowly slipping past another deadly jaw snap. I've got agility, but my current physical damage cannot pierce this monster's absurd armor. This is seriously bad news. How do I actually counter this? The odds are plummeting rapidly, but a loophole must exist. The more he calculated, the more anxiety heavily clouded Sewun's intense gaze. The battlefield turned utterly chaotic, as a massive pack of brown wolves suddenly ambushed to back their alpha. Hell no. These annoying underlings are crashing the party too. The threat level just skyrocketed, making a clean escape physically impossible right now. Sewun calculated grimly, forced into a slow, cornered retreat. Yet the heavens clearly favored their regressor champion today, because miraculously, an ancient, heavily oxidized blade sat securely embedded right in the dirt, mere inches from his boots, practically begging to be instantly drawn. It definitely appeared to be a completely useless piece of scrap metal, but that cutting edge gleamed with lethal promise. Snatching the hilt tightly, Sewun unleashed a devastating slash directly forward, cleaving the rushing beast completely in two, just as he predicted. At this early stage, a blade like this is an absolute top-tier masterpiece. Still, a burning question remained. What hidden secrets did this rusty blade actually hold? Even the constellation Fuo eyed the weapon with intense curiosity. Ignoring the cosmic spectator, Jongsun kept unleashing an absolute bloodbath. Armed and dangerous, the momentum is mine. Backing down is not an option. I will slaughter this thing before it even breathes. He hyped himself up. Meanwhile, witnessing the massive power spike of Jongsun, the gray wolf hesitated. Its predatory gaze shifted to pure caution. The reckless monster was actually terrified. Sensing fear, Jongsun instantly accessed the treasure of greed. His prize, the legendary Hamel family swordsmanship technique, skill book. This was not some random manual. It was the ultimate closely guarded sword art meant strictly for true bloodline heirs. Crushing the book, he instantly absorbed the knowledge. A ghostly aura violently flared around his entire body. The game just changed. He smirked. Refusing to back down, the boss monster unleashed a deafening, blood-curdling roar before lunging straight for the kill. Our guy. Facing a massive wall of fangs and fur, he tightened his grip. Then he ruthlessly jammed his blade straight into its jaws. The beast instantly clamped down its razor-sharp fangs, grinding against the rusty steel in a terrifying high-stakes deadlock. Hook, line, and sinker. This was exactly his trap. Channeling explosive strength into his arms, he violently ripped the weapon completely free. Jongsun erupted into a furious hurricane of steel. He unleashed a blinding barrage of slashes before the beast could react, shredding the enormous boss to absolute ribbons. Bingo direct hit. His inner monologue cheered. With that single epic opening, the terrifying alpha failed to land even a single scratch. Its massive frame was brutally carved open, painting the forest floor crimson. Yet the berserker beast still radiated killer intent, but the heavy damage was undeniable. You do not survive the techniques of an Imperial Master Clan without taking serious damage. This was peak martial prowess. Time to drop the curtain, Zhang Xian internally declared, launching himself like a missile. Desperate, the monstrous wolf snapped its jaws one last time. A fatal miscalculation. That predictable counterattack sealed its doom. Jongsun casually shifted his stance, driving the cold steel deep down the monster throat. The beast shrieked in absolute agony, frantically trying to dislodge the blade. Too little too late. Its HP hit zero, and the giant carcass crashed heavily to the ground while Jongsun flashed a cold smirk. Right on cue, the iconic system chime echoed. You have completely crushed the Wolf Forest boss. Grave Guarding Wolf. Level up personal merit points. Boosted by 500. Loot acquired Grey Wolf skin. Let us backtrack a bit. Jongseon had a hidden agenda all along. This forest raid was not just about hunting. It was about farming those sweet merit points. There are 3 main methods. Number 1, dominate in massive battlefields, like that insane tutorial survival wave. Number 2, go full solo leveling and hunt down rogue monsters. Number 3, player killing. But that is for later. As the tutorial wraps up, a massive battle royale between survivors is totally unavoidable. Farming PKs will definitely be the ultimate shortcut to max out my merit score, he plotted internally. Without hesitation, he activated Gluttony. Dark energy devoured the massive boss carcass, instantly converting its raw flesh into pure stat boosts. System alert, you have successfully consumed the Grave Guarding Wolf. Raw nutrients absorbed, plus 3 strength, plus 5 agility, and plus 2 stamina. Jongsun kept his cool exterior, but inside he was absolutely buzzing. Boss meat hits totally different. The constellation Starving Prince watches your feast with extreme satisfaction. The golden text faded after the gruesome snack. Even the Lord of Flies Beelzebub approves of this brutal feast. Time for the best part, unboxing the epic loot. He rushed over to his shiny new drops, eyes scanning the glowing system panels. Let us check the stats. First up, the Rusty Blade. Item name, Sword of a Forgotten Hero. Weapon class, Longsword. Tier rank D. Lore, an ancient tribute to a nameless legend heavily eroded by time. Unique perk, Toxic Poison. Severely debuffs enemy health regeneration. Passive skill, Hero Trace. Grants a massive 10% damage boost against all monster types. Next item, Grey Wolf Skin. Gear type Cape. Tier rank D. Lore, the glorious pelt of the undisputed Alpha, who dominated the Brown Wolves. An intimidating aura of the fallen king still bleeds from the fur. Passive ability, Authority. Casts a heavy fear debuff on foes while buffing allies. Plus, Blessing of the Wind grants a sweet 5% speed boost. Jongseon could not hide his absolute thrill. To think such crazy, overpowered perks were just gathering dust. Upgrading this to D+ is an absolute must. Up in the stars, even the mighty Beelzebub was nodding at this massive win. The constellation Starving Prince coldly examines your weapon, tossing out a rare compliment that it is not absolute garbage. Typical tsundere, demon of greed. Securing this epic loot only fueled his battle hunger. Bring on the next survival wave. Am I cutting it close? Glancing at his interface, Jongseon realized the second nightmare wave was dropping. In exactly 12 minutes. His eyes narrowed. Time to hustle back and see who actually survived. System alert, tutorial, chapter 1, adaptation. The second monster wave initiates now. Survive the slaughter and prove your worth. The holographic voice blared. But honestly, Jongseon was literally just strolling through the deadly woods like it was nothing. The chaos kicked off the second he arrived. Sure, I promised Jusoa I would return before hell broke loose. But whatever, not my problem. Honestly, this was the perfect opportunity to analyze their raw survival instincts, weeding out the pathetic deadweight. With absolute zero panic, our main character casually strolled toward the bloodbath. Wave 2 brought a massive stampede of demonic boars. Hold the line, stop running. Seriously, wolves and now these freaks, a survivor shrieked. Showtime, Jongsun smirked from the shadows. Meanwhile, across the chaotic battlefield, a sweaty, balding boomer threw a massive tantrum. Take the hit, idiot. Do not you dare dodge. You are my employee. Act like a shield, the coward shrieked, cowering behind a terrified blonde kid who was shaking so violently. His weapon practically rattled in his grip. Boss, I am trying, the poor guy stuttered, completely paralyzed by fear. But instead of helping, his toxic manager brutally kicked him in the back, shoving him straight into the danger zone. Earn your paycheck and fight, you absolute loser. The delusional boomer barked orders, completely ignoring reality. Watching this, Jongseon activated his shadow stealth skill, blending perfectly into the foliage to analyze the pathetic display. Honestly, he was not even shocked. Trash exists in every timeline. Ignoring the literal human shields, he shifted his gaze. Who actually matters? Scanning the war zone, a few smart squads were isolating the beasts, executing perfect divide and conquer tactics. Not completely brain dead, he noted, spotting Juseoa and Kang Hanchul dominating. Despite their absolute garbage equipment, they were holding the front line. Serious potential. Alright, time to steal the show. With a cold grin, Jongsun unsheathed his blade and emerged from the shadows like an absolute boss. Meanwhile, on Juseo's side, her stamina was hitting rock bottom. Her lungs burned as she choked down heavy, desperate breaths. One slip up and I am dead, she realized. These juggernauts were on a completely different level than those wolves. Suddenly, a massive boar locked eyes with her, unleashing a deafening shriek. It barreled forward like a runaway freight train, massive fangs bared. Pushing past her limits, she threw herself out of the death zone. Is there no end to them? She panicked. glancing down to find 2 fresh, agonizing gashes tearing across her thigh. Damn it, I am bleeding. When did it even clip me, and why is Jongsun's warning haunting my mind? Despair gripped her heart as the terrifying reality set in. But zero time for fear. The enraged beast drifted locked onto her and launched round 2. Cornered, she desperately gripped a shattered club, bracing for impact. Focus. Just survive 1 more second. Just hold the line. She prayed to whatever gods were listening. But tragically for the monster, right before its jaws snapped shut, a lethal flash of steel erupted from behind, effortlessly cleaving the giant beast completely in half. The executioner, our overpowered king Jongsun. Stunned by his god-tier entrance, Juzoa opened her mouth to speak, but his cold gaze silenced her instantly. Save the small talk. Let us trash these things first, he commanded, leveling his blood-soaked blade. Triggered by his killing intent, 3 massive boars synchronized their deadly stampede directly at him. Facing the triple threat, Jongsun instantly accessed his system inventory. He materialized a hidden trump card, a high-grade orc tendon. Harvested from a berserker race, this epic artifact was literally pulsating with raw, unstoppable vitality and demonic physical power. Instantly, the brutal energy assimilated into his veins, massively hardwiring his muscles. Let us pray, my base stats do not short-circuit. He smirked, welcoming the rush. Without missing a single beat, the alpha boar blitzed into his strike zone, but Jongsun practically defied gravity. With an explosive launch, he vaulted 30 feet into the sky, channeling his downward velocity. He gripped his hilt with crushing force and drove the steel straight through the beast's spine, sparking a terrifying shriek. Without even checking the corpse, he pivoted smoothly. 2 blinding slashes painted the air red, instantly executing the backup monsters in seconds. This absolute massacre sounds long, but it went down in literally 3 seconds flat. Standing in the blood rain, Jusoa and Hanchol were frozen in pure shock. Honestly, Jongsun was slightly mind-blown too. Was that crazy boost purely from the orc tendon? My damage output is insane, yet my precision is flawless. He nodded mentally, calculating his new limits. Meanwhile, the pathetic bald boomer, realizing he just found the ultimate carry, immediately began slithering his way toward the overpowered main character. The CEO slapped his shoulder with a greasy smirk. Man, your skills are insane. You are leagues above these worthless extras. How about playing my personal shield? I run the Togen Corporation. A heavy hitter like you must know my name. Escort me out of this hellhole, and I will make you filthy rich. Just name your price. Jongsun stood completely silent, his cold gaze piercing right through the boasting billionaire, making cold sweat bead on the man's bald scalp. Panicking, the CEO desperately upped the stakes. Listen, I will literally hand you a department head title the second we return. No other mega guild or corporation could ever match this deal. At those desperate words, Jongsun finally shifted his gaze. That honestly sounds like a massive jackpot, Jongsun muttered, letting a fake hint of intrigue slip into his tone. The bald man instantly beamed arrogance, flooding back into his eyes. Haha, I knew you had a brain in that skull. Just keep me breathing, and your future is golden. But before the CEO could finish gloating, Jongsun dropped an absolute bombshell. Perfect timing because I desperately needed a meat shield. Wait, a meat shield? Are you insane? The man shrieked, panic setting in. Instead of wasting breath, Jongsun smoothly pulled back his leg and launched a brutal kick, sending the billionaire flying forward. An absolutely pathetic downfall for a corporate elite who completely misread the room. Yet the old fool still tried screaming threats at Jongsun. You psychotic bastard, have you completely lost your mind? Since you love acting so tough, why do you not handle those 4 monsters yourself? Jongsun merely smirked. Wow, are you seriously just figuring that out? The terrifying reality finally crashed down on the wealthy coward, but his realization came way too late. In a flash, 4 monstrous boars aggressively trampled over the screaming CEO like a blood-soaked soccer ball. Back at the safe zone, the remaining survivors silently stared at Jongsun, totally paralyzed by his absolute ruthlessness. The constellation, mistress of the abyss, watches your ruthless betrayal with a deeply wicked smirk. The constellation famished prince violently whines, demanding more slaughter. Completely ignoring the dead weight, Jongsun tuned out the system alerts. Teaming up the remaining players quickly slaughtered the rest of the demonic beasts. First tutorial phase, adapt. You have successfully survived the second monster wave. Every single participant is awarded 50 survival points. Tallying individual battle contributions. Rank 1, Jongsun 1080 points. Rank 2, Kang Hanchol, 180 points. Rank 3, Jusoa, 100 points. You have devoured a mutated brown boar. Its raw nutritional energy has been perfectly absorbed. Your base strength stat levels up by 1, and stamina jumps by 2. The constellation famished prince greedily tears into the boar carcass, absolutely starving for another kill. Swiping away the starving demon's messages, Jongsun analyzed the bloody carcass at his feet, mapping out his next move. 1 stays for rations. In my past life, I practically survived on demon wolves, so I know exactly how incredible apex predator meat tastes. This rusty blade sucks. but complaining will not change my reality. Brushing off the inconvenience, he started hacking into the thick hide, butchering the massive beast. Suddenly, a hesitant female voice broke his concentration. Excuse me, do you need some help with that? I actually own a little diner, so I am pretty skilled at breaking down meat. Oh, a literal chef. She will easily outclass my skills. Jung-sun gave a sharp nod, handing over the weapon, leaving the girl absolutely thrilled. Perfect, the stage is yours. Inspired by her courage, the surrounding survivors finally stepped up. I will scavenge for firewood. Let me secure our base camp. Someone needs to track down fresh water. Within seconds, the terrified group transformed into a fully functioning survival squad, splitting the labor. But reality quickly crashed the party. Hold up, how the hell do we ignite these logs? Damn it, I totally overlooked that massive detail. The blonde dude rubbed his neck in extreme awkwardness. Honestly, sparking a flame in this damp nightmare of a tutorial was basically an impossible quest. Left with zero alternatives, Jung-sun completely took over the show. He casually summoned an elite artifact known as Chasa's Ember. This glowing coal carried the raw magic of Chasa, an entry-tier fire elemental. Though tiny, it packed concentrated magical energy, making it nearly impossible to ever permanently extinguish. Do not sweat the heat source, I have got it covered, Jung-sun announced coolly while a mystical crimson flame gracefully danced across his palm. Just like magic, the glowing campfire roared to life, and the squad immediately began roasting the premium boar meat. The mouth-watering scent wafting through the air drove that gluttonous constellation absolutely insane. Drooling violently, the constellation-famished prince desperately licks his lips, deeply intoxicated by the heavenly scent. Watching a cosmic god literally beg for table scraps gave Jung-sun massive second-hand embarrassment. Look man, my own stamina is drained. I need calories too. Without hesitating, he savagely tore into his hot meal, totally ignoring the starving cosmic entity. Meanwhile, the chef girl Jusoa quietly handed him a canteen. You should hydrate. Sinking to the ground beside him, her gaze drifted toward the heavily oxidized blade resting against his leg. Her curiosity piqued. Did you discover that weapon hidden in the forest? Jung-sun simply nodded and casually replied, Yeah, I just caught a really lucky break. Catching her deeply conflicted stare as she gripped her flimsy wooden club, an amused thought crossed his mind. Wow, someone is definitely suffering from major weapon envy, huh? Well, rumors claim Jusoa strictly trained with real swords long before she ever awakened any combat skills for that basic wooden bat she currently swings around. Without a blade, her true potential stays locked. Realizing this, our main character casually dropped a massive hint. Spotting the glowing holographic text hovering right beside him, Jusea blinked and whispered, 100 points. What does that mean? With that fat stack, you could easily grab a sword, Jung-sun smirked, leaving the fierce girl completely stunned. Wait, how? Just stare at your balance and the system shop pops up. Intrigued, Jusea focused her gaze, just like he instructed. This literally feels like an RPG. Exactly. And dominating this tutorial means treating the system like your best friend. Taking his solid advice, Jusea instantly navigated the glowing shop UI and purchased a weapon. The moment she tapped, confirm pixels materialized into a sleek longsword, and her eyes absolutely sparkled. Finally, a real blade to let her completely unleash those devastating combat skills. That is insane. How did you figure this out? She beamed. But Jung-sun kept his cheat sheet completely hidden. I just read the room fast. He brushed it off smoothly. And here I thought I was speedrunning this. Jung-sundae, wait, did you actually just use my name? He blinked, totally caught off guard by her words. The fierce swordswoman flashed a stunning smile. Well, a certain someone told me I needed to adapt fast. Thanks for the pro tip. Don't even mention it, our guy replied, casually waving it off. Let us survive this together, she declared. Just like that, the chaotic hours melted into darkness. Their brutal first night in this twisted tutorial finally wrapped up, and the second the sun peeked over the horizon, Jusea was already barking orders, waking the entire camp. Why the third monster wave would crash down in exactly 58 minutes. Wake up. What is happening? Is the sun out? Are we going to die? The panicked newbies groaned, completely disoriented, still struggling to accept this grim reality. Stepping up like an absolute boss, our leading lady instantly took charge, issuing crystal-clear commands. Raid the woods for throwable rocks. Just laying down covering fire from behind will literally save lives. Everyone else grabbed sturdy branches for melee. Got it, the terrified survivors roared, scattering to arm themselves for the upcoming bloodbath. Watching from the sidelines, our main character smiled inwardly. The timeline is already shifting. She is a natural leader. Having a strong vanguard completely kills the mindless panic. In the ranks. Perfect, now I can grind my hidden power spike. Activating his skill, he opened the Treasury of Greed, pulling out a legendary tome titled The Blue Magic Circle. This top-tier manual was exclusively meant for mana-sensitive geniuses, specifically elite scholars from the Blue Tower, one of 7 mythical factions. Forming a core circle is step 1 to casting god-tier spells. Even though this blue elemental foundation was famously rated as the absolute weakest, among all 7 factions, the scaling potential was insane. Lock in the blue method for a rock-solid base, then stack high-tier martial arts on top of it. Plus, I desperately need to awaken my inner Dantian, pooling chaotic mana directly through that magical core, but spells alone won't cut it. To dominate in close quarters combat, I must purify my core non-stop. Slipping into deep meditation, he let his mind drift like a roaring river, absorbing every hidden secret from Mammon's stolen grimoire. Regulating his breathing into a perfect rhythmic flow, a primal spark flared inside his lungs. He mentally reached out to that dormant cosmic energy, gently coaxing the raw power, begging it to merge with his soul. Only the purest spiritual fragments funneled straight into his beating heart. Armed with veteran experience from his past life, our boy wrangled the wild mana like an absolute grandmaster, making it look ridiculously easy. Instantly, the glowing system UI blasted a golden pop-up confirming his first core circle was fully awakened via the blue manuscript. Armed with this brand new mana reactor, spellcasting is unlocked. Your raw mana level dictates the devastating speed and power of your magical strikes. Epic achievement unlocked. For breaking limits, the system blesses you with a massive payout of 1,000 points. The cosmic VIPs went wild. The constellation The Three Sisters gasped in shock, while the Heavenly Mother cheered like a superfan. Even the constellation The Wise Old Crone flashed a rare smirk. Yet while godlike beings practically drooled over him, Zhang Sun just scoffed. Sure, these mystic deities are thirsty for an apostle, but I literally have demon kings backing me. I might not be their official priest, but Mammon and Beelzebub absolutely dwarf these low-tier shiny stars. Meanwhile, up in the divine realm, those 2 demonic overlords of greed and starvation were actually sweating bullets, paranoid someone else might steal their favorite toy. The constellation, the starving prince, literally pouted like a sad puppy, whining about uninvited guests, while the big bad Beelzebub aggressively yanked another god-tier artifact from his vault. The supreme constellation Beelzebub just severed all lower-tier system feeds. Zhang Sol's eyes widened in pure shock. Total communication blackout. Hacking the divine system demands absolute god-tier power. Does this unknown entity actually possess enough cosmic authority to completely silence everyone else out there? The lesser gods must be absolutely raging right now. Meanwhile, his 2 personal sponsors breathed a massive sigh of deep relief. The starving prince practically cheered as the unwanted divine guests vanished. The silent watcher quietly gazes upon you. Completely ignoring them, Zhang Sol seized the total blackout. Finally, some peace and quiet. Time to dive straight back into my magical mana cultivation. The Green Tower's breathing technique might be brutally slow, but the raw mana reinforcing my core is absolutely undeniable. Suddenly, his deep focus shattered as some random blonde punk tapped his shoulder. Yo, dude, are you seriously just sleeping right now? Who sleeps totally stiff like a board? Wake up, man, we only have 12 minutes left. The annoying chatter completely shattered his focus. This guy is way too loud. He forcefully dragged himself out of his deep trance. However, the exact moment his gaze locked onto the annoying intruder's face, pure shock violently hit him. Why the hell is he here? Completely oblivious to the deadly glare, the guy flashed a clueless grin. You froze for a solid hour. I honestly thought you died, bro. Zhang Sol's voice dripped with absolute zero ice. What exactly do you want from me? Whoa, chill out, man. We are all stuck in this nightmare together. Shouldn't we team up and survive? He offered a fake friendly handshake. But Zhang Sol's mind instantly flashed back to his previous life's absolute hell. He knew this bastard's true twisted nature perfectly well. Park Jongpil, absolute human garbage who mercilessly hunted the weak for fun. A terrifying monster who violently robbed the elderly twistedly, preaching that the old must die so the young can thrive. He is only playing the nice guy because the deadly tutorial just started. But his rotten manipulative core remains exactly the same as before. A pathetic predator feeding on the defenseless. With absolute murderous intent hidden away, Zhang Sol calmly rose to his feet. Unfazed, Park Jongpil kept pushing his toxic fake buddy act. Come on, I really just want to ally up. You look like a total loner, right? Those mocking words instantly ignited a spark of brutal trauma from the dark past. Running like a hunted dog from ravenous brown wolves. The agonizing despair this exact bastard put me through is completely unforgettable. He ruthlessly threw me to the beastly horde as monster bait. Sure, that brutal betrayal forced my journey milestone awakening to finally happen. But the sheer hell I survived was terrifyingly real. Snapping back to reality, Zhang Sol smirked. You run pretty fast, right? Why are you randomly bringing that up? Jongpil blinked in stupid confusion. Right in that perfect split second, Zhang Sol gripped his shoulder like a steel vice. Congratulations, you are my new bait. As the system countdown ticked 0, the brutal third wave finally materialized. Survivors gripped their crude wooden spears with sweaty palms. Brace yourselves, they are here. Hold your ground, follow the survival formation, and we live. Yuxia commanded with ice-cold authority. A terrifying army of stone axe-wielding apes instantly charged out, pierced their hearts. The vanguard roared violently, thrusting their deadly spears directly forward, ripping through monster flesh like a bloody honeycomb. But these demonic beasts felt absolutely zero pain or fear. They mindlessly trampled their own dead to push forward. The numbers are infinite. What are we going to do now? A terrified survivor screamed in pure despair. Yusia gritted her teeth, her brilliant mind spinning in absolute overdrive, searching desperately for any desperate counterattack. The front line is shattering. We need a miracle. Meanwhile, in the dark shadows, Jung Sol had flawlessly calculated this exact slaughter. Park Jong-pil was his ultimate cheat code. Without hesitation, he manifested a golden banana from thin air, tossing it directly to Jong-pil. "Showtime," he whispered like a demon. The cowardly bully was shaking like a leaf. "Hold on. Are you insane? I explicitly told you my stamina sucks." He pleaded pathetically, but Jong Sol had absolute zero mercy for past life traitors. Coiling his leg back with terrifying explosive force, he launched a devastating kick straight into Jong-pil's backside. "Run for your life, buddy." The blonde coward stumbled into the active kill zone. Instantly, hundreds of bloodthirsty monkey eyes locked onto the banana. Disgusting saliva dripped profusely from their jagged monster fangs. The entire monster horde completely abandoned the front line. Screeching madly, they bolted straight towards the terrified blonde prey, leaving Park Jong-pil absolutely sobbing hysterically as he burned his very soul to sprint desperately away from the fatal stampede. "He is actually blazing fast. I honestly hoped he would faceplant into the dirt." Jong Sol smirked with dark satisfaction. Tears flying in the wind, the pathetic decoy screamed for divine intervention. "Somebody, please save me. My lungs are going to literally explode." Watching the hilarious chase, Jong Sol knew the bait was perfectly cooked. "Get over here," he commanded. "I'm coming," the guy shrieked, sprinting for his absolute life. Jong Son awakened his mana. Blazing infernos suddenly erupted around him, forcing a panicked Park Jong-soo to frantically dodge. The commander barked a grim warning, terrifying poor Park Jong-soo. "Wait, what on earth is going on?" Jong Son unleashed a legendary skill looted from the treasury of greed. It was Fireball, the devastating signature move of Aliba, the Red Tower's master mage. Modified for any magic circle, this spell was utterly broken. Its chaotic destructive damage scaled intensely, with every single drop of mana poured inside. Eyes locked on his target, Jong Son slowly condensed a terrifying vortex of pure scorching firepower into his palm. With zero hesitation, he launched the blazing orb straight at the swarming monkey horde. Seeing a literal sun hurtling toward his face, Park Jong-soo froze. His expression morphed into pure, unadulterated shock. Thankfully, our main character had aimbot. The blast annihilated the monster swarm's center, while the massive shockwave literally yeeted Park Jong-soo forward. Tumbling forward, he crash-landed safely beside Jong Son. "Dude, what kind of sorcery is that? That's actual magic, right?" "This is totally insane," Park Jong-soo gasped, trembling. He wasn't alone. The entire squad behind him stood utterly paralyzed, mind-blown by that godly display. They exchanged stunned glances, furiously whispering like NPCs in a fantasy RPG. "Wait, is it even possible for us to learn that?" Completely ignoring their fanboying after effortlessly wiping out half the monster wave, Jong Son casually stepped back, totally refusing to carry them any further. He decided to let them clear the remaining mobs. "If I keep hard carrying, I'm just stealing their precious chance to actually level up. Time to farm some juicy XP. Points are everywhere anyway." Smirking, he unleashed Gluttony, completely absorbing those brown monkeys. System alert. Brown monkey devoured raw stats absorbed. Agility spiked by 3 points. Up above the constellation, Starving Prince practically drooled over this slaughter. Meanwhile, Park Jong-pyo stood paralyzed. Witnessing Jung Se-hoon's god-tier strength, the dude instantly folded, bowing low, begging to be his loyal lapdog. "Boss, I Park Jong-pyo, swear my absolute loyalty to you forever." "Oh really? Guess I can use a minion." Jung Se-hoon just shrugged off the dramatic pledge. Seeing zero rejection, Jong-pyo practically vibrated with joy. "Name your price, boss, if you need anything at all. Consider it completely handled. Cool, go grab a banana for yourself. You are going to sprint until your lungs burn." In this next wave, Jong Se-hoon warned. "Wait, more cardio." Jong-pyo groaned in pure despair. Anyway, brushing that aside, our main character vanished into the deep woods for a solo hunt. After completely shredding some wild boars, he hit level 3. Staring at the prompt, Se-hoon narrowed his eyes. Usually leveling takes 5 grueling waves. Is my broken authority actually boosting this? He mentally calculated the odds. Meanwhile, across the battlefield, Juhuya and her squad finally wiped out the remaining brown monkeys. System alert. Chapter 1, Tutorial 3rd Attack Wave, successfully obliterated. 50 points rewarded to all survivors. The main quest was officially wrapped. I slaughtered most of the mob spawns, yet they cleared it way under 10 minutes. Everyone's desperate survival instinct just evolved. Analyzing this major shift, he checked the fresh battle leaderboards. Rank 1, still our boy Jang Sehun, flexing 2,480 points. Rank 2 belonged to Ju Huia, holding 340 points. Rank 3 was Kang Han-chul, trailing with 320 points. The runner-ups actually swapped ranks. Wielding a real weapon, even garbage tier, makes a massive difference, Sehun realized. But suddenly shattering his train of thought, massive, earth-shaking footsteps thundered right beside him. The boar boss had arrived. Yet Sehun did not even flinch. Instead, a predatory thrill ignited in his gaze. About time you showed up. Here stood the undisputed tyrant of Boar Hill, the legendary hill-digging boar. Moving on, pure muscle memory, Sehun pulled a nasty skill called Sharpen directly from his vault. A pure, colorless tower spell that burns mana to forge a razor edge on any blade. Let us wrap this up, the clock is ticking, he muttered with lethal ice. Sensing that disrespect, the giant boss completely snapped, taking the absolute initiative, and stampeding blindly toward its own funeral. In one blinding flash of his hyper-sharpened steel, our main character cleanly sliced the beast in half. System alert, boss of Boar Hill decimated. The massive hill digging. Boar is dead. 500 contribution points secured. Loot acquired 1 giant boar tusk. Inspecting the massive ivory drop, Sehun started strategizing. A raw tusk. Unlike that instant-equip wolf pelt cloak, this bad boy is pure crafting fodder. It is completely useless until a blacksmith touches it. I will just stash it for later, mumbling to himself. He casually yeeted the loot into his subspace. But wait, this boss was basically a piñata because the tusk was not the final prize. Deep inside, the fresh crater dug by the beast, a blinding beacon erupted instantly, locking down Sehun's full attention. Driven by pure gamer curiosity, he zeroed in on the glowing spot to inspect his mystery loot. It literally looked like an old grinding rock. The system chimed. Forgotten Heroes Tool Rank D. Item lore read. A legendary maintenance stone, used by a nameless warrior. Was this ancient relic the reason those boars were furiously digging? That title definitely links it straight to the Forgotten Heroes sword. I will crack this puzzle later. He then dashed straight back to base camp. This aftermath hit different though. Unlike earlier rounds, several players were groaning on bloody stretchers, being hauled off by survivors. Meanwhile, the uninjured grinders were busy stacking dead gorilla bodies into massive piles. Ignoring the grim scenery, our boy casually strolled over to a heavily deforested logging area. He carelessly slammed the ancient tool, and his Forgotten Heroes sword, right onto a giant stump. Plus, he whipped out a rare manual titled Blackstone Forge. This was a god-tier beginner secret. The fiery workshops of the Blackstone Dwarf clan are legendary for forging absolute masterworks. Just as predicted, he sat down and started grinding his blade, prepping his gear for the upcoming bloodbath. I literally never did weapon maintenance in my past life, he muttered, suddenly intrigued. As sparks flew from the stone, his expert rhythm actually caught the eye of a mysterious old dude. Whoa, pure skill right there. Kids today rely on auto-grinders. You barely see any traditional blacksmiths around, manually honing a blade with such terrifying accuracy. Surprised by the sudden praise, our main character paused his grind, looked over and asked, "Old man, do you actually know whetstone techniques?" "I've breathed iron and fire for 15 solid years," the old man grinned, snatching up Jongson's sharpening stone. "This stone's condition is absolute perfection. Finding a legendary grade tool out in this brutal wasteland is pure madness. Total dumb luck." Jongson shrugged. "If you're game, how about restoring my blade?" The veteran blacksmith didn't hesitate. "You bet." Snatching the battered weapon, he instantly locked into his craft. Sparks flew as he evaluated the steel, rusted and ancient sure, but the core balance, absolute top tier. The edge is practically untouched. Meanwhile, Jongson watched the rhythmic grinding completely caught off guard. A hidden gem in this trash camp, every single stroke of the whetstone screamed pure, unadulterated mastery. Jongseon marveled silently. Moments later, the dull steel transformed, gleaming so brightly it practically captured reflections. Man, I haven't flexed my skills like that in ages. Exhaling deeply, he tossed the revitalized weapon back. "Give it a swing." Jongson's hand snapped out, gripping the hilt firmly. He sliced through the air, the steel singing a deadly melody. Way smoother. The edge feels incredibly lethal now. Suddenly, the system interface warped and updated. Item name changed, Sword of the Forgotten Hero. Grade D rank artifact. Lore A tribute to a lost legend. Due to a Grandmaster's touch. Its legendary brilliance is restored. First perk, Master's Caress, boosting cutting power by 20%. Second perk, Hero's Echo ramping anti-monster damage by 15%. Absolutely flawless. Looks basic, but the craftsmanship is insanely precise. Felt amazing to forge again, the old guy beamed. Blown away by this talent, Jongseon immediately dumped his looted boar fangs and wolf pelts. "Can you craft gear from this drop? With your skills, these mats could become epic armor." Right then, a golden system prompt exploded into view. The observing constellation. Warrior with the golden crown is heavily stalking player Go Jung-chul. Ah, the blacksmith's real name. Jong Seon froze his mind, racing at that specific title. The Golden Crowned Warrior. That's one of the 72 Supreme Demon Lords, the 28th Abyssal Ruler Bareth himself. Famous for riding a blood-red steed, making him look like a savage, his true domain is divine alchemy. He turns trash into pure gold. His forging mastery literally rivals the Olympian god Hephaestus. But while Hephaestus seeks harmony, Bareth crafts pure annihilation. Even deities thirst for his apocalyptic weapons. Jung-chul blinked at the glowing text, utterly baffled. What on earth is this floating magic? Jong-seon smirked. That's a constellation. Godlike entities watching us from the tower's ultimate peak. Why is a literal god hyping me up? Don't sweat it. But wait, how do you know all this? The old man squinted suspiciously. Because a different cosmic viewer is backing me too. Jong-seon countered smoothly. Should I start performing tricks? Nah, just keep forging like a beast. They're harmless watchers. Plus, their sponsorship is insane loot. Insane loot, Jung-chul arched an eyebrow. Think about my crazy pyrokinesis, Jong-seon pointed out. Realization sparked in the blacksmith's eyes. Fascinating. Let's make a solid team then, Jong-seon offered a handshake. The veteran gripped it tight. Count on it. Forging beats, smashing goblin skulls any day. Internally, Jong-seon was doing backflips. Securing a personal grandmaster is a monumental win. My equipment scaling is totally sorted now. System warning. 3 minutes and 21 seconds until wave 4 hits. Leaving the crafting to the old man. Jong-seon immediately shifted into massive power-up mode. Time to exploit his sponsor, Mammon's Infinite Vault once again. Diving into the dimensional inventory, he extracted the mythical skill book, 3 Natural Talents, a cosmic art tied to heaven, earth and humanity granting supreme universal perception. My mana circle is already active. Now I ignite the Dantian. Mana flows from the heart, but true ki burns in the core. I need it pulsing automatically. Shutting his eyes, Jong-seon channeled his dormant inner energy, pushing the spiritual pathways with practiced veteran precision. In a flash of unseen pressure, his Dantian violently snapped open. System Dantian successfully unlocked via 3 natural talents. Internal ki circulation is now fully unleashed. All martial arts efficiency skyrocketing. The system chimed in. Thanks to his skyrocketing internal energy, a massive reward dropped. 1,000 points. Jong-seo exhaled a heavy breath, finally pausing his intense grinding session for now. Only 1 hour left until the next wave, he muttered. Right then, the old blacksmith Go Chang-sok approached, having completely processed all the monster drops. You forged that fang dagger way quicker than I thought. Jong-seo smirked, clearly impressed by the speed. Yet the old man sighed with pure regret. Finding a solid refining agent was nearly impossible. Just go ahead and check the new stats first. Jong-seo immediately pulled up the system window. The first drop was the Grey Wolf Cloak, Type Cape. Rank C. Description reads, woven by a master artisan of the Grey Wolf clan, the absolute rulers of the Brown Gravel Zone. Deep inside, the wolf forest radiating raw power. Next up, Fang Dagger, Type Dagger, Rank C+. Description ripped right from the monstrous hill-digging boar, that apex predator of the hills. Simply honed and shaped with a whetstone, its lethal slicing power is completely maxed out. Do they meet your standards, Go? Chung-sok asked nervously. Jong-seo gave a firm nod, totally hyped. Hell yeah, these are absolutely perfect. Thinking back, he was internally blown away. Crafting a D+ rank weapon without a proper forge, this guy absolutely deserves the constellation Bareth watching over his journey. Standing nearby, Go Chang-sok smoothly tossed over a custom scabbard. I whipped this up using some scrap monster leather. Good looks, Jong-seo grinned. Then fully plotting to exploit the old artisan's god-tier skills until he turned 90, he pitched a totally genius idea. Hey, by the way, fighting on the front lines is too risky for you. Honestly, it makes way more sense if you handled our gear back at base. How about you become our official camp quartermaster and manage everything? I would be absolutely honored, the old man beamed, nodding vigorously. Awesome, that is going to massively boost our survival odds. This next monster wave will be absolutely brutal. Over in the camp, Yu Saya was rushing around like crazy, barking orders to brace for impact. The bloodbath is starting soon. Gear up. Jong-seo specifically warned us earlier. This incoming attack is extremely lethal. Do not lose focus. Nearby, a random girl noticed the high-stress atmosphere and scoffed casually. Who cares about the danger? We are totally overpowered now. I bet it is just more dumb boars. Free meat is always a win, another player shouted back, listening to their naive and arrogant overconfidence. Massive anxiety flared up in the eyes of Yu Sia. They are way too relaxed. This is bad. If Jong-seo bothered dropping a warning, we are definitely walking straight into hell. Suddenly, a deafening shockwave shattered the noise, all thanks to the absolute unit of a tank. Hanchul violently smashed his fist into the dirt, blasting open a massive crater. Shut up, he roared, his face dead serious. instantly making the terrified crowd zip their lips. Catching the vibe, Yusia stepped up to deliver the final countdown. 60 seconds until impact. She quickly glanced over at the giant and nodded. You are Kang Hanchul, correct? I appreciate the backup. The muscular dude just coldly ignored her, turning away. Then, in a terrifying heartbeat, the catastrophic fourth wave officially kicked off. The designated targets, gray wolves. Man, if it is just dogs, this is a total cakewalk. We already farmed these guys, a mob character bragged right before their eyes locked onto the sheer monstrous scale of the beasts. Hold up, why the hell are they the size of trucks? The group panicked. Meanwhile, the ultimate coward, Park Jong-pil, frantically turned to his boss. Bro, what is going on? Why are those things built like massive tanks? Jong-so just smirked. Did you expect cute little puppies? Maybe fluffy sheep? I did not assume anything, the coward shrieked defensively. Jong-so, completely unbothered by the chaos, quietly scanned the sheer terror washing over the newbie players. I totally remember being exactly that pathetic once. Back in my past life, towering beasts made my blood run cold too. But those two are built differently. He realized, eyeing Yusia and Hanchul. Their auras were completely steady, radiating absolutely zero fear. Cut the chatter, it is hunting time, Jong-so declared coldly. Park Jong-pil flinched violently, suddenly remembering his absolute garbage role as live bait. Got a problem with that, the main character glared. With his life on the line, poor Jong-pil sprinted into the danger zone, bawling. This is straight up abuse, he shrieked, dragging a bloodthirsty pack of mutant wolves right on his heels, running toward his boss. Save me, bro, he wailed hysterically. But the absolute madman Jong-so was already charging up a devastating fireball technique, ready to roast the incoming predators. Is not this massive overkill for simple bait? The terrified sidekick screamed. Ignoring him, Jong-so unleashed the blazing inferno straight ahead, nearly giving Jong-pil a heart attack. Dude, you almost turned me into actual ash. The main character completely tuned out the whining. Colliding with his explosive magic, the monstrous pack shrieked in absolute torment, instantly reduced to charred barbecue. Watching the glorious carnage from above, the demonic constellation Beelzebub practically drooled. The hungry prince eagerly grabbed his cosmic chopsticks, absolutely locked onto the burning feast down below. Meanwhile, one massive alpha wolf managed to dash out of the blast radius. Locking onto his prey, Jong-so smoothly unsheathed his blade. Time to test drive this deadly new weapon. You reap exactly what you sow. Barking that out, he unleashed the legendary Blood Wolf sword style. Snagged straight from the secret treasure vault, this lethal martial art was forged by Wudang Sect's legendary master, Zhao Kong, who completely abandoned the mortal realm just to slaughter an entire wolf pack. After absorbing this brutal ancient skill, Jong-sun strangled his hilt and launched forward like a blazing missile, unleashing just a single strike of the Blood Wolf technique. Blood Wolf's claw, he effortlessly shredded the massive gray beast. With my energy center finally blown wide open, this terrifying technique will obliterate everything, Jong-sun smirked internally. At the exact same second, he supercharged his muscles using raw internal aura. Far off, the surviving beasts watched their packmate get completely destroyed. They totally snapped, howling ferociously, and flooding toward him like a vicious tidal wave of fur. Witnessing this, Jong-sun didn't even flinch. He planted his feet like a mountain, channeling pure energy into the first Blood Wolf form, Blood Wolf's fang overflowing with an insane amount of pure internal power. Immediately after, the second, those mutts breached his kill zone. Infinite blasts of razor-sharp sword aura erupted from Jong-sun, violently shredding the advancing monsters. The strikes flashed so blindingly fast that the beasts couldn't even graze the edge of Jong-sun's jacket, before instantly transforming into lifeless meat. Watching this absolute bloodbath, his buddy Park Jong-pil stood frozen nearby, shivering violently as he stammered, "Dude, is that really you? Stop being dramatic," Jong-sun scoffed casually. Afterward, per usual, he activated his gluttonous cheat code to devour their energy-draining nutrients. +1 strength point, +3 agility points. The constellation Hungry Prince gaped in sheer hunger. Snapping back to Park Jong-pil, he stepped closer, whispering, "Yo, mind if I head over there?" He nervously gestured toward the desperate squad, barely surviving their intense clash against the remaining gray wolves. One sweeping glance confirmed their squad was basically on the brink of total wipeout. The crew was seriously struggling, especially Hanchul, who hopelessly lagged behind the beast's lightning pace. But Yuseoa was absolutely popping off. Meanwhile, Yuseoa's insane combat flow actually managed to grab a divine VIP's attention. The legendary constellation, He Who Wears the Crown, practically drooled over Yuseoa's lethal swordplay. He who wears the crown is Baal, the absolute apex predator among the 72 demon lords. Despite lacking godhood, Baal reigns as a supreme blade master, commanding 66 hellish legions, so his obsession with Yuseoa totally tracked. Jong-sun rubbed his jaw, analyzing the scenario. That crowned deity definitely wants to test Yuseoa's hidden limits. Her blade dances were flashing ridiculously fast, Wielding just a single katana, she literally created an illusion of swinging dual blades simultaneously. That is Baal's divine influence. He is pushing her to prove she deserves his dark blessing. Jong-sun narrowed his eyes intensely. As Yuseoa kept absorbing that demonic buff, her fighting stats instantly skyrocketed off the charts. Catching this, the squad realized their massive counterattack window just opened. "Push now, guys, wipe them out fast," they screamed, across the bloody battlefield. Watching Yuseoa's savage execution, Baal felt extremely satisfied. The powerful constellation, He Who Wears the Crown, tapped his throne in deep fascination. Looks like Baal is totally eating this up, Jong-sun realized. Consequently, using Yuseoa as their ultimate vanguard, the squad swiftly obliterated the fourth brutal monster wave. You have flawlessly crushed the fourth assault phase. Every surviving player claims 100 bonus points. Processing personal battle stats. Rank 1, Jong-sun, 4,920 points. Rank 2, Yuseoa, 900 points. Rank 3, Kang Hanchol, 580 points. The moment the system pinged, Yuseoa blacked out from total burnout. Fortunately, Jong-sun caught the slip. He dashed forward, catching her falling body. "You crushed it," Jong-sun whispered proudly. Just inches from the blood-stained combat zone, several rookies lay groaning horribly, mangled by the ferocious beasts. "Does anyone here have medical skills?" the green-haired girl cried out desperately. Meanwhile, right nearby, one dude actually possessed decent medic knowledge. Sadly, he just hung his head, admitting he was totally useless without his proper medical gear. The entire battered squad instantly shot icy, resentful glares straight toward Jong-sun. If that overpowered jerk just stepped up, but he literally stood frozen like a statue. Catching their toxic vibes, Jong-sun chillingly strolled straight toward the panicked crowd, sparking immediate terror among them. "What are you trying to pull? You ditched us," completely ghosting their pathetic whining. Jong-sun shoved the blue-shirted loser out of the way, accessing his treasure of greed to pop a minor recovery spell. It was a foundational White Tower medic art designed to instantly clot blood and numb agony. Right then and there, under their stunned gazes, Jong-sun's magical cast summoned a glowing azure aura, forcing the horrific flesh tears to physically stitch shut, right before their very eyes. The gashes, they are literally vanishing, the blue-shirted guy gasped in absolute pure shock. Witnessing his miraculous power, the blue-haired girl pleaded, "Could you cast your healing light our way too?" "My mana pool has limits," Suwoon warned sharply. "No problem, I will only select those dancing on death's door," she agreed firmly. After pulling the dying back from the abyss, Suwoon leaned against an ancient oak, analyzing the outcome. The results were absolutely flawless. Beyond my wildest calculations. 0 casualties on the battlefield. Even the half-dead will bounce back fast. Suddenly, a massive shadow swallowed his vision. The absolute unit. Kang Hanchol blocked his path. "Need something," Suwoon demanded, his tone freezing. The Titan immediately made his motives crystal clear. "Battle me right now." A dangerous smirk tugged at Suwoon's lips. Classic meathead behavior. To tame this wild beast, I must shatter his ego first. Without a second thought, Suwoon accepted the duel. "Bring your blade. Unleash your mana," he commanded chillingly. Yet against a walking tank like Hanchol, Suwoon refused to unleash his full arsenal. "Forget weapons. If you want my blade, survive my bare fists first." He cracked his knuckles, the sound echoing like gunfire. Instantly, Hanchol's pride flared at this blatant disrespect. Gritting his teeth, the Titan bulldozed forward. He launched a devastating right hook, aimed straight at our hero's skull. Suwoon casually tilted his head, letting death breeze past. Lethal firepower, but his guard is practically non-existent. Spotting the opening, Suwoon delivered a bone-crushing kick to the thigh, yet the behemoth did not even flinch. "Built like a fortress," Suwoon praised silently. Seizing the momentum, Hanchol unleashed a furious storm of heavy blows. The sheer pressure forced Suwoon backward. After trading a few deadly strikes, a harsh reality set in. My current physical stats cannot outbrawl this monster barehanded. Time to change the rules of the game. Suwoon summoned the legendary Tai Chi Quan manual from his inventory, an ancient martial art born in the southern martial sects, standing alongside Shaolin as an absolute pillar of martial supremacy. Consuming the skillbook instantly, his entire aura shifted into a flawless defensive posture. Blind to the changing tides, the raging berserker hurled another earth-shattering punch. But this time, our protagonist refused to retreat a single inch. He elegantly raised a palm, absorbing the kinetic impact. With a subtle twist, he completely hijacked the giant's momentum. Channeling that force outward, Suwoon blasted the Titan backward. Hanchol rocketed through the air, violently slamming into an oak. Still, you must respect his god-tier durability. Despite being launched like a cannonball across the clearing, the tank shrugged off the impact like a mosquito bite. "I am not done," he bellowed, charging back with murderous intent. Watching the beast approach, Suwoon calculated coldly. "In a pure contest of raw strength, he completely outclasses me. But the essence of Tai Chi mocks brute force. It is the ultimate mastery of redirecting the world's energy. Throwing mindless power at this technique guarantees self-destruction. As the massive shadow eclipsed him once again, Suwon vanished with lightning-fast footwork. Reappearing instantly, he planted a dangerously calm palm strike directly onto the giant's shoulder. The explosive shockwave blasted Hanchol away, snapping a massive tree clean in half. Checking his dislocated joint, the Titan finally bowed his head. "I yield." Activating his healing magic, Suwon approached the fallen warrior. "Your raw power is already terrifying. Do not rush it. From today onward, we spar here twice daily." Suwon offered a hand to pull the behemoth from the dirt. "Understood," the big guy grunted respectfully, gripping his hand firmly as he stood tall. But their epic clash had triggered the gaze of a divine being. A cosmic entity had locked its predatory eyes directly onto Hanchol. The notorious constellation Old Man Riding a Crocodile was observing player Kang Hanchol with immense greed. Suwon instantly recognized that legendary title. The second demon, King Agarez, an absolute nightmare of a deity. "It seems my brawny friend has finally lured in a cosmic sponsor." A proud smile crossed Suwon's face. But peace was temporary. The dreaded fifth monster wave suddenly erupted. The atmosphere shifted entirely. Surviving 4 hellish bloodbaths had completely erased the cowardly terror from the survivors' eyes. Witnessing their hardened resolve filled Suwon with pride. "They have evolved. We slaughtered wolves and monkeys. What comes next?" he analyzed silently. The answer charged through the fog. A massive stampede of demonic gray-furred boars. Locking onto human flesh, the beasts squealed demonically, bulldozing forward like armored tanks. "Brace yourselves. Grip your steel." Jizeok roared across the battlefield. Even the usually pathetic Park Jung-pil had awakened his inner warrior, tossing fear aside. He puffed out his chest confidently. "Boss, I am locked and loaded. What are my orders?" Suwon shot him a side glance. "Just chill in the back." Hearing this unexpectedly merciful command, Jung-pil froze in absolute disbelief. Brushing off his shocked face, Jong-son locked his eyes on the squad's chaotic brawl. He smirked internally. "Until this exact moment, I have been totally holding back. I literally nerfed myself clearing out the trash mobs just to match their pathetic levels. But honestly, that babysitting era is officially over. Plus, these guys seriously need to grind their own contribution points anyway." His gaze shifted to Han Cheol. The dude was going absolutely berserk, flexing pure, unadulterated muscle. Tanking a massive gray boar head-on, muscles bulging, Han Cheol channeled every ounce of his insane raw power into his arms. He gripped those razor-sharp tusks, hoisted the massive beast sky-high, and brutally body-slammed it into the dirt. Wait, is that Tai Chi? Did he seriously finalize his contract with Agarez already? His combat prowess just skyrocketed off the charts. "Guess I can finally take a back seat?" Jung-son murmured. The sudden voice practically gave Park Jung-po a heart attack. "What is the plan then?" "Boss, I am sticking to you like glue." Jung-po groveled, rubbing his hands like a total simp. Hard pass Jong-son shot him down instantly. "You do not need to follow, because I am conquering that brutal peak right there." Jung-po traced his finger, his jaw instantly dropping. That was no normal mountain. It was literally a vertical nightmare-inducing stone pillar. One single look screamed pure suicide. A single misstep on that jagged cliff meant plummeting straight to a brutal, messy game over. "Yeah, nope," Jung-po instantly chickened out. "Good luck, man. I will just valiantly guard our tent from down here." Unbothered, Jong-son casually strolled toward the towering monolith. But the shadows shifted, revealing a menacing pack of feral brown monkeys. But honestly, these garbage-tier mobs stood zero chance. Jong-son sliced through their ranks like a hot knife through absolute butter. Treating them as pathetic little training dummies was paying off. System notifications chimed as his skill proficiency actively leveled up. Channeling his boiling ki into the Bloodwolf sword style, the devastating second form Bloodwolf Fang evolved to a whole new tier. Up above, the starving prince constellation grumbled. That pathetic little barbecue fest was nowhere near enough to cure its cosmic hunger. "Chill out, you will feast like a king soon," Jong-son promised. He instantly activated his gluttony skill, feeding the ravenous demonic entity. Seriously, managing this guy is like babysitting a moody toddler. Actually, strike that. It is literally like owning a bottomless, starving stray dog. Chuckling to himself, he threw the constellation a bone. "Just be patient. Waiting for us at the very peak of this summit is a delicacy far beyond anything your cosmic taste buds have ever experienced." Jong-son halted his tracks, his eyes narrowing slightly. Staring up the unforgiving stone wall, a memory flashed. Before my regression, trying to scale this death trap would have been pure madness. But the timeline has changed. Smirking, he tapped into his spatial treasury, equipping a highly specific buff, the Golden Monkey of Balaton Cliff. We are talking about the absolute apex predator of those lethal mountain ranges, the second that beastly aura assimilated into his very cells. Jong-son felt his muscle fibers explosively rewire themselves. The surge was intoxicating. "Oh yeah, scaling this thing is going to be a breeze." A confident grin spread across his face. Without hesitating, Zhang Son launched himself at the vertical nightmare, beginning his gravity-defying ascent. My grip is flawless. I can read the wind currents perfectly. The primal instincts of the golden monkey are surging through my absolute core. Without this insane cheat skill, gravity would have claimed me miles ago, he realized. Meanwhile, his internal hitchhiker piped up with burning curiosity. The starving prince constellation demands to know what kind of gourmet loot could possibly exist up here. Snapping back to reality, Zhang Son smirked. The grand reveal is incredibly close, he whispered. But just as the words left his mouth, 3 feral monkey guards locked onto him. Perched dangerously on a jutting branch, these beasts were absolutely paralyzed. Their eyes practically popped out of their skulls, staring at this human anomaly. They were literally shook to their core. Who the hell expects a random human to casually Spider-Man their way up a death cliff? Zhang Son could not help but laugh internally. But the sheer shock wore off fast, and the monkey squad violently snapped back to reality. Shrieking in pure rage, they unleashed a lethal barrage of jagged rocks. Catching the movement, Zhang Son channeled explosive power into his grip. With a massive heave, he catapulted his entire body straight up into the air, mid-flight gravity fighting him. A tactical blade materialized in his hand. Jaw clenched tight, he brutally drove the steel deep into the solid bedrock. Just hanging here is a death trap, his survival instincts screamed. But then his eyes caught it. A hidden cavern hollowed out inside the sheer vertical drop. That has to be their secret transit route. Bingo. Let us find out if this is where the legendary hidden fragment is stashed. Smirking, blazing fire magic violently erupted from his core. A scorching fireball hovered right above his palm. Sensing his devastating intentions, the feral monkeys below collectively felt their souls leave their bodies. And in a split second, a blinding, catastrophic explosion completely vaporized the side of that cliff. Crispy, charred monkey remains rained down into the abyss below. Clearing the smoke, Zhang Son vaulted himself right into the mouth of the cave. His regression knowledge was spot on. This secret tunnel was a VIP elevator to the top. Bypassing the fatal drop, he casually strolled toward the summit. But waiting at the peak was a literal bootleg, Sun Wukong. The massive white alpha monkey aggressively pounded its chest, roaring to assert pure dominance. Too bad, 0 points for intimidation. So you are the final boss up here, Zhang Xion scoffed. Honestly, thank God it is just a knockoff. Dealing with the actual Great Sage Heaven Equal constellation would be a massive headache. This beast is definitely mocking the Great Sage's form. It might be a cheap knockoff, but hey, I finally scored a real battle. Zhang Son smirked effortlessly, deflecting a brutal staff strike from the imposter. And just like that, an explosive clash against the fake Great Sage. Officially kicked off abusing its insane agility, the pale beast unleashed a storm of staff strikes at Zhang Son. From every impossible angle, he was forced into a desperate dance of blocks and parries. Honestly, for a basic tutorial boss, this creature's combat arts were seriously cracked. If I stay on the defensive, I am absolute toast, Zhang Xion analyzed. Channeling explosive aura into his legs, he launched himself backward, carving out a crucial breathing space. He knew he had to flip the script and strike without taking damage. Sharpening his focus, he dashed right into the danger zone, weaving flawlessly through the white monkey's deadly thrusts. Then spotting the perfect split-second opening, Zhang Xion snatched the boss's weapon barehanded. He immediately planted a devastating kick right into the imposter's gut, launching it backward. He successfully hijacked the artifact. Damn, this thing packs some serious weight, Zhang Xion muttered, testing the hefty balance of the stolen staff. Witnessing its precious weapon get stolen, the boss completely lost its mind. It threw a violent tantrum, unleashing deafening, furious shrieks. "Aw, what is wrong? Want your toy back?" Zhang Xion provoked with a wicked grin. He instantly accessed the treasury of greed and activated the legendary dog-beating staff technique. This ultimate beggar sect martial art was literally designed to obliterate rabid dogs and street trash. In a flash, Zhang Xion dropped into the flawless, unyielding stance of the dog-beating staff technique. The furious monkey froze, completely baffled by the shift. The battle ended swiftly. Disarmed, outplayed, and facing Zhang Xian's newly equipped master skill. It took barely a minute to completely crush the white monkey's skull. System alert. You have eradicated the vermin of Stone Monkey Mountain. The cliff-climbing monkey. Level up achieved. Your personal contribution points have massively spiked by 1,000 points. Loot acquired the Chestnut Stone of Stone Mountain. I should hand this artifact over to Old Man Go later. It might unlock something epic. Zhang Xion plotted silently. Then falling back into his dark routine, he activated his gluttonous privilege. To satisfy the starving demon within. Sorry to keep you waiting, buddy. Instantly, the horrifying tooth-filled serpent phantom launched itself forward and viciously consumed the stone monkey's corpse. Ding, you have absorbed the cliff-climbing monkey. The ultimate nutrient extraction has permanently boosted. Agility by 5 points and intelligence by 5 points. Staring at the system, Zhang Xion was absolutely floored by the massive stat jump. He was low-key stunned. A clean 10-point boost in one shot. The power of absolute greed is no joke, he marveled. This devouring ability is completely broken. If I keep feasting like this, I will literally become an unkillable tank. Smirking at the thought, he shifted his gaze to the rugged cliff wall and muttered, "Whatever, back to business. Time to see what that beast was protecting." Driven by curiosity, he shoved away a massive stone slab blocking the path. The heavy rock shifted, exposing a hidden cave entrance. Instantly, a system chime echoed, delivering a shocking alert. System message: you are now exploring the National Dungeon of the Forgotten Hero. Hold up, no way. A hidden dungeon in Chapter 1 of the tutorial. An actual dungeon. That means the EXP farm here will absolutely dwarf grinding basic mobs. And clearing this place guarantees insane loot. If I claim the first clear title, the system rewards will literally skyrocket through the roof. Since I stumbled upon it, backing out is not an option. Pumping himself up, Jongseon fearlessly stepped into the dark cavern. Playing it smart, he pulled a tactical item called the Night Owl's Eye, right from his inventory. These belonged to an apex predator, known as the Night Owl. They devour ambient light in pitch-black spaces, granting perfect night vision. The moment he equipped the artifact, the oppressive darkness vanished, revealing the cave's secrets. Ever since the entrance, this path has been a steep plunge downward. Because this tunnel carves straight through the mountain core, heading deeper means I am approaching the very abyss, Jongseon deduced sharply. Soon enough, the narrow tunnel opened into a massive, eerie coliseum. The ground was violently pierced with countless rusted longswords. The surrounding walls and stone floor were brutally scarred by monstrous blade waves. This place totally screams hardcore training ground. Jongseon observed, suddenly locking eyes on a mysterious keyhole ahead, a lock mechanism. This has to trigger the main questline. Without hesitation, he unsheathed the Forgotten Hero's sword and violently jammed it into the slot. Instantly, as the blade locked into the ancient mechanism, a blinding aura erupted from the stone. System alert. You have earned the right to challenge the Forgotten Hero. The alert echoed without warning. A split second later, an overwhelming aura materialized right behind our protagonist's back. The legendary Forgotten Hero had awakened. He watched the phantom casually rip a rusted sword straight from the earth, radiating sheer killing intent to test Jongseon. But our guy was caught totally off guard. He had zero time to prep. Oh crap, the boss fight is starting already, Jongseon cursed in a panic. But the real nightmare was just unfolding. Because in that terrifying, heart-stopping moment, Jongseon realized his own weapon was completely stuck inside the stone pedestal. Answering his doubts, glowing blue system windows flooded his vision. The legendary Forgotten Hero's trial had officially awakened. Absolutely no outside weapons permitted, only the shattered blades scattered across this ancient chamber. Suffocating mana filled the space entirely, sealing off all spellcasting. Gripping any ruined blade here would immediately trigger the deadly duel against this legendary spirit. Jongseon's gaze sharpened into deadly focus. So my overpowered gear and magic spells are completely locked away. Backed into a corner, he snatched up a heavily rusted blade, wrapping his fingers around the crumbling hilt with pure iron resolve. The exact second his fingers connected, the phantom warrior exploded forward like a bullet, unleashing a devastating horizontal slash straight toward him. Jongseon barely raised his fragile weapon with both hands to absorb the crushing impact. Realizing his opponent survived the deadly opening strike, a fiery spark of amusement ignited in the phantom's eyes. It has been ages since a mortal dared challenge me. Gritting his teeth, Jongseon pushed back, violently shoving the warrior away. Ages, meaning other players actually faced you before I arrived. Precisely countless centuries ago, one soul tried, the warrior smirked. Hearing this crucial clue, the gears in Jongseon's mind immediately started turning. Since you are still guarding this place, they clearly died trying. Instantly, their blades collided again, erupting into a blinding blur of high-speed strikes. Unfortunately, Jongseon was severely outmatched since his rusted weapon was already crumbling from the intense pressure. Unable to endure the brutal parries, the fragile steel violently exploded into metallic dust, left completely defenseless. He ditched the useless hilt, desperately snatching another nearby blade from the stone floor. However, due to surviving countless centuries of harsh decay, every single weapon here was basically fragile glass. The absolute microsecond his replacement blade parried the phantom's attack, it was effortlessly sheared perfectly in half. Thankfully, instead of landing a fatal blow, the ancient warrior paused to heavily analyze his stance. Decent instincts, but criminally sluggish. Your mind reads the battle, yet your flesh lags behind. This chillingly accurate breakdown sent shockwaves through Jongseon. This monster completely exposed my physical limits. After trading merely 2 strikes, he realized internally. Throwing away the junk metal, he angrily yelled. A tutorial boss unleashing actual sword aura. Is this entire beginner trial designed to slaughter me? You actually perceive my sword aura, the spirit gasped. In that freezing moment of terrifying clarity, he finally grasped why that ancient challenger died here. This impossible difficulty spike was the exact reason everyone perished. Locating this hidden dungeon was already pure hell, and now I am forced to deflect raw sword aura. What insane player could survive this? Ignoring the desperate ranting, the spectral swordsman lowered his stance with pure, lethal intent. Survive this nightmare or rot here forever. With that terrifying threat, the boss rocketed forward once more. Blurring like a launched missile, he unleashed a merciless barrage of fatal thrusts targeting the main character's vital arteries. Zhang Xion frantically wove through the deadly steel storm to survive. Coward, how long will you evade? I am no mindless beast. My attack chains constantly evolve, the phantom coldly warned. Sweating heavily, the young hunter gritted his teeth in sheer panic. His brain scrambled for any survival strategy. He is totally right. Standard dungeon mobs follow easily predictable, highly repetitive behavior loops. But this guy adapts perfectly. If I rely purely on evasion, he will eventually carve me to bloody ribbons. This is absolute madness. Evading is suicide, and blocking shatters my weapons. Cornered completely, he tapped into his divine sponsor, Mammon, quietly extracting a legendary martial arts skillbook, the mystical Tai Chi sword, directly from the vault. This ancient Wudang sect masterpiece beautifully channels the soft yet unstoppable flow of yin and yang, redirecting raw force flawlessly, like flowing water. As the phantom's glowing blade viciously pierced forward, Zhang Xion smoothly dragged his weapon through the air in a fluid ocean-like arc, perfectly deflecting the lethal thrust away, miraculously keeping his incredibly fragile rusty steel totally intact against the crushing aura. The phantom's glowing eyes widened in sheer disbelief. Ha! An elegant deflection, yet nowhere near enough to survive me. Roaring fiercely, he delivered a crushing heavy slash, forcefully blasting the pathetic rusty blade straight out of the boy's grip. However, that massive swing left his vital center completely unprotected. Capitalizing on this split-second miracle, moving like a shadow, Zhang Xion whipped out a hidden third blade and blitzed forward, unleashing the Bloodwolf sword arts. Devastating third stance, the piercing fang. This flawless counterattack violently ripped the weapon right from the spirit's grasp. Incredible, you completely read my ultimate combo. Executing such flawless timing, such supreme mastery truly demands decades of brutal battlefield slaughter. Are you concealing a monstrous true identity? Your posture shows absolutely zero traditional blade training. The phantom gasped aloud. Obviously, considering I literally looted this legendary skill from a divine vault 5 seconds ago. To anyone watching, I probably look like some overpowered master hiding his true terrifying aura, the protagonist smugly thought. Naturally, he kept his overpowered system a total secret. Smiling confidently, he asked, "So, did I finally clear this nightmare?" The phantom slowly nodded. "You successfully disarmed me, kid. With such monstrous hidden potential, you have definitely earned your victory. No one will ever strip this blade from your grasp again." The second those words left his lips, the ancient relic buried in the pedestal erupted with blinding golden energy. Jungsuk stared in awe. This had to be the legendary aura the Phantom Guardian fiercely guarded for centuries, the ultimate prize of this hidden domain. Without hesitation, he thrust both hands forward and locked his grip around the hilt. Instantly, a monstrous shockwave of raw aura blasted through his veins. "Endure it," the spectral knight warned. "The artifact is testing your soul." A fierce smirk crossed Jongsuk's face. "A sentient weapon screams S tier. Pain is my oldest friend. In my past life, I crawled to floor 92, fueled by pure spite and zero talent." Clenching his jaw, he squeezed the handle, wrestling the violently invading mana, and ripped the weapon free. In a flash of blinding light, the rusty blade completely morphed. "So this is its awakened state," he gasped. By claiming this mythical weapon from the stone, the ghostly knight's eternal duty finally ended. "You lack control now, but you will tame its fury. Show the heavens your absolute brilliance." Leaving those final words, his translucent silhouette shattered into golden dust, scattering into the wind. Suddenly, glowing blue system holograms flooded his vision. "You cleared the secret realm. Phantom Knight's Crucible. Level up. You secured a mythic tier achievement. 20,000 contribution points awarded. You obtained the legendary artifact. The divine blade, Durandal, high above Constellation. Corvus leaped out of his cosmic throne. Meanwhile, hell broke loose. As Yusoa danced through a deadly horde of gargoyle apes, the same beasts Jungsuk slaughtered earlier. Slashing a monster into rubble, she aimed her blood-stained rapier forward. "Vanguard, lock your shields. Hold the line. We are winning. Do not break." Right beside her, the human tank Kang Hunchol flexed his massive muscles, unleashing devastating shockwave, punches utterly pulverizing the demonic apes into mere dust. As a one-man army, he easily crushed dozens of beasts alone. Jongsuk has been gone too long. Did the dungeon devour him? Sioa muttered, anxiety gripping her heart. But the giant brawler simply crushed another skull, staying dead silent. Biting her lip, Soa snapped. "I am done waiting. I am tracking him down. Back me up once we clear this trash." "Stand down," Hanchol rumbled. "Are you insane? Without him we are dead." Before her panic spiraled, he interrupted. "That monster does not need our pity. Right now, he is probably achieving something utterly mind-blowing. Our job is to survive this bloodbath and level up before he returns." Pointing a massive finger. He gestured to the floating hologram leaderboard. Rank 1 Jongsuk, 28,660 points. Rank 2 Soa, 1,680 points. Rank 3 Hanchol, 1,600. Staring at his god-tier score, Sioa let out a heavy sigh of relief. Fine, she smirked. Meanwhile, deep underground, hours had blurred together as our main character finally blinked awake. Did that weapons backlash knock me out? Crap, my mana core is completely shattered and empty. I am dying to check this epic loot, but I need to reconstruct my Dantian first. Crossing his legs, he instantly dropped into a deep meditation, pulling ambient mana into his system. Yet seconds into his trance, a shocking realization hit him. His ki regeneration was violently accelerating. Snapping his eyes open, he gasped, "Whoa, what kind of cheat is this?" Spinning around, his jaw dropped at the sight of a colossal blinding geyser of pure spiritual energy, piercing straight through the cavern roof. Jackpot. The divine blade was not the only treasure here. A predatory grin spread across his face. Time to feast. Combining his fractured core with the abyssal dark rings he looted earlier, he activated the forbidden dark arts. This notorious cultivation technique was strictly reserved for absolute masters of the necromancer domain. Merging it with the demonic sex, legendary core breaker manual, the ultimate shadow synergy was born. If the universe is serving up an all-you-can-eat buffet, I am drinking this mana geyser dry, he growled. Instantly, his pores transformed into a raging black hole, violently devouring every drop of light. Suddenly, blue holographic screens bombarded his vision. Wave 6 cleared. Wave 7 obliterated. Wave 8 successfully conquered. The trial notifications just kept endlessly spamming his retinas. Survival bonus of 200 points distributed, staring at the endless stream of system alerts. A stunned Jongsuk blinked. Wait, did I sleep through an entire apocalypse? A full 36 hours vanished. Thank God they survived my absence. Chapter 1's ultimate nightmare drops at Wave 10. Monster levels will absolutely skyrocket in this final wave. Time to carry this entire camp on my back. Jongsun's aura flared. Devouring that massive dungeon energy triggered an epic martial arts breakthrough in his core. System Alert Supreme Core Breathing Technique triggered half an energy pearl now supercharges your entire Dantian. Your combat arts just gained devastating lethal force. Plus, the Dark Tower's secret training method forged your second mana circle. Second circle magic unlocked. Total mana capacity is massively amplified. Flexing his explosively overflowing new power, Jongsun smirked. The hype was completely real. Insane growth for less than 2 days. But the real prize, the mythic sealed stone-splitting sword. Durandal. Class Longsword, Grade B. An ancient myth wielded by absolute legends. Its true god-tier stats remain locked until it recognizes its master's raw power. Jongsun's jaw dropped at the insane stats. Scoring this during the tutorial phase is literally cheating. Before my regression, this mythic blade was just a ghost story. He casually slashed the air, unleashing a devastating hurricane. Is it really this broken even while sealed? My current stats are definitely too low to shatter the main seal, he speculated into the dark. Ding system warning, Wave 9 initiates in exactly 24 minutes. Prepare for absolute slaughter. Panic spiked, Jongsun immediately bolted toward the base camp. Crap, I gotta speedrun this right now. Meanwhile, Jusioa's squad was drowning in bloodthirsty primate monsters. Hold the line. Do not let the formation break. The brunette screamed desperately, but the vanguard shield-bearer groaned under the crushing weight of infinite enemies. Forget the wounded, a panicked voice echoed through the chaos. We are fighting for pure survival. Juzioa danced through the frontline carnage, desperately tanking aggro to protect her crumbling squad. Her blade work was sloppy. Instantly, the constellation spider wearing a crown forcefully hijacked her combat stance. The cosmic entity mocked her clumsy form. Read the room, I am literally dying here, she cursed. Wave 7 mutated these beasts into absolute tanks. Our casualty list is completely out of control. Are we actually doomed? Before she could blink, a rabid red monkey ambushed her blind spot. Sensing killing intent, Juseo spun around to parry, but pure adrenaline fatigue betrayed her. Her violently shaking hands completely dropped her defensive guard. Seeing her paralyze the muscular powerhouse, Hanchol instantly slammed his fists straight into the bloody earth. He ripped the terrain upward, launching the feral beasts into orbit. The constellation Old Man riding, Agariel, smirked down at the beautifully shattered battlefield. Spider, wearing a crown, hissed, demanding zero interference. Good, save Juseo. Ah breathed out gratefully. Breathe, boss, Hanchol grunted. But the wounded, she panicked. If you die, this entire camp dies. That brutal truth snapped her back. Staring at Hanchol's blood-soaked back, she realized he was fading fast. Without Jongsun, this is literally game over. Suddenly, Park Jongpyo's blood-curdling shriek shattered the chaotic battlefield. We are out of HP, we cannot hold on. Where are you, he sobbed, desperately clutching stolen bananas while an entire monkey horde chased him. Sprinting completely blind with terror, Jongpyo face-planted hard over a massive rock, eating pure dirt. The demon primates instantly swarmed jaws, snapping open to rip him apart. Jongpyo absolutely lost his mind, screaming for his parents like a terrified toddler. But death got denied today, just as teeth met flesh. Vajra, blinding celestial lightning obliterated the horde, frying them alive. Instantly, golden system alerts flooded Juseoa and Hanchol's vision. The constellation Spider wearing a crown violently trembles before the demon god. The constellation, Old Man riding a Gariel, respectfully kneels to the demon god. Through the smoke walked Jong-sun, radiating absolute boss energy. Jongpyo bawled literal happy tears. Bro. Ignoring him entirely, Jong-sun mercilessly spammed his devastating lightning magic into the crowd. Blasting the battlefield into ashes, he thought silently. Damn, that was way too close. Looks like Ju Se-ho and Han Cheol held the line. But what on earth is that clown doing? He actually snagged a constellation's gaze. The constellation The Pillager cackles wildly, pointing straight at player Park Jong-pil. The surrounding background characters finally spotted Jong-sol's dramatic return. That wild aura, is he the blood wolf? Jong-sung muttered, completely starstruck. Park Jong-pil cleared his throat, stepping up with zero shame. So how are you liking that epic nickname I dropped for you? Reeking of blood with every sword strike, rocking that feral cloak. It literally screams perfection. Right. He beamed brightly, totally clueless that Jong-sol was 1 second away from slamming him into the dirt. In this twisted system, an alias holds more weight than a real name, becoming your entire identity. Having this total scrub decide my title, I will personally carve a special nickname for you, Jong-sol growled, jaw clenched tight. For real, I would be totally honored, Park Jong-pil chirped, grinning like an idiot. Thanks to Jong-sol crashing the party, they utterly smashed the 9th wave. System alert. You have conquered Wave 9. Every survivor earns 200 points. Rank 1 Jong-sol, with 41,660 points. Rank 2, Jo Se-ah, at 4,820. Taking 3rd Han Chol bags 4,760 points. Once the dust settled, Jo Se-ah immediately rushed over to confront him. Jong-sol, where on earth did you vanish to? You went completely MIA. Evading her intense gaze, Jong-sol scanned the battered survivors. I will drop the details later. Right now, securing this camp is our absolute priority. Catching his drift, the female leader realized the battlefield remained dangerously unstable. She bolted off to manage the chaos, throwing a fierce glare back. You better spill everything later. Jo Se-ah has truly stepped up as camp commander, Jong-sol mused silently. Suddenly, the towering brawler nearby muttered, her power spiked. Catch me by the shattered ancient tree. Tossing those words out, he turned and vanished instantly. That sudden challenge sparked a realization in our protagonist. The ruined tree means a duel. It has been ages since our blades clashed. Shaking off the thought, Jong-sol commanded with icy authority, Park Jong-pil, give me the damage report. Flailing his arms submissively, the loudmouth kid barked, Sir, yes sir. Once you dipped to Rocky Mountain, Wave 6 wrapped up smoothly. But right when Wave 7 hit blah blah. Listening intently, Jong-sol was genuinely caught off guard by this flawless, recital-like briefing. This absolute clown actually possesses a hidden talent. In my past life, he just leeched off Han Chol and stirred up endless drama. Yet his analytical memory is surprisingly elite. No wonder the 6th-ranked demon Velafor keeps an eye on him. Blissfully ignorant of Jong-sol's inner monologue, Park Jong-pil kept fiercely yapping away, breaking down the battlefield stats. Using our downtime, the twins rigged up a wooden defense wall. The twins, Jong-sol narrowed his eyes, a memory clicking into place. The camera cut straight to the duo in question. Right then, the two sisters were fiercely debating. This spot still feels way too vulnerable. I literally told you to reinforce this section, the pink-clad girl snapped. Firing right back, the blue-clad sister scoffed. If we used your blueprint, the monsters would have slaughtered us mid-construction. Their spicy bickering instantly halted as Park Jong-pil proudly escorted Jong-sol into the zone. Han Aji Han Dae-wol. What is this disrespect? The boss is back, and you are slacking on the greetings. Locking eyes with them, the puzzle pieces finally connected in Jong-sol's mind. Those sisters, their Wave 3 combat skills genuinely impressed me. They constantly threw themselves into the meat grinder against those beasts. That twin synergy makes them completely unforgettable. Oh wow, it is Mr. Bloodwolf, the duo cheered happily. Hearing that cringe title, Jong-seol's aura instantly turned completely lethal. Bloodwolf, I will never accept this trashy alias that punk forced on me. He fumed, grinding his teeth. That lethal glare left Park Jong-pil sweating, whispering, I have zero clue what I did wrong. Pushing the rage aside, Jong-sol cooled his killing intent and praised, you both crushed it today. Did you purchase those tools using system points? Yes, Commander Jo Se-ah gave the order. It might look a bit janky, but it totally wrecks the Red Wolves, they bragged proudly, forcing Jong-sol to nod in silent respect. This setup will definitely clutch the upcoming wave. Hearing his validation, the sisters immediately exchanged anxious, panicked glances. But we are critically low on timber. Two people simply cannot build fast enough before the next spawn. Internally, Jong Sol was just feeding them false hope. The brutal reality hit different. A flimsy wooden fence is absolute garbage against the approaching 10th wave. Yet the only reason you hold my interest is the divine entities currently tracking you. The formidable constellation Blackbird, of the sharp spear's tip. The constellation Giant Vulture spreading its wings locks its piercing gaze on player Honda Ul. Meanwhile, the 38th ranking demon Halfas, alongside the 39th ranking demon Malphas, grant ultimate mastery over construction and impenetrable fortification. Absolute game changers on the battlefield. Realizing their strategic value, Jung Sun stepped up to offer his assistance. I will handle the lumber. The twins' anxiety evaporated in a flash. Wait, seriously, Mr. Bloodwolf, you are an absolute legend. Woo-hoo, drop that cringe nickname right now, the veteran grumbled. Marching into the dense woods to gather lumber, Jung Sun casually unsheathed his newest weapon. This bizarre action left Hana Jin and Han Da-ul completely baffled. Wait, are you logging with a blade? Let me grab a proper axe. No need for that, Jung Sun smoothly replied, brushing off their concern. Gripping the hilt with both hands, he unleashed a fierce horizontal slash, right at the massive timber. The devastating heavy strike violently bit halfway through the thick bark. The trio gasped in absolute awe. Holy smokes, your raw power is insane, yet the hype completely phased right past him. Jung Sun scowled deeply at the jagged gouge. If I do not channel my inner ki, this pathetic physical output is definitely my absolute ceiling. Even the legendary stone-shattering blade Durandal becomes completely worthless if its wielder lacks sufficient strength to fell one measly tree. I need more power. Sighing internally, Jung Sun accessed his treasury of greed for maximum efficiency. Instantly, he extracted a legendary martial arts manual, titled the Taishan 18-Fold Sword. Forged by the mighty Huangbo clan, this forbidden art boasts absolutely devastating destructive capabilities. Slicing timber in one hit, this god-tier technique is total overkill. With zero hesitation, he whipped the blade around for round 2. Exactly as calculated, one blinding flash of steel smoothly severed the massive trunk, sending it crashing down. Only 2 hits for that gigantic beast. You are absolutely cracked, the squad cheered brightly. But the real show was just beginning. Jung Sun finally ignited his dormant internal energy. Surging pure ki directly into his muscular frame, he supercharged the second form of his new style, the Taishan single strike. Once his spiritual pressure peaked, he unleashed a catastrophic sweeping slash. A massive glowing aura blade exploded forward, violently shredding through every single trunk in its path. An entire forest line was obliterated, timber raining down everywhere. This absolutely broken display of overpowered stats left the trio, and Park Youngpil completely paralyzed with shock. Transportation is covered, Park Youngpil will carry everything. Wait, what? All of this heavy lifting? Alone, the poor guy panicked. Jung Sun just smirked ruthlessly.
Obviously you are my right-hand man.
The overworked lackey instantly started sobbing while his cosmic sponsor clutched its stomach, howling with pure sadistic joy. The Snatcher constellation was literally rolling on the floor, mocking its pathetic player. The brutal grind continued until dusk. By sunset, Park Youngpil was completely drained, his legs turning to absolute jelly. Have some mercy, bro, please. Groaning in agony, he face-planted straight into the dirt. But Jung Sun was a merciless taskmaster, ready to squeeze every last drop of stamina out of him. Quit crying, you frail boomer, he teased with a hidden smirk. Honestly, as a joke, moving 3 logs was still pretty impressive. I actually planned to make Han Cheol solo, this Jung Sun noted, glancing at the absolute unit casually hoisting twin massive trunks. Han Cheol is a total beast. Our defense barrier is going to be massive now. The twins beamed brightly. With the base fortification progressing flawlessly, Jung Sun shifted his tactical focus toward a much more pressing issue. Phase 1 is complete. Time for the next objective. Formulating his plan, he scoped out a nearby clearing. A massive crowd of battered survivors desperately swarmed the green-haired girl for medical salvation. My arm, the sensation is completely gone, a victim wailed, prompting the stressed healer to frantically calm the chaos. Hold on just a second, you are next in the queue, Lee Han-woo. I only chatted with her briefly before. She literally gives 100% to saving lives. She is the chosen avatar of Hell's Rank 5 Great General Marbas. The blood-soaked lion constellation fiercely snarls, tasting the crimson stains surrounding player Lee Han-woo. This Rank 5 demonic overlord, Marbas wields ultimate dominion over terrifying plagues and miraculous cures. Clearly, she lacks total mastery. Over her sponsor's overwhelming cosmic abilities, Jung Sun analyzed silently. Crouching beside the exhausted girl, he proposed a strategy. Let us split the aggro. I will patch up the critically wounded with massive physical trauma, while you purge the internal organ damage. Marbas's kit makes this the optimal play. Wait, how do you know that? Lee Han-woo stammered suspiciously. But meeting Jung Sun's unwavering gaze, her doubts vanished. Copy that. With the battle lines drawn, Jung Sun immediately initiated his skills. bathed in his radiant, restorative aura, shattered bones and deep gashes miraculously knitted back together. Your progression is literally happening in real time. You were cracked before, but this output is unreal. Li Han-woo gasped, staring in absolute awe. Obviously, since recovery hits as a Tier 2 spell, its healing potential completely eclipses Tier 1 magic. Johnson smirked internally before smoothly replying. Honestly, you will probably surpass my healing abilities in no time. That constellation backing your contract is just completely overpowered. Johnson declared this with absolute confidence, leaving Leon caught off guard and slightly flustered. Up above, the blood-soaked lion constellation proudly ruffled its celestial mane, secretly thriving on a mere mortal's praise. Beside it, another starry being bobbed its head, fully hyping up that badass title for the underworld's sovereign. Jong Son blinked at the sky, totally thrown off. Almighty cosmic beings acting this adorable. He quickly shook the weird thought away. Soon after patching up the squad's battered bodies, Jong Son took off. Holler, if you need backup, you got it, boss. Seriously, thanks a million, Li Han-woo blurted out. Jong Son smirked. Locking down a contract with Marbas Major Flex. This base camp is built like an absolute fortress now. Crazy how much leveled up while I was out soloing that Rocky Mountain raid boss. Right then, who's up next? Jong Son mused, scanning the area. His eyes locked onto Go Chang Seo striking away at the anvil nearby. Yo, old man, Jong Seon called out, closing the distance. Recognizing that familiar tone, the veteran blacksmith paused his heavy hammer strikes and glanced up. Ah, the man of the hour, he grinned. Every single piece of elite armor rocking on Jiwoo, Seol Ah, and Han Cheol was crafted by those weathered hands. The craftsmanship was absolutely god-tier, flawlessly tailored for each fighter. Jong Son couldn't help but silently respect the hustle. Meanwhile, the blacksmith's sharp gaze immediately sniped the lethal new blade resting at Jong Son's waist. Pure greed flashed in the elder's eyes. Damn, what kind of overpowered relic is that? Obviously a master never misses legendary loot. Bingo Jong Son thought, fighting back a sly smirk as he presented the mythical weapon. The second steel left the scabbard, the blacksmith's eyes practically beamed with lasers. I was wondering where you vanished to. And you return wielding a straight-up masterpiece, Jong Son chuckled. Chill out, old man, your intense glaring might burn a hole through my blade. He teased, hinting for the overly hyped crafter to dial down the fanboy energy. Catching himself totally drooling over the gear, the veteran cleared his throat, snapping his gaze away. Anyway, what brings you here? That beastly edge definitely doesn't need my whetstone. In response, Jong Son casually whipped out a glowing crystal. The ultimate drop he scored from slaughtering the Monkey King. Before anything else, appraise this for me. Up above, the golden-crowned warrior constellation nervously spun its halo. Now that is some high-tier crafting material. Whoa, this starstone hits different, the elder muttered, nodding. Just as I calculated, his masterclass eyes spotted its true value instantly. It's the flawless jade core I ripped straight from the Rocky Mountain apex predator. In this current meta, it's arguably the most broken drop available. Without skipping a beat, Jong Son dropped his quest, forged this into absolute endgame armor. You bet I'm already outfitting this whole squad, aren't I? The master blacksmith accepted the challenge with a greedy grin. Can you rush it before the next monster wave hits? Jong Son pressed, brow furrowed. The elder quickly glanced at his system timer. 10 hours until the next bloodbath drops, he calculated aloud. Looking at the clock, we've got plenty of time to cook. Why the massive rush, kid? Jong Son's eyes grew cold. Because when the next wave spawns, I'm holding absolutely nothing back. The night flew by. By dawn, Jong Son and Han Chol were violently trading blows in the yard. You've leveled up, huh? Look who's talking. You used to fight like a wild beast, but now you're a straight-up raid boss. Han Cheol groaned mid-swing. I'll take that as high praise. You've naturally absorbed some sick Tai Chi flow, and I didn't even teach you. When it comes to pure muscle memory, I'm basically a genius. Han Cheol barked back with absolute unshakable swagger. Jong Son dodged, pointing out a massive flaw. Maybe, but fighting like that totally nerfs your own raw power. My raw power, Han Cheol echoed, confused. Jong Son gave a sharp nod. Exactly. Your absolute unmatched physical specs. Without another word, he blasted forward. Simultaneously, his system menu flared open, unlocking the treasury of greed to equip the legendary Jinju Eon martial arts. A brutal hand-to-hand combat style strictly designed for solo duels, notoriously famous for blending pure kinetic force with dark necromancy. An ultimate art born from the Jinju Eon clan, one of the 5 great families. Staring down that incoming death blow, Han Cheol didn't flinch for a microsecond. Roaring, he launched a massive counterpunch to meet it head-on. The impact was absolutely deafening. A violent shockwave exploded outward the instant their knuckles slammed together. But ultimately, Jong Son reigned supreme, fueled by the overwhelming internal ki and flawless forms of the Jinju Eon style. His Jiangshi strikes evolved entirely. The sheer kinetic force launched the massive tank skidding backward. Watching from the sidelines, Seol Ah gasped, hands flying to her mouth. That sheer power, Han Cheol muttered, staring blankly at his violently shaking fist. Standing tall, Jongson dropped some wisdom. That's the power fist. Lock down your stance and you'll completely unleash your max physical damage. For now, I'm upgrading your spiritual energy control. Hey Park Jongpil. Summoned on command, Jongpil materialized from the shadows like a fired bullet. Present and ready, boss. You're off duty right now, right? Jongson asked. Absolutely. My entire schedule is wiped clean. I am completely at your command, boss. Perfect. Then you are going to be Han Chul's personal punching bag, Jongson smirked wickedly. The blonde kid instantly froze, dripping with cold sweat. Wait, what, sir? Haha, boss. Actually, I just remembered a super critical mission I gotta do right now, Jongpil stammered awkwardly, backpedaling. Too bad for him, Jongson instantly saw right through that pathetic, completely made-up excuse. Have your way with him. I am not holding anything back, Han Chul roared, violently snatching the terrified kid's collar. He ruthlessly dragged him into a dark corner for a brutal beatdown. Make me proud, Zhongjia. That is not even my real name. Have mercy, boss, the poor guy shrieked in absolute terror. Above his deceiver constellation, absolutely howled with chaotic laughter, totally ignoring his pathetic, desperate wails. Next up, Jongson crossed blades with Josia. Her combat rhythm was vastly different from Han Chul's. She perfectly weaponized her agility. Her deadly form was practically flawless. Yet catching a glaring weakness, Jongson suddenly slid his blade away and spoke. Your form is sharp, but your strikes lack devastating impact. Slicing through trash mobs is easy, but against an absolute titan, speed and fancy footwork will not save you. In the heavens, Josia's crowned constellation silently nodded, completely validating his harsh critique. She did not need the cosmic reminder. She already felt that bitter truth deep down. Even those basic crimson beasts pushed her absolute limits. Frustrated, she anxiously gnawed her lower lip. Locking eyes with her, Jongson dropped a heavy truth. Whenever I leave the safe zone, I hunt apex predators. They are infinitely more lethal than the generic trash flooding these base defense waves. So that is the brutal secret behind your monstrous growth. You devour the strongest alphas, Josia murmured, absolute realization dawning on her face. Jongson's gaze hardened as he stared ahead. I am betting a raid boss drops in this exact wave. He knew it was an absolute certainty, not a mere guess, but he kept his mouth shut. Josia had to survive this ultimate test herself. Keeping his inner monologue hidden, he gave her a firm, trusting nod. I am counting on you to command the Cha territory with absolute authority. Understood, she replied brightly. Time slipped away in a flash. Suddenly, an ominous system prompt shattered the silence, warning the survivors that absolute chaos was incoming. Stage 1 protocol, 5 minutes remaining until the 10th demonic invasion wave begins. At that exact nerve-wracking second, the veteran blacksmith, Go Jong-so, hammered the final fiery strike on Jongson's custom magical ore battle gear. How does she feel? Meets your legendary standards, the old man beamed, while Jongson equipped the heavy plating, testing the incredibly smooth joint mobility. The system chimed Crimson Wolf combat suit, officially classified as C- tier armor. Item lore reads, battle-ready gear woven from alpha wolf pelts, magically reinforced by mystical jade from the primal ape peaks. Bonus effects. Boosts raw physical damage by 10%. Inflicts psychological terror on inferior beasts, heavily maximizing base defense and overall structural integrity. Closing the holographic stat screen, Jongson gave a deeply satisfied nod. Incredible. This completely shatters my original expectations. Internally, he was absolutely mind-blown. A C- rank from these scraps. With that legendary Barris forging method, it actually makes terrifyingly perfect sense. Standing nearby, Master Go and his heavenly sponsor flashed incredibly smug grins, entirely basking in Jongsion's silent awe. The majestic golden-crowned warrior constellation proudly boasted that his divine smithing essence coursed through every single metallic fiber, ensuring absolute combat perfection. Shifting back to reality, with the bloody siege looming seconds away, Jongson issued a grim warning. Master, lock yourself deep inside the armory immediately. Hearing this, the old artisan instantly threw a stubborn fit. Nonsense, I absolutely must watch my masterpiece bathe in blood. Besides, you are going to slaughter that trash easily, right? He shot the hero a massive, trusting thumbs up, radiating total blind faith that the vanguard would easily shield him from the impending massacre. Catching that unwavering belief, Jongson simply cracked a fearless, reassuring smirk. If you insist, just stay far behind the vanguard where it is safe. Suddenly, blood-red text shattered the atmosphere. The ultimate trial Wave 10 has officially commenced. Annihilate the final horde and claim your bloody glory. Incoming hostiles, someone screamed in pure panic, exactly as Jongson had grimly prophesied. This apocalyptic final assault featured an endlessly suffocating ocean of enemies. Blood-soaked wolves and crimson primates began breaching the horizon. Shockingly, the frontline fighters actually sighed in relief. Wait, these are just the exact same garbage mobs we already slaughtered. Is this the so-called boss wave? Sure, the numbers are absolutely insane, but Pivoting to Josiah, she immediately stepped up, radiating cold authority against the rising tide. We have butchered these exact same freaks before. Hold the damn line and fortify the outer barricades, she barked flawlessly. But then, a soul-crushing demonic roar violently ripped through the battlefield, snapping everyone's attention. Their faces violently paled as a colossal mountain of heavily scarred muscle completely eclipsed their vision. An unnervingly colossal alpha, the Crimson Fang Kanan, had finally descended. A blood-red system alert, specifically tracking this nightmare, blared in their minds, confirming their absolute worst spine-chilling fears. The raid boss had officially arrived. Wait, heaven help us. Look over there too. Watch out, Hanchiol roared. The earth quaked as a colossal beast smashed through. Enter Red Tusk Park. Finally dropping in from above, a heavily armored ape crashed down. Red Claw Yasak. That made 3 massive raid bosses for the 10th wave. Our squad, trapped dead center, completely boxed in by 3 bloodthirsty monster hordes. Crimson wolves, savage boars, and brutal apes. Staring down that nightmare, Army Pure Dread choked the squad. We're dead, someone choked out. Commander, this is a total wipe. What's the play? All eyes snapped to Josiah, begging for orders. The swordswoman froze, cold sweat dripping down her face. Her mind went totally blank against these impossible odds. She stammered, shaking like a leaf. But before panic could completely shatter their front line, our boy gripped his blade and blasted forward like an absolute missile. Channeling his extreme heart-shattering art, he stacked it with the 3rd form of his Blood Wolf internal energy, pure synergy. His advancing strike leveled up Jung Sol's crosshairs, instantly locked onto the Alpha Wolf Kanan. Why? Because speedrunning this boss was the only way to shatter their formation and hype up his terrified squad. Moving at warp speed, Jung Sol carved a brutal slash across the Alpha's hide, forcing a blood-curdling howl from the beast. But wait, there's more. The massive stat gap triggered his gear's hidden passive effect. System alert: Red Wolf armor inflicts terror. Plus, the Grey Wolf cloak maximizes enemy panic. Boom! The whole pack scrambled backward in sheer horror. Catching his breath, Jung Sol roared at his frozen teammates. Josiah, Kang Hanchiol, wake up. That absolute boss energy instantly snapped them out of their stun lock. Time for magic. Drawing on his Black Tower mastery, he supercharged a devastating chain lightning spell. Crackle, a blinding pillar of raw electricity blasted from his palm, frying Kanan alive. The Alpha twitched aggressively, foaming at the mouth. Honestly, it looked pathetic. Even Jung Sol paused, totally confused. Was it always this squishy? Back then, this thing was a walking slaughterhouse. Is my glow-up really that insane? He wondered. But soaking up all that critical damage triggered the boss's enrage timer. System warning: Red Fang, Kanan goes berserk. Instantly, the beast's fur ignited into a blazing blood-red inferno. Glowing eyes locked dead onto Jung Sol, the guy who humiliated it, and it lunged with killing intent. Jung Sol didn't even flinch. He just tightened his grip on his hilt. In his past life, that exact strike one-shotted their whole camp. Too bad I've memorized your entire attack pattern, he smirked. I'll parry that momentum right back at you. Bam! Jung Sol drove his blade straight for the beast's jaws. Crunch, the Alpha's fangs clamped down, halting the steel. Not happening, flexing insane strength. Jung Sol brutally wrenched his weapon free from the monster's mouth. Exploiting that microsecond stun, he vaulted into the sky. Riding gravity down, he impaled his blade straight through Kanan's skull. One choked gasp and the boss dropped dead. Ding! Named monster Red Fang Kanan eliminated. Personal contribution points spiked by a massive 4,000. Solo kill bonus granted, another 4,000 points secured. Epic drop acquired Kanan's Fang. With the Alpha dusted, Jung Sol immediately popped his gluttony skill for those sweet stat buffs. Target devoured. Essence absorbed. Strength pumped up by 5. Agility skyrocketing by 10. System alert: Pack terror maximized. The surviving grunts watched their absolute unit of a boss get deleted. Tails tucked, they slowly backed away in sheer panic. Jung Sol just glared at them with ice-cold disgust. Alpha's dead, and they're completely broken, he realized. Glancing at a nearby soldier, he ordered, "Sweep up this trash for me." "Yes, sir," the guy shouted, fully hyped. Jung Sol immediately dashed to bail out the other zones. His squad could easily mop up these broken stragglers. Time for the other heavy hitters. Across the battlefield, Han Chiol was literally wrestling the massive boar boss Park. 2 absolute tanks deadlocked in a brutal test of strength. Matching that behemoth with pure muscle alone. Expected nothing less from Kang Han Chol. Jung Sol smirked. Suddenly, Park triggered its earthquake skill. Hooves slammed the dirt, sending a devastating seismic wave ripping straight toward Han Chol. Not backing down, Han Chiol channeled crazy power into his fist and punched the earth, launching a massive shockwave to cancel out the beast. Countering a tremor with another tremor, he is completely synced with his constellation. Agares. Jung Seol acknowledged, nodding approvingly, stepping forward to guide him. "You still remember the Negan Jia strike sequences? I can pull off the first stance," Han Chol answered. Perfect mirror my moves. With those words, Zhang Sol slid his blade away and instantly dashed forward, blurring past the alpha boar, leaving the beast completely bewildered. But the real shocker came next. Zhang Sol funneled his surging internal aura straight into his knuckles. Fueled by that raw qi, the Negan Jaw's opening move, the Jiangshi strike, leveled up immensely. Fully charged, Zhang Sol slammed his fist directly into the beast's ivory. The massive tusk exploded into dust instantly. Meanwhile, Han Xiol had already locked into his stance, primed to strike. His constellation was absolutely backing him up. The constellation Old Man Riding a Crocodile Fish aggressively channeled its seismic powers directly to its chosen contractor. Kang Han Chol's Jiangshi strike has evolved. As the system alert vanished, Han Chol's eyes flared white, and he buried his fist brutally into the alpha's snout. The insane kinetic force launched the massive monster sideways, instantly erasing the beast from existence with one hit. System alert. You have slain the elite boss. Crimson Tusk Boar, nearby Han Chol, stood frozen, completely shell-shocked that he just dropped such a god-tier attack. Whoa, so this is absolute power, he whispered. Zhang Xiol gave a proud nod. Exactly. Once your body adapts, you will casually drop nuclear hits without your constellation carrying you. Taking that in, Han Chol fell totally silent, staring intensely at his trembling hands. Ignoring him, Zhang Xiol pivoted and activated Gluttony to farm some raw stats. You have devoured Crimson Tusk Boar. By extracting its core essence, your physical strength jumps by 5 points, and your maximum stamina expands by 10. The constellation The Starving Prince relishes the premium meat with absolute euphoria. Wrapping up, Zhang Xiol glanced back. Han Chol, you can solo the leftover trash mobs, right? Hell yeah, he nodded. They are all yours then. This dungeon raid is far from done, Zhang Xiol mused, sprinting ahead to execute the final boss. Meanwhile, Yu Se-ah was fighting desperately, trying to survive a vicious monkey swarm, trapping her from every angle. Do not panic, guys. Anyone wounded retreat behind the magic shield. Immediately she commanded, flawlessly managing the raid team, while frantically carving through the incoming beasts. Yu Se-ah is performing way past expectations. Her innate combat genius, fused with her constellation's backing, Zhang Xiol smirked right before a super recognizable shout pierced through the battlefield chaos. Catch me if you can, losers. I bet you cannot. Catching that familiar tone, Zhang Xiol dead-stopped in his tracks, questioning if his ears were actually playing tricks. Glancing toward the absolute mayhem, it was exactly who he expected. His goofy buddy Park Jong-pyo, literally hoarding a massive banana pile, while kiting an entire mob of enraged monsters. Too slow bozos, cry harder about it. Ha ha ha, Park Jong-pyo cackled like an absolute menace, driving the feral apes into a blind, bloodthirsty rage. Too bad their agility stats were total garbage, making catching him impossible. Witnessing this absolute clown show, Jin Woo was literally rolling on the floor, dying of laughter. Zhang Sol's brain basically blue-screened. Who on earth is this guy? And how is he low-key carrying the team? He was not just surviving, he was actively looting gear mid-chase. Bro definitely unlocked a pickpocketing trait. That is the signature trait of the 6th-ranked Demon Lord Valefor. Whatever, as long as he farms for us. We take those. Flipping back to Yusei. Ah, the monkey boss. Yasak swung its massive blade, shattering the raid's defensive magic wall. Witnessing the collapse, Yu Se-ah frantically ordered, "The shield is broken, everyone retreat immediately. I will hold off the elite boss." Right on cue, Zhang Sol materialized beside her, catching her completely off guard. "Zhang Sol, why are you here? Did the other zones collapse?" Hearing her panicked questions, Zhang Sol maintained his cold composure. "Everything is essentially cleared, so chill out. Let us just execute this final target together." "Understood, thanks for the backup." The fiercely determined girl nodded back. Instantly, Yasak released a blood-curdling roar and blitzed them, totally clueless that this reckless dive was a fast track to its own funeral. Across the battlefield, watching the hulking ape charge in Zhang Xiol, and Yu Se-ah explosively launched forward to clash. The Blade Dancer took the vanguard. Yu Se-ah unleashed a furious storm with her twin blades violently stalling the boss's momentum and forcing it to hide behind its heavy shield. For a squishy dual-wielder, a heavily armored tank is a nightmare matchup. Plus, this monster possesses actual battle IQ. Its defensive maneuvers are incredibly flawless, Zhang Sol analytically noted. He intently analyzed Yu Se-ah's combat rhythm, realizing her blade mechanics are top tier, but her stepping is totally lagging. Her footwork is literally anchoring her insane talent. Reading the fatal flaw, he stepped directly into the danger zone, deciding to drop some masterclass wisdom. "Yu Se-ah, listen closely. Copy your moves, right now," she gasped, totally shell-shocked. Because this battlefield was zero place for a lecture. Actual life-or-death combat is the absolute fastest teacher, Zhang soon declared smoothly. Tapping into his greedy treasury, he instantly activated the legendary Camille's twin blade arts. This signature technique of mercenary King Camille stood at the absolute peak of 5 mythical styles. The footwork alone mirrored a phantom leaf caught in a raging hurricane. Nobody could possibly track it. To Ju Soha Jongsoon's silhouette, blurred into an unpredictable storm, slipping through attacks left and right with insane ghost-like agility. What on earth is that insane footwork, she blurted out, absolutely mesmerized. Meanwhile, Jongsoon ghosted right up to the boss ape, snatching his hip dagger. Launching himself upward, he became a deadly mid-air tornado, unleashing twin devastating slashes straight at Yasok's shoulder. Catching the vibe, the female Blade Master inhaled deeply and darted forward, perfectly mirroring his phantom-like steps. Boom, trapped in a flawless front and back pincer strike, the massive ape took such a brutal beating that it could only screech in pure, helpless agony. Its heavy shield proved entirely useless against the relentless barrage. Catching Soha's perfect synchronization, Jongsoon flashed an approving nod. Perfect, keep pushing, faster, fueled by his hype. Soha clenched her jaw and kicked her speed into overdrive. Together they mutated into an unstoppable blender of flashing blades, completely trapping the boss Yasok. Inside this steel hurricane, relentless cuts rained from every single angle, brutally shredding the monster's flesh and forcing out desperate, blood-curdling shrieks like its soul was burning. Exhausted and bleeding out, the creature finally dropped its massive shield to the dirt, offering the ultimate, fatal opening that Jongsoon and Ju Soha needed for a devastating synchronized execution. In one fluid motion, the dynamic duo sliced the Crimson Beast's head clean off. System alert, named Boss Redclaw, Yasok, eliminated. Your personal contribution points spiked by 4,000. You have officially acquired Yasok's blade. Witnessing their almighty leader get absolutely folded in half, the surviving monkey minions completely lost their minds in pure terror. Exchanging panicked glances, they scrambled wildly into the woods, officially ending the 10th wave with an epic, flawless victory for Jongsoon's elite squad. It is finally over. Ju Soha exhaled heavily, eyes locked on the glowing holographic window. First trial chapter, adaptation successfully cleared. 10 brutal waves conquered. Massive congratulations on your survival. The prologue of this hellish tutorial has officially shut its doors. No more nightmare waves. We actually survived. The chaotic twins burst into tears of pure, unadulterated relief and joy. Yet Jongsoon, burdened with his regressor knowledge, knew that popping the champagne right now was a deadly rookie mistake. Cue the sinister system ping. A brand new holographic prompt materialized before them. Jongsoon, what on earth is happening? Ju Soha stammered, freezing up entirely. Right on schedule, the notification dropped. Tutorial Phase 2 Migration. Primary objective. Navigate the deadly plains and reach the designated sanctuary. Countdown started 167 hours and 59 minutes. Time to pack up and move out, Jongsoon commanded with ice-cold calm. Instant panic rippled through the exhausted survivors. Leave. Are you kidding? We literally just figured out how to not die in this cursed wasteland. Phase 1 was purely about adapting. Against impossible odds, they had ground their teeth, spilled blood, and claimed this rugged wilderness. Tearing people away from their hard-earned safe zone is basic psychological warfare, Jongsoon analyzed silently, with a heavy sigh. Watching the squad spiral into a total meltdown, Ju Soha stepped up like a true leader. Everyone, take a deep breath. Surprisingly, while the veterans completely freaked out, the chaotic twins actually looked absolutely thrilled. What is next? A magical safe zone, maybe an entire hidden village. If we spot real civilization, I am diving straight into a massive bubble bath. Handan giggled brightly, completely ignoring the tension. Meanwhile, his sister Han Aji rubbed her chin, totally unfazed. But what if fresh monsters ambush us on the road? Let them come. We have literally crushed everything the system threw at us so far. Right, guys? They cheered together, eyes shining with unbreakable Gen Z hype. That raw energy was highly contagious. The gloom vanished. Exactly. We survived that brutal hellscape. What could possibly stop us now? Thanks to the dynamic duo, the squad's crumbling morale skyrocketed back up. Jongsoon caught the twins shooting him a secret, knowing thumbs up. He just smirked internally. Saved by these chaotic rookies once again. The clock ticked forward. The bloody aftermath of the 10th wave was efficiently dismantled and processed. Operating like a well-oiled machine, the survivors worked in perfect harmony, roasting premium monster cuts over the roaring, crackling campfires. Master craftsman Go Jong-so handled the thick beast hides. With their insane kill count, the poor man had an absolute mountain of dirty work. Flawless teamwork made the dream work. In his past life, barely anyone survived, leaving the camp soaked in pure, suffocating despair. So he had bolted without a plan. Snapping out of his memories, Jongsoon spotted the twins. Han Aji and Handan huddled far away and whispering nervously. They were just faking that brave, fearless act for the squad's sake. They are terrified to leave my barrier, he realized. Stepping forward, Jongsun cleared his throat instantly, snapping their attention his way. Whoa, it is Mr. Bloodwolf. That cringeworthy nickname made our main character wince hard. Seriously, what kind of edgy nonsense was Bloodwolf? He practically raged internally. In this brutal system, titles are not mere jokes. Hit specific milestones and the system carves those deeds into your very legend. That is the heavy weight of a true title. These titles literally rewrite your combat style. Players constantly grind to forge legendary names, yet the vast majority fail miserably. Countless losers get stuck with humiliating titles they desperately hide. But wait, Bloodwolf. Chewing on the thought, he realized that edgy name actually slapped. He rubbed his chin scheming. Spotting his approach, the twins' faces totally lit up. What brings you here? Wanna chill with us? That innocent question shattered his intense title plotting. He rubbed his neck, answering super awkwardly. Thanks for having my back earlier. Hearing those sincere words drop from him totally caught the siblings off guard. They froze in utter shock. Then a wicked knowing gleam sparked between the two tricksters. Bro, do not sweat it. We are all bouncing from this place anyway, so chill out. Call it payback for your lumberjack skills. Hating the heavy feeling of owing favors, Jong-sun swallowed his pride and pushed forward. Need a hand with anything else he offered? Actually, yes, but is it cool to ask? Follow us. The older sister, Han-aji, motioned quickly, a sudden idea sparking in her mind. They dragged him toward an open space littered with heavy makeshift sleeping bags brutally stitched from raw monster hides. Staring at the massive leather sacks, Jong-sun's dark mind wandered. Hold up, are these actual body bags? Hearing that morbid guess, the older sister aggressively resisted the urge to smack him into next week. Body bags. What is wrong with you? They are monster hide sleeping bags. Oh, so that made actual sense. So, the survivors crash in these, he pondered. Keeping a lone wolf status really blurred his awareness. Getting emotionally attached will only drag down my endgame, Jong-sun reminded his hardened heart. Pivoting back, he questioned, why show me your gear? Han-dan stepped up to break it down. This is just the start. We are hauling survival rations, heavy weapons, and way more loot. Building a wagon is easy, but the weight is insane. The whole squad has to shove it together. She is actually playing 5D chess here, Jong-sun realized. Alright, why do you not craft the wagon then? Bro, who is going to carry the boats? Han-dan panicked. Jong-sun just flashed a cocky smirk. I have a cheat code. His mind raced through transit methods. Option 1, beast taming. But plot twist, every beast here was already slaughtered. That left only one badass alternative. Smirking at the logic, Jong-sun tapped into his treasury of greed, activating his broken tier skill, a forbidden black tower necromancy art. It violently injects mana into corpses, forcing the dead to march again. Arise. With that chilling whisper, the shattered bones on the ground violently snapped together, rising upward. They moved like reanimated nightmares. Naturally, this terrifying flex stopped everyone in their tracks. What the actual hell? Panic rippled through the crowd. Unbothered, the massive skeletal boar lumbered forward, dropping its ghastly head in pure submission. Chill, it is friendly, he declared to the shivering survivors. Spoiler alert, absolutely nobody felt safe right now. Are you dead serious? Someone trembled. Finally, the squad leader Yu Soa bravely stepped up to vibe check the beast. May I? Keeping her cool, she closed the gap and lightly rested her palm on its cold, terrifying skull. Bound by Jong-sun's absolute authority, the undead menace remained perfectly still. No way, it is literally a spooky puppy. My turn. The crowd hyped up, swarming the skeletal giant and giving it fearless pats of approval. Knock yourselves out, Jong-sun chuckled inwardly. These bone soldiers are hardwired to obey only their true king. It is only acting cute because I commanded it. The heavy tension finally evaporated. Perfect. Hours rapidly faded away, and the initial horror of his undead flex completely vanished. Lounging back, even Jong-sun found himself genuinely impressed. This hide bedroll is top-tier crafting. Up above the watching constellation, that eccentric prince patted his glowing belly with supreme satisfaction. An absolutely god-tier feast. Catching this vibe, Jong-sun softly warned, you are stuffed, so go rest for a bit. With that sorted, his tactical mind shifted to the impending nightmare. Chapter 2 of the tutorial phase. Just thinking about it dragged up agonizing blood-soaked memories from his forgotten past. Shaking off the bitter memories, he muttered, the past stays buried. Right now, my only focus is surviving the present. If this opportunity slips away, my return trip is permanently cancelled. Tossing around, he forced his racing heart to chill and attempted to catch some sleep. Suddenly, a pitch-black feather drifted down onto Jong-sun, instantly snapping him on high alert. The crow constellation dipped its shadowy beak, aiming straight at his blade. Its glowing eyes practically drooled with absolute greed. The cosmic entity boldly demanded he hand over the legendary weapon. Seriously, give me one single reason to do that. Jong-sun smirked, completely ignoring how much epic loot he had already swiped from the bird's personal stash. Unsurprisingly, that disrespectful vibe instantly triggered the celestial beast. The constellation growled, threatening to permanently ban his access to the vault if he dared to refuse. Unfazed, Jong-sun flashed a villainous smirk and fired right back. Be my guest, I dare you to try. Behind that cocky grin, his brain was working in overdrive. Tapping into Mammon's energy earlier made a massive truth click. I assumed this guy was just letting me borrow it for fun, but I was dead wrong. This energy I am wielding is completely disconnected from your physical vault. Am I wrong? Jong-sun grinned, piecing everything together. You are not choosing to let me use it. You literally cannot stop me. My current strength was absorbed from Mammon's grave before my timeline reset. When I regressed, the dungeon vanished, but that core essence permanently fused with my soul. Therefore, these empty threats mean absolutely nothing. Provoked by the disrespect, the Demon King instantly unleashed a suffocating murderous pressure. The shadowy entity flared its massive wings, radiating pure hostility toward the human's massive ego. Sensing the escalating bloodlust, Jong-sun realized he needed to chill. Pushing a cosmic god too far was suicidal. Backing off slightly, he shifted to a diplomatic tone. I never claimed I was keeping it forever. But listen, Durandal is literally my ultimate trump card right now. Instead, I will strike a deal with the Demon King to forge an exact clone. After all, cloning artifacts is your signature trick. Half the junk in your vault are fakes anyway, Jong-sun mentally scoffed. The shadowy bird paused, then dipped its head in agreement. The constellation accepted the terms, figuring a legendary replica was still a major flex for its collection. Now it was time to name his price. In return, grant me full access to the physical vault. The demonic entity hesitated, weighing the demand. The greedy god clearly hated being bossed around. Right now, my stats only let me siphon the vault's raw energy. I cannot pull out the actual gear our hero strategized while the giant bird locked him in a deadly piercing stare. The ravenous crow constellation shifted uncomfortably, absolutely hating the feeling of being outplayed in a negotiation. Reading the room, Jong-sun quickly smoothed things over. Relax, no scams here. I strictly want the trash tier loot scattered near the front door of the vault. Hearing this massive compromise, the shadowy beast finally dialed back its killing intent. Flashing back to his previous timeline, he plotted silently. I raided this place before regressing, so the floor plan is fully memorized. The demon hoards his god tier, drops in the deep zones, leaving only the basic starter gear lying around the lobby. Trading some useless floor scraps for a scan of the legendary Durandal was an absolute steal for this greedy bird. His tactical read was flawless. After calculating the profit, the Demon King enthusiastically nodded, officially sealing the deal. Flashing a victorious grin, Jong-sun announced, "Deal accepted." Without hesitating, he grabbed the blade and sliced open his palm, initiating the sacred blood contract. Dark crimson blood instantly flowed from the ravenous creature's ethereal feathers. System prompt: the Dark Pact is permanently sealed. You have successfully unlocked restricted access to a fraction of Mammon's endless vault. As the blue screen vanished, fresh blood coated his blade, teleporting the weapon straight into the demonic king's hidden dimension. Perfect timing. I will grab my required buffs right now, he plotted internally, confidently, swinging open the massive gates to the real Vault of Greed. The environment instantly warped into the legendary vault. Whether his physical body or just his soul transferred over, remained a total cosmic mystery. But exactly as calculated, the starting zone was absolutely littered with random crafting materials and glowing liquid vials. This disappointing loot pool did not shock our regressor at all. Finding actual weapons out here was basically impossible. This entire lobby is strictly for consumable drops, he analyzed. Suddenly, a brilliantly glowing flask grabbed his attention. Wait, jackpot, he muttered under his breath, swiping the shiny vial to scan it. Item identified: Elven Forest Dew consumable category. Item details: pure moisture harvested directly from the world tree, practically radiating with ancient, overpowered life essence. Zero hesitation. Our overpowered main character popped the cork and absolutely chugged the legendary liquid. Wiping his mouth, he exhaled in pure, refreshing satisfaction. Lurking nearby, the Demon King snapped, absolutely furious at the human's completely reckless and disrespectful behavior. System alert: the constellation opened the doors based on the contract. But warning, consuming items without explicit permission will result in your brutal instant execution. Yeah, I know, Jong-sun complained casually, plotting his next move. Despite securing the legendary sword, Durandal lingering anxiety shadowed his gaze. Relax, I will only unleash its power when absolutely forced to, he promised. Jong-sun offered a comforting smirk. Dawn broke fast. The survivors buzzed with chaotic energy, rapidly loading makeshift wooden wagons they had somehow constructed overnight. Heave this over here. Seriously, how are you guys moving so insanely fast? My wagon is basically a fortress. Load it up. Daeun giggled brightly. Immediately, her older sister sprinted over to ignite a sibling rivalry. No way, mine is basically a tank. Okay, chill out, both rides are total beasts. No need to wage war over wood. Yusola smoothly intervened, playing the ultimate peacemaker. Suddenly, Jong-sun materialized out of thin air, effortlessly gliding into the bustling camp. Need a hand with the heavy lifting. Mid-sentence, his sharp gaze locked onto a stranger intensely studying his summon. What the heck, this guy is a total blank in my memory. Did he bite the dust way before my regression triggered in my previous life? Jong-sun narrowed his eyes, mind racing with dark possibilities. The bespectacled stranger suddenly felt the chilling presence behind him. Jumping in shock, he stammered, "Oh gosh, my bad entirely. I just zoned out completely." "Got a problem?" Jong-sun probed coldly. Pushing up his thick frames, the nervous guy frantically waved his hands. "Ah, nothing. It is just insanely fascinating. Sure, magic exists, but how on earth does a skeleton casually stand without a single ligament, tendon, or muscle attached? Is that mysterious web of midnight mist between the joints literally binding the skeletal frame together?" Those words struck like lightning. Pure shock flashed across the cold eyes of Jong Sunday Midnight Mist. Is he actually visualizing raw mana? His analytical skills are off the charts. This dude absolutely screams hidden dark magic potential. The regressor calculated silently. Catching his own hyper-nerd-out moment, the glasses-wearing dude flushed bright red and frantically backpedaled to explain himself. "Oops, major apologies, totally an occupational hazard." "Occupational hazard? Are you some kind of underground surgeon?" Jong-sun interrogated sharply. "Not quite, I am just a sleep-deprived grad student obsessing over anatomical research." "Oh right, my name is Baekhyun. Haha, huge bummer that my major is basically utterly useless in this apocalyptic fantasy nightmare. It offers 0 buffs for healing or regenerating HP, he muttered awkwardly, scratching his neck. Yet, with his regression-honed instincts, Jong-sun saw an absolute goldmine. What kind of monstrous synergy will explode when this anatomy genius finally wields raw mana, fusing hardcore science with dark arts? He could literally eclipse both Yu Sola and Han Cho. A predatory smirk crept onto the lips of Jong-sun. He ordered Baekhyun to sit down instantly. Sure, but the guild totally needs my help packing," the nerd nervously protested. "This will only take a literal second," the regressor insisted smoothly. Unsheathing his lethal hip dagger, he carved a flawless geometric rune directly into the dirt. Commanding Baekhyun to enter the center, an ancient forbidden magic formation instantly glowed beneath his trembling sneakers. Accessing his dimensional treasury of greed, he retrieved a terrifying artifact known as the Dark Magic Stone. This obsidian core served as the ultimate catalyst for the legendary Black Tower sorcerers. Without hesitating, Jong-sun viciously slammed the corrupted crystal straight into the glowing array. Instantly, explosive geysers of volatile purple aura blasted skyward. Glancing back, he confirmed Baekhyun was wide-eyed, clearly witnessing the blinding supernatural shockwave. Gasping, the nerd stammered, "Is this the exact same mist bleeding from your undead?" Ignoring the question entirely, the necromancer calmly glided behind his target. Gripping the fragile shoulders of the student with iron-like intensity, he issued a chilling warning. "This will be pure agony. Clench your jaw and survive the hellfire." "Okay, got it," Baekhyun gulped fearfully. Shutting his eyes, the regressor forcefully initiated the brutal awakening sequence, unlocking the forbidden Black Tower sorcery within the scholar. He was not merely demonstrating rune crafting, but executing an insanely rare, forceful aura transference onto another living vessel. Immediately, Jong-sun deployed his exclusive regression technique, violently injecting raw, unfiltered abyss aura directly into the fragile mortal core of Baekhyun. Searing torment ripped through his veins violently, flipping his eyes back into his skull. "Seal your lips shut right now unless you want to die, or your heart will literally detonate," the necromancer barked ruthlessly. Horrified, the trembling scholar instantly snapped, his jaw completely shut. Unfazed by the horror, Jong-sun flawlessly maintained the brutal spiritual surgery. During the violent process, the terrifying latent sealing of Baekhyun became crystal clear. Enduring the soul-crushing agony proved his monstrous dormant talent. Deep within the chest cavity of the grad student, chaotic violet streams rapidly fused, forging a literal mana core. It felt like a titan was crushing his beating heart. Any ordinary weakling would have blacked out instantly from this mind-shattering torment, the regressor analyzed coldly. And boom, the mana core inside your chest is completely stabilized. "You survived," Jong-sun praised genuinely. "Way beyond my calculations, you devoured the essence of an elite dark crystal with absolute freakish speed. Incredible resilience." Nodding approvingly, the Shadow Monarch immediately seized telepathic command of the massive undead boar. He positioned the skeletal beast directly before the exhausted student for a live combat test. Catching the silent cue, the bespectacled scholar shakily extended his glowing palm forward. Pumping abyss energy into the undead, he mutated its bone architecture. He is flawlessly rebuilding the creature using pure anatomical science, fusing joints with pure mana and fabricating spectral muscles. His casting speed definitely lags behind mine, but the structural integrity is absolutely indestructible. This horrifying efficiency must be exactly why Black Tower elites obsessively dissect corpses, the regressor realized in awe. Meanwhile, Baekhyun executed a few final monstrous biomagical modifications. The modifications were flawless. "Rise," he commanded. Though the spectral boar shrank slightly in size, its terrifying aura remained untouched. Witnessing this impossible feat, the bespectacled youth's face flushed with sheer adrenaline. Up above, a cosmic entity finally noticed his awakening. The constellation Corpse of Destruction glares at player Baekhyun with ravenous curiosity. Kamagen, the 4th rank demon, King Hell's Grand Marquess and absolute master of dark arts, actually mark this as the birth of our prime necromancer. With Kamagen backing him, my job here is entirely done. Jongsun smirked internally. Perfect. Free skeleton labor when I ditch this camp. Meanwhile, the glasses-wearing rookie calmed his racing heart and bowed awkwardly. Seriously, thank you so much. To be honest, I thought I'd be dead weight here. Catching that insecure vibe, Jongsun instantly dropped. Some absolute truth. Hold your head up. Catching Kamagen's eye means your potential is god tier. Baekhyun's eyes lit up like fireworks. He patted his bony summon. Earth never gave me this kind of insane talent. I'll grind this power to the absolute limit. Jongsun's eyes narrowed thoughtfully. Alright, bet. Here is your first real quest. Reaching into the treasury of greed, he ripped out a winged lion's carcass. Behold the manticore, a pure nightmare beast rocking a ferocious lion's head, spiked boar tusks, demonic bull horns, massive bat wings, and a lethal scorpion tail whipping out back. Confronted by this grotesque abomination dropping from out of literally nowhere, the spectacled rookie leaped backward in pure terror. Bro, what the heck is that monstrosity? Flash forward, right now. The entire squad locked and loaded for departure. System alert, Chapter 2, Movement Guide. Cross the death plains. Destination timer 151 hours and 41 minutes at this exact second. Jongsun chilled on a bone-drawn cargo cart, giving total mafia boss energy. Meanwhile, team captain, Jusia barked out orders. Stay frosty, monster ambushes happen randomly, so keep your heads on a swivel. Understood, the raid party roared back. Over on the sidelines, twin sister Han Ari flexed hard on her sibling. Check it out, my rig totally leaves yours in the dust. You're literally hallucinating, Han snapped back, rolling her eyes. Eavesdropping from above, Jongsun gave a subtle nod. The transports were solid, and both twins were leveling up perfectly. Cut to Baekhyun deep in necromancy training. Kamagen, the constellation of the death-trampling steed, was absolutely floored by his avatar's genius pouring out dark magic fundamentals. Man, let's pray this lucky streak holds up. A massive monster wave hits these plains soon. The catch, I completely forgot the exact spawn coordinates. Jongsun's brow furrowed into a heavy scowl. Refusing to risk a party wipe, he called upon his loyal lackey, Park Jongpyo. Yes, boss. Jongpyo standing by. Push forward and run a deep recon sweep, Jongsun commanded. The blonde thug blinked, utterly clueless. Recon? Like where exactly? Straight into the vanguard. Jongsun replied with icy calm. Wait, aren't our frontliners already covering that? He stammered out. Jongsun laid out the harsh reality. Not here. Several kilometers deep into enemy territory. Hearing that death sentence, Jongpyo practically had a heart attack. Bro, what boss? Even with max agility, that's literally suicide. Hiking kilometers deep would burn an entire hour. Fair point. 2 legs won't cut it for this mission. Jongsun's eyes gleamed with dangerous calculation. Reaching into his inventory sack, he ripped out some polished bones and channeled pure dark mana to manifest a badass skeletal warhorse. Whoa, are you gifting me a shadow mount? Jongpyo cheered. Yeah, just don't crash it, Jongsun deadpanned. You're a legend, boss. I'm naming this beast Baekgang. Catch you later, boss. Ride out Baekgang without missing a single beat. He vaulted into the saddle and redlined his new spectral hog straight into the horizon. Watching this absolute chaotic energy, Jongsun severely questioned the system's judgment. Seriously, how did a total clown like him ever awaken as a legit hunter? Meanwhile, as Jongpyo drifted his undead beast, massive waves of nostalgia hit him. Man, this totally feels like my pre-apocalypse days flexing my imported sports car through downtown neon streets. Absolute peak vibes. Pledging loyalty to the boss was my ultimate brain play, smiling like an absolute maniac at his own golden ticket to survival. He left the constellation Donkey-Headed Thief, desperately trying not to burst into cosmic laughter at the ridiculous sight. Quit dragging up my embarrassing moments. You're totally mocking me right now, aren't you, Jongpyo? Whined, his voice cracking with pure frustration. Suddenly, a deadly projectile grazed his cheek, instantly freezing his blood. Before his brain could process the danger, a literal rain of poisoned darts blackened the sky above him. Panic spiked, but survival instincts kicked in. He instantly threw up his wolf fur cloak as a shield, screaming, "What the heck? Who's attacking us?" His terrified gaze finally locked onto the ambushers. A massive swarming horde of vicious bright green goblins had entirely surrounded him. With zero hesitation and pure cowardice, Jongpyo shrieked at the top of his lungs, spinning on his heels to run away. System alert. Player Jongpyo activated sprint. Above him, his sponsor constellation, the Donkey-Headed Thief, absolutely lost its mind, laughing. The celestial entity clutched its stomach, literally rolling with laughter at his pathetic escape. Spotting their prey, fleeing the greenskins unleashed blood-curdling screeches and immediately launched a ruthless pursuit. If I just reach the boss, he'll slaughter these creeps, Zhang Pyo prayed internally, gritting his teeth in sheer desperation. Seconds later, his squad's silhouette appeared through the trees. I spot him, boss help. Up ahead, Jongsun was casually muttering a spell. Huh, what did you say, duck down? Suddenly, a massive, blazing fireball erupted in Jongsun's palms. Zhangpyo's pupils dilated in absolute horror. Get down. Completely ignoring his subordinate's panic, the overpowered boss hurled the blazing inferno directly into the center of the goblin swarm. Boom! The monsters were vaporized into ash. Nothing beats the thrill of wiping out trash mobs. Jongsun smirked calmly, dusting his hands. But the nightmare wasn't finished. Sensing killing intent, tactical leader Ju So-ah frantically barked an emergency order. Incoming. Everyone fall back and use the carriages as shields right now. The crew snapped their heads up only to witness a deadly storm of poisoned darts plunging toward them. Take cover. The twin sisters desperately dove behind a wooden cart. Analyzing the threat, Jongsun commanded, So-ah, Han-cheol, on me. Instantly tapping into his greedy treasury, he equipped Wide Area Shield, a high-tier magic barrier, perfectly designed to counter massive barrages. Channeling the colorless magic tower's absolute power, he casually flicked his wrist, summoning impenetrable glowing force fields. The radiant energy dome swallowed the trio effortlessly, ricocheting every single deadly dart away, like mere toys. System alert. Black Tower mechanics have supercharged chain lightning. Han-cheol triggered battle cry, while So-ah unleashed Tarantula's first leg. In perfect synchronization, the overpowered trio detonated their ultimate awakening abilities at once. Their combined strike instantly obliterated the greenskin frontline, leaving the rear guard entirely paralyzed with absolute shock. Snap out of it, guys. Stop staring and get into the fight. We can't let the carry do everything. The squad exchanged fierce nods, gripping their glowing weapons, totally hyped to slaughter some goblins. Meanwhile, the bespectacled necromancer Bichun ruthlessly ordered his massive undead boar to stampede the battlefield. The skeletal beast crashed through the enemy ranks, launching goblins into the air like bowling pins. Bro, if it's already this crazy, I am literally dying to see the absolute chaos when the manticore finally spawns. Minutes vanished. Crushed by the squad's god-tier firepower, the surviving greenskins scattered like terrified roaches. Victory was theirs. The deadly ambush had been utterly crushed. Catching her breath, tactical commander, So-ah, immediately rallied the team for strategy. Insane work, team. Let's hunt down the stragglers, someone interrupted. Too risky, we need to hold our ground first. Fleeing enemies meant a hidden dungeon lair existed. Facing this dangerous unknown, Jongsun's eyes darkened as he calculated the odds. He locked eyes with the commander. So-ah, once the party is fully recovered, push forward without me. Wait, what? Where the heck are you going alone? She demanded, visibly confused. Jongsun simply revealed his insane solo mission. I'm tracking those monsters. Spotting his cowardly minion violently panting nearby, the boss casually flicked a healing vial his way. Zhangpyo, you survived. Drink up. Catching it, the subordinate practically cried tears of joy. Boss, you're my literal savior. Just chug that basic potion and stay out of trouble, Jongsun muttered internally, his gaze already shifting toward the woods. Activating his stealth skills, he vanished into the shadows tailing the prey. So their main dungeon is deep inside, huh? Judging by that massive vanguard, this hidden camp housed at least 1,000 bloodthirsty goblins, possibly even 2,000. How do I solo raid this hellhole? Maybe I'll just incinerate the entire forest. Jongsun plotted, a ruthless smirk appearing, deep in enemy territory. At the heavily guarded monster fortress, a lazy goblin sentry stretched its arms, yawning widely. Mid-yawn on his patrol route, his beady eyes suddenly locked onto a comrade, violently bleeding and twitching in the dirt. Panic struck his ugly face. But just as he opened his mouth to trigger the camp's alarm, Jongsun materialized like a phantom. Rest easy, you will join them in hell real soon. Before the creature could react, his blade pierced its core instantly, extinguishing its pathetic life. This terrifying phantom walk was none other than the legendary Yukira's shadow stealth, the exact same assassination art that once paralyzed the entire continent's elite with absolute dread. Suddenly, blood-curdling shrieks ripped through the forest, making Jongsun immediately dive behind a massive trunk. A massive goblin stampede bolted past his hideout. Whatever triggered their panic meant a free pass for him. Time to ghost them. Exploiting the chaotic greenskins, he pushed deeper, uncovering the hidden dungeon Cunning Goblin Village. Incredible achievement unlocked. You have earned 2,000 bonus system points. Running his fingers across the reinforced walls, Jongsun smirked. These monsters definitely fortified this stronghold. The boss room must be pure luxury plus a stacked vault out back. Total chaos right now. Everyone is slaughtered. Please have mercy. A trembling voice shattered the silence instantly, grabbing Jongsun's focus. Scanning the area, he spotted several terrified newbies locked inside a brutal wooden prison. Sucks for them, but playing hero here means instant death. One slip-up equals game over. Suppressing his pity, our ruthless main character completely ghosted the captives to scout the perimeter. Reaching the armory, he triggered his stealth mercilessly, executing the lone goblin sentry in a flash. Then his gluttony skill activated, violently devouring the carcass completely. You have consumed a goblin warrior. The starving demon constellation immediately complained, crying that the flavor and portion were absolute trash. Chill for a sec. Let me wipe my tracks. Flawless Jongsun muttered, slipping quietly inside. Inside, an absolute goldmine awaited. Epic Spear's heavy armor and massive shields lined the walls. The stash was absolutely stacked. Damn, this armory is a massive W, Jongsun smirked greedily. Meanwhile, the famished demon was throwing a massive tantrum over the zero food situation. Completely ignoring the whining, our main character cracked open his greedy loot, revealing a spatial pouch. Forged at the colorless magic tower, this insane artifact could swallow an entire armory whole. Zero hesitation, Jongsun aggressively hoarded every single weapon. Scoring elite gear during the tutorial phase is totally busted. This feels like a budget version of Mammon's vault. Way bigger than expected, he chuckled. However, the actual Mammon heard that disrespect and instantly caught a massive attitude. The king who wears a filthy overcoat constellation scowls, deeply offended by this trash tier comparison. My bad, a violently budget version. We good. Jongsun sighed, casually silencing the angry crow. Sweeping the room once more, he spotted a massive chest stuffed with glowing 7-colored spheres. Are these legit monocrystals? This literally changes everything. Perfect. I just found the ultimate cheat code against those goblins. A wicked smirk crossed his face. Meanwhile, inside the boss room, the goblin chief aggressively smashed his spiked club, terrorizing his minions. Still no sign of the rat. I am Chief Hogan Cat, you absolute worthless trash. Spitting venom, he brutally bashed a greenskin straight in the jaw, violently barking orders at the rest. Scram, hunt him down immediately. My stomach is rumbling. Drag the freshest meat right to me. Terrified, the grunts bolted from the room, desperately fleeing before Hogan Cat could completely lose his mind. Those brainless trashes. Their stats are incredibly pathetic, Hogan Cat growled. Suddenly, Jongsun nodded from the shadows. No lies detected. Exactly what I was thinking. The boss violently spun around, completely panicked. But instantly, Jongsun's dagger brutally sliced his throat, unleashing a crimson fountain. What are you? Hogan Cat choked out. However, our savage main character refused to waste breath talking. Knowing backup could swarm him anytime, he hissed, I am not handing out free monologues today. My traps were flawless. How did you ghost past them? Hogan Cat gasped in disbelief. Honestly, Jongsun was genuinely shocked this beast survived, a fatal jugular strike. Oh, a named boss. Your survival instincts are insane, Jongsun taunted. Meanwhile, pure, unadulterated terror paralyzed the goblin chief. This human is an absolute demon, zero hesitation going for the kill. Cold sweat drenched his monstrous face. Backed into a corner, he frantically spun around, screaming for his elite guards to save him. Get your butts in here, he shrieked. But Jongsun merely smirked, shaking his head as doom loomed over the monster. Save your breath, it is over. With a single snap of his fingers, the entire goblin camp instantly erupted. A symphony of earth-shattering blasts ripped through the air. Chief Hogan Cat whipped his head toward the window, completely terrified. My kingdom, he gasped, his eyes reflecting a raging ocean of hellfire. The catalyst for this absolute devastation, mana stones. These glowing rocks are packed with raw magical energy, offering endless tactical combat possibilities. But their most savage application, injecting them with detonation magic, transforming them into lethal bombs that unleash pure, unadulterated chaos. Just one low-tier stone can vaporize a building. I rigged your entire turf with them, Jongsun bragged, flashing a sinister grin. Pure, unhinged fury hijacked the monster. Blinding rage erased all logic as the chief roared, You absolute punk, you will die. Gripping his massive club, the boss lunged through the air, completely desperate to rip Jongsun to absolute shreds. Jongsun did not even flinch. He casually sidestepped the heavy strike like it was absolute child's play. With brutal precision, he buried his dagger deep into the monster's throat instantly, sending the Goblin King straight to the afterlife. System alert. You slaughtered the elite boss cunning Goblin Hogan Cat. 8,000 contribution points have been heavily secured. Solo kill bonus activated. Snagging a legendary boss completely alone instantly grants you 4,000 extra juicy contribution points. Loot acquired Hogan Cat's spiked club. Honestly, Jongsun was totally baffled that finishing the boss required barely 2 casual strikes. Talk about an utter glass cannon. Usually players have to grind through thousands of mob enemies just to reach him. Starting straight from the front gates. I guess these elite monsters are ridiculously overhyped and totally pathetic. He smirked internally as massive golden text flooded his vision. Hidden dungeon Cunning Goblin's Lair has been absolutely demolished. Epic milestone unlocked. As a totally cracked reward, 20,000 fat contribution points are injected straight into your account. The cosmic entity, the Starving Prince, glares at you with incredibly starstruck eyes. Jongsun caught that demonic entity literally drooling over the carnage. It was obviously feeding time for the cosmic glutton. Alright, my bad for the holdup, he chuckled instantly, activating his ridiculously broken gluttony authority without missing a beat. Boss Corpse successfully devoured. Essential stats. Extracted agility, permanently buffed by 5, and intelligence massively spiked by 10 points. Raw mystical energy and chaotic mana violently surged directly into your core and beating heart. Reading the prompt, Jong-sun physically blinked in absolute shock. Wait, this gluttony skill literally leeches raw mana as well. The starving prince glares at the massive roasted feast, practically begging for seconds. A gigantic cooked meal. Is this dude talking about the burning ruins? Jong-sun mentally facepalmed. There are literally over 1,000 crispy bodies here. If I manually munch through every single trash mob using gluttony, I will be stuck here forever. Up above, the demon lord Belphegor seemingly agreed that this grinding process was painfully slow. To speedrun this absolute buffet, the deity dropped a clutch buff, instantly ranking up your gluttony authority. Your gluttony skill evolved. You can now violently inhale multiple enemy corpses simultaneously. Binging mass casualties simultaneously triggers an extreme nutrient multiplier. Wait, a secret bonus multiplier for mass devouring. Talk about insane RNG, Jong-sun smirked instantly, sparking his god-tier ability without hesitation. Time to feast like absolute royalty. With his maxed-out gluttony, he mercilessly swallowed the entire ruined goblin village whole. The astral fangs of gluttony crashed down upon the battlefield. Wait right now. Out of nowhere, a colossal demonic maw materialized in the clouds, snapping shut violently. Even Jong-sun's jaw dropped completely. I completely forgot I treat him like a whining toddler. But this entity remains an absolutely terrifying apex predator. Insane combo. You devoured 2,101 goblins. Massive energy absorption permanently boosts all base stats by 11. A cataclysmic surge of mana floods your veins. Absolute breakthrough achieved. You have successfully forged your third mana circle. The Black Tower's legendary grinding technique pays off. Unlocking this core grants you immediate access to devastating third-tier spellcasting. Mastering the Black Tower's dark arts permanently supercharged your overall magical output. Jong-sun grinned like an absolute madman. Bro, it is barely chapter 2 of the tutorial and I hit tier 3. Historic record utterly shattered. For dominating the leaderboards, an astronomical bounty of 100,000 points drops into your inventory. Countless arcane constellations are intensely fixated on your unbelievable potential. However, the god-tier Cursing Crow aggressively blocks all pathetic lower-level deities, the constellation. A breathtaking smile illuminates the void. An utterly flawless goddess materializes right before Jong-sun, completely leaving our boy starstruck and totally speechless. The 5th day. Wait, the absolute goddess of love and beauty Freya, securing the gaze of a top-tier celestial being is insanely rare. Usually a divine entity of this insane caliber only descends after the final tutorial stages, strictly acknowledging the absolute sweatiest god-tier players. Yet here I am already chilling with 2 demons. Let us just pray my chaotic squad does not trigger goddess Freya's divine wrath. Mammon shoots Freya, a seriously annoyed glare, but the majestic deity totally brushes off the demonic shade like it is absolute dust. Meanwhile, the Cursing Crow constellation practically snarls fiercely, declaring that it absolutely refuses to share its prime spot with any random celestial newcomers. Flashing a knowing smirk, the 5th day flawlessly ignores the salty complaints from the other jealous celestial beings. The Cursing Crow literally shakes with pure, unadulterated rage. However, Jong-sun finally exhales a massive sigh of relief, realizing an all-out cosmic war just got postponed. She honestly does not give a single care even if the bird is raging. Honestly, this whole awkward situation should be totally fine. If I want to completely stop the impending apocalyptic demon war, securing god-tier alliances is my only ultimate play. Fast forward a bit. Jong-sun has already sliced through the monster camp, effortlessly freeing the traumatized hostages from those filthy goblin captors. Holy crap, you are an absolute legend. How did you even survive that? You literally pulled us from the very jaws of absolute death. The survivors sob uncontrollably. However, our main character is internally stressing over a massive dilemma. Does he really have to babysit these randoms? Randomly saving them from slaughter is one thing, but acting like their personal bodyguard is definitely not on his ultimate priority list. Catching that reluctant vibe, a seasoned elder casually steps out from the crying mob. Locking eyes with our hero, he drops a massive truth bomb. We refuse to become your deadweight savior. Our squad will forge our own path forward from here. Wow, this guy clearly screams alpha leader energy. He gives off insanely solid commander vibes, and the fierce determination burning in their eyes practically proves it. These guys are 100% battle-hardened veterans from the brutal first tutorial stage. Jong-sun's eyes narrowed as he delivered a harsh truth. I am not playing babysitter here, but if you tag along, your resolve better be absolute steel. Hearing this lifeline, the ragged leader's desperate face completely lit up. Thank you so much, let us move. We are marching non-stop for half a day. Jong-sun casually waved them forward. Meanwhile, back at Juseoa's camp, the absolute unit Han Cheol was literally dragging the supply cart instead of their skeleton summon. You good, take a breather, or we can totally team up to pull it, Juseoa offered gently, but the stubborn lone wolf brushed her off. Stand down, this is pure muscle training, so I am chilling. Elsewhere, that quirky old constellation cruising on a giant crocodile was coaching his vessel on some incredibly overpowered footwork. Shifting back to Juseoa, anxiety flashed in her eyes. Is Jongsoon actually doing okay out there? Han Cheol just kept his intense gaze locked dead ahead. That guy is no pushover. He is destined to become absurdly overpowered, way beyond this. That is honestly mind-blowing, she gasped. But suddenly chaotic, frantic footsteps completely shattered their peaceful vibe. Park Jong-pyo's cart was aggressively speeding straight toward them. Why is that dude rushing like a complete maniac? Slamming the brakes, Park Jong-pyo stumbled out of his ride, violently throwing up his guts. Jong-pyo, someone screamed in panic. But their main healer, Lee Han-yu, instantly pushed to the front. Hold on, let me scan him. Golden healing energy flared from her hands into his trembling body. Instantly, sheer terror completely washed over her pale face. He is heavily poisoned. Juseoa's eyes went wide with dread. What kind of toxic trap, filthy goblins again? 0 puncture wounds. He definitely breathed this in. Just then, a sickeningly sweet aroma suddenly invaded Lee Han-yu's senses. Oh my god, this stench. Grab wet rags and block your airways now. The literal air is toxic. The frantic healer screamed at the top of her lungs. Sadly, her desperate warning came way too late, because almost instantly, the entire crew gripped their burning throats, violently foaming at the mouth as the deadly toxin hit. Backed into a corner, Han Yu desperately prayed to her mighty constellation Sir Max. Oh great constellation, the blood-soaked lion. He coldly decreed that she must play God, as the casualties were simply overwhelming. This brutal reality completely shattered Han Yu's spirit. I finally thought I was a real healer, but now I must decide who survives. If only the boss was here. Han Yu choked back a desperate sob. But right at that absolute breaking point, milliseconds from a total party wipe, a miraculous icy gale suddenly blasted through the clearing instantly, cleansing their corrupted lungs. This was Cool Breeze, a Tier 1 wind magic straight from the legendary Blue Tower. Usually it is just a basic lifestyle spell, completely useless in actual battle. Such an insanely refreshing aura. That deadly fog is actually evaporating. Han Da-un gasped in absolute awe. The mastermind behind this clutch save was obviously our overpowered main character, Jong-soon, who had literally just crash-landed onto the scene. Damn, the toxic cloud expanded way too fast. Boss, you returned. Jong-pyo violently twitched, fighting just to look at his savior, white foam still pouring down his chin. Seeing his loyal lackey suffering, Jong-soon instantly accessed his overpowered magical treasury. Time for a clutch rescue. A fundamental holy cleanse from the White Tower instantly eradicated the vile toxins. The venom is already deep in his veins. Mars usually handles purifying, but me stepping in makes this infinitely faster. You are an absolute lifesaver, Jong-pyo, violently bawled, pathetic tears ruining his face. Jong-soon, you finally made it. Juseoa cheered, her face glowing. Yeah, following Han Cheol's massive tire tracks, let me speedrun my way back here. Literally just my daily grind, Han Cheol flexed without breaking a sweat. Shifting focus back to the glowing swordswoman, she finally spotted the trembling survivors hiding behind her boss. Wait, Jong-soon, who exactly is this ragged squad? Stepping up timidly, the exhausted survivor immediately bowed at a perfect 90 degrees. I am Yi-sung. Lord Jong-soon literally snatched us from the jaws of death. If possible, we desperately want to pledge our loyalty to this guild. Heck yes, consider yourselves officially part of the family. The radiant swordswoman flashed a heroic smile and confidently offered her hand. This insane level of kindness completely broke Yi-sung's brain. For real, you are taking us in, we are literal strangers. Juseoa just gave a fearless nod. Absolutely, if the boss gave you his blessing, your spot here is 100% guaranteed. Yoda Onajin, can you guys hook our new friends up with fresh gear? Hearing their cue, the dynamic twins sprinted over. On it, boss. Follow us, guys. We actually hoarded some backup armor, and with that wholesome vibe established, they escorted the traumatized newbies to the armory. Meanwhile, Juseoa completely cornered Jong-soon, whispering, I am honestly shook right now. You actually played the hero and saved strangers, Jong-soon. Surviving this hellscape means their mental fortitude is absolutely insane. Jong-soon smirked coldly. That sheer willpower is literally the only survival stat that matters. Juseoa nodded, completely understanding his hardcore logic. Ding. A crisp system alert echoed in their minds. Trial of the poisonous mist completely smashed. A sweet 1,000 points dropped for every survivor. With Jong-soon leading the charge, the squad started bulldozing through the upcoming death traps. System alerts spammed their vision. Trial of feeble legs. Crushed. The lethal acid swamp, cleared without a single scratch. Even the bloodthirsty Red Bear pack got completely wiped out, scoring everyone a massive 2,000-point payout. In his past life, every single stage was a bloody nightmare, but this time he was not letting anyone die. Plus, this flawless pacing gave him time to hunt secret dungeons. His past memories basically acted as a glowing cheat map. Before his regression, finding a hidden raid meant absolutely nothing because he was too weak to clear it. But now he could solo these zones in his sleep. Unleashing his gluttony skill, he absolutely devoured the insect camp. Shadowy fangs ripped through the swarm. Above the starving prince constellation was practically drooling over the grotesque bug feast. The god praised the crunchy texture, sending literal shivers down Jong-soon's spine as he watched the cosmic being chow down. Shaking off the creepy vibes, he looted the dungeon core and immediately bailed from the scene. At this insane pace, hitting the fourth circle was just right around the corner. His thoughts broke when Park Jong-pil suddenly called out. "Wait, you tracked me down?" Jong-soon asked, genuinely surprised. "Just doing some recon, spotted your footprints and followed the trail," the guy replied casually. Jong-soon honestly hated to admit it, but this dude's tracking skills were absolute top tier. His scouting talent was no joke. Completely oblivious to Jong-soon's internal praise, Jong-pil just grinned. "Are we camping here for a bit?" he asked. "Nah, we need to head back immediately." "I already bagged the loot I needed," Jong-soon smirked, shaking his head. Suddenly, a glowing leaderboard materialized. Boom. Jong-soon was sitting pretty at rank 1, rocking 250,080 points. Staring at that massive score, Jong-pil immediately started hyping him up. "Bro, your stats are literally insane. You flex so hard it blows my mind." Ignoring the fanboy moment, Jong-soon just narrowed his eyes and thought. Farming hidden pieces made grabbing first place a breeze. But this cursed tower always hid absolute monsters. Some players were just built differently. Trust fund kids of the system, blessed by overpowered constellations from day one. Snapping back to reality, he nodded. "Let us move. Hop on the White Wolf with me. My riding skills leveled up, so we are going to fly." Just like that, the journey blurred past them. Flash forward, the battered squad finally dragged themselves out of the horrific screaming forest. Thank God, it is over. What the actual heck was that screeching? My eardrums are literally bleeding, the party groaned in pure agony. Yuseo immediately stepped up to command the exhausted crew. "Amazing push, everyone. Take a breather and fix the battle formation." "You popped off too, Yisung," he just smiled back. "We survived because this team actually covers each other." Meanwhile, Jong-soon chilled against a tree trunk, quietly analyzing his squad's dynamic. The despair in their eyes was gone. Slaying monsters together had seriously boosted their confidence and raw stats. Feeling a little too confident, Yuseo and Han Cheol marched over, practically begging for a spar. "I want a duel. Count me in, after I pass out these rations." Seeing them actively asking to get humbled, Jong-soon just smirked. These two battle maniacs never changed. Their latent potential was so insane that mentoring them was actually getting fun. "We are taking a rain check today." Jong-soon casually rejected them, leaving the hulking warrior visibly confused. "Wait, why?" "Because we basically hit the finish line." System Alert Guide, Chapter 2, Final Destination Reached. Ding, you have successfully arrived at the safe zone. Massive congratulations on clearing Chapter 2 of the Survival Guide. Every single surviving player is hereby rewarded a massive 4,000-point bounty. Speedrun bonus unlocked. For obliterating the time limit, all members receive a bonus payout of 4,000 points. The back-to-back alerts shocked the squad. "Wait, we are already here. Holy crap, we actually survived." They cheered, dropping to their knees in pure relief. But Jong-soon just stared at the glowing blue text, calculating. "No global ranking announcement, so I lost first place. Another sweaty squad definitely speedran the objective while we farmed side quests. A slight bummer, sure, but the overpowered loot and hidden fragment points we secured totally outscale a temporary rank. I will happily take this massive win," he concluded, a confident smirk playing on his lips. Right on cue, the system started spamming even more golden notifications, thanks to their absolute record-breaking clear time. Bonus perks unlock for the final stretch. Use this crucial countdown to lock down your ultimate stronghold. By slaughtering beasts, you'll literally farm 1.5 times the XP. System Alert Collision Zone Countdown 113 hours 17 minutes. Our resident medic Lee Hanu completely froze up, raw panic instantly flashing across her trembling eyes. "Collision. Hold the fort. What's the play here?" "Juso, are we totally doomed?" Yisong desperately demanded. Hearing this, our fierce female captain just narrowed her eyes, completely clueless about Chapter 3's twisted hidden mechanics. But a split second later, blood-curdling beastly roars violently ripped through the surrounding dead silence. Freaking owlmen, rabid dwarves, and full-blown werewolves. "Are we seriously boxed in?" Park Jong-pil shrieked, literal tears streaming down. Facing this absolute nightmare, our boy Jong-soo boldly stepped up, instantly charging his lethal Ice Wave spell. This Blue Tower Frost Strike literally manifests a raging tsunami of razor-sharp icicles to obliterate any target. The Black Tower's dark principles completely turbocharged this absolute frost wave's pure destructive output. Right then, Jongsu casually flicked his wrist, summoning an insane arsenal of floating, jagged ice spikes. Without hesitating, he unleashed the entire frozen barrage, blasting them forward like literal missiles, completely obliterating the brainless monster swarm charging at them. Into absolute Swiss cheese, their bodies instantly froze before shattering into icy dust midair. The constellation's starving prince practically drooled over this brutal slaughter, calling it a spicy new gourmet recipe. Barely breaking a sweat, Jongsu smoothly turned around, ordering the squad to push deep into the zone while time remained. Following his absolute lead, the party aggressively pushed deeper into the danger zone, and along the way, an ungodly amount of beasts got completely vaporized by Jongsu. He's actually broken Captain Juso, thought totally awestruck. Just down the road, classic Park Jong-pil was drifting his ride aggressively, pulling massive mob aggro. Bro, the ultimate mob train is here. High-tier farming means rounding them all up, he smirked wickedly, perfectly kiting a massive horde of rabid goblins straight into the ultimate kill zone. Jong-su simply aimed his palm and nuked them back to the Stone Age with one brutal blast. We good yet moving like this. We'll hit the inner core soon. The system's Chapter 3 collision phase is a pure deathmatch. Only 50% of players reaching the goal actually survive. Chapter 3, meaning brutal guild wars are absolutely guaranteed. The literal finish line is going to devolve into an apocalyptic bloodbath with every surviving squad clashing. We desperately need to lock down a frontline vantage point first, he strategized, his expression turning ice cold. Cut to the skyline. Right then, a highly suspicious eagle ominously circled the cursed woods below, making the starving prince actively salivate over a fresh exotic snack. But this wasn't some random bird, it was a totally hijacked surveillance familiar. Haha, is that our prey? A shadowy figure snickered. Yeah, these targets definitely earned the deity's gaze. The constellation Yangjin's strange rebellion flashed its dark approval, radiating a suffocating aura of wrath. That creepy goat-headed freak aggressively barked orders at his loyal beggar sect chief. The underlying motive remained super sketchy, yet the cultist blindly obeyed without skipping a beat. No idea why you loathe them, but when a divine boss makes demands, it's basically a guaranteed horror show. Smirking, he pressed the cursed flute to his lips, playing a bone-chilling melody. Instantly, endless mutated nightmares gathered around him, eagerly awaiting their master's twisted signal. Meanwhile, with Jongsu's squad surviving, 2 straight days of non-stop grinding finally pushed them halfway there. It wasn't just Jusio, the whole crew's combat stats had skyrocketed. Honestly, 0 Hour was basically here. Realizing this, he quickly popped open the greed treasure, syncing it with the Jobo's ear skill, a cave-dwelling mutant beast, rocking broken radar like hearing and tracking specs. Lore says their maxed-out perception tracks hidden loot by simply listening to the cavern walls. Right as the skill sync finished, our absolute unit of an MC caught the soul-leaving screech of his bro Park Jong-pil. Boss help, he wildly sobbed, dragging an apocalyptic wave of mutants straight toward them. Shadow wolves and psycho owls were literally breathing down his neck. Jongsu visibly flinched. What the actual hell? This massive spawn rate isn't normal at all. Wait, is that Pan's cursed flute? Why is that psycho's death melody playing here? Jongsu mentally panicked, all color draining from his face. Fate really dragged me back into his crosshairs. Pan the demonic goat orchestrating pure chaos. In my past life, he was the very first cosmic entity to sponsor my pathetic struggle for survival. And to satisfy his sick amusement, I blindly executed every single twisted task, literally playing his fatal games. But I got absolutely scammed. I was nothing but a cheap, disposable pawn. The second that deity lost interest, he abandoned me. Remembering his past life naivety, white-hot fury practically boiled in Jongsun's veins. Forcing his racing heartbeat to steady, he strategized. Why target him in this timeline? He had not even crossed paths with Pan yet. Hold up, was it possible Jongsun froze memories of the star being Pan's petty track record flashing through his mind, cutting off ties with every low-tier cosmic entity? The missing puzzle pieces violently smashed together. It all made perfect sense. Mammon completely shattered his fragile ego, so now that salty deity demanded absolute payback. Truth revealed, Jongsun instantly unleashed a devastating lightning storm entirely, vaporizing the monster swarm in a blinding flash. Still, the regression hero knew the brutal truth. This catastrophic nightmare was not even close to finishing. I have to obliterate the root cause, but will my squad survive my absence? He whipped his head around, anxiety spiking. Heavyweight Han Chiol triggered his war declaration skill, his massive frame detonating with a truly suffocating, unstoppable battle aura. Reading his leader's mind, the tank gave a fierce nod. I will lock down the vanguard, leave the slaughter to me. Refusing to be sidelined, Jo Seoa stepped up. You are not soloing this, Han Chiol. She immediately ignited her tarantula footwork's second phase. She blurred forward effortlessly, shredding through the demonic front line like a hot knife gliding through butter. You have got a master plan, right, Jong-sun? Get moving, she yelled, flashing a dangerously confident smirk. Suddenly, the aggro-bait Park Jong-pyo drifted his mount nearby. Take my ride, boss. Wait, seriously. Jong-sun blinked, totally stunned. Dude, just take it. My own legs are way faster anyway. Just warn me before dropping a magical nuke next time. Message received loud and clear. Gripping the reins, Jong-sun spurred the undead beast forward, blitzing straight toward the sinister melody. Seconds later, he discovered the ragged cultist piping away perfectly shielded by a massive wall of elite Minotaur bodyguards. Jong-sun violently halted his skeletal mount. 5 terrifying Minotaurs, each radiating the suffocating presence of boss-tier threats. Spotting his prey, the ragged flutist lowered his instrument. Well, look who crashed the party ahead of schedule. Figured you would entertain my pets a bit longer. Jong-sun narrowed his eyes, noticing the fanatic's horrifically mutated physical state. Demonic horns violently pierced through his skull, while his ears had mutated into grotesque, goat-like appendages. One glance revealed the dark truth. This maniac had successfully triggered a full-blown constellation descent, channeling forbidden cosmic energy. The divine possession twisted his mortal vessel, granting him absolute dominion over these apocalyptic beasts. You totally sacrificed decades of your own lifespan to those greedy stars, did you not? Jong-sun flashed a deeply menacing smirk, his gaze piercing through the puppet to stare down the celestial puppet master. The fanatic laughed crazily. If the heavens demand it, no cost is too high. Obliterate him, my faithful servants. With that chaotic battle cry, the monstrous vanguard stampeded forward, desperate to crush our hero into bloody paste. Adrenaline spiking, our protagonist seamlessly dropped into a lethal fighting stance, a full frontal assault. Time to snipe them down. Electricity crackled around his fingertips as he blasted a surging high-voltage barrage straight at them. The shockwave paralyzed the giants mid-step. Yet watching his front line freeze, the deranged cultist merely chuckled with unsettling confidence. Come on, the final act has not even started. Smirking, the man aggressively pressed the sinister flute back to his lips. Rise from the abyss, great devourer. Instantly, the earth beneath Jong-sun's boots began to quake with catastrophic force. An utterly colossal armor-plated leviathan erupted from the bedrock jaws, snapping wildly toward its prey. Reacting flawlessly, our hero ripped open the greed treasury, instantly downloading a legendary spell known as Earthwave. This foundational Golden Tower technique manipulates gravity itself, turning solid terrain into a lethal, flesh-consuming tidal wave. Jong-sun viciously slammed his palm into the dirt, detonating a shockwave of raw mana that ripped across the battlefield. The instant that kinetic pulse slammed the subterranean beast, the sickening symphony of shattering exoskeleton echoed loudly. Observing from the stars, the goat-faced deity raged at the failed ambush. Meanwhile, Jong-sun's lethal aura hit critical mass. The star-being debaucherous satyr demands your psychological destruction, the fanatic snickered. Your will is my command, almighty master. Playing a terrifying new melody, the sound waves mutated the minotaurs. Their massive muscles bulged skin, glowing a demonic blood-soaked crimson. Absolute frenzy. It was the dreaded rage mode, the exact same deadly buff that terrifying wolf boss popped back in Chapter 1. What is the optimal play here? Standard magic will not pierce that buff. Jong-sun's mind raced, analyzing the threat. But just as the situation turned dire, his godly backer Mammon, spectating from above, decided it was time to intervene. The legendary constellation Mammon has initiated a temporary game-changing descent. The loaned artifact has arrived. The constellation Mammon demands you immediately obliterate that filthy horned trash. Instantly, the legendary blade Durandal materialized within Jong-sun's grasp, igniting a fierce surge of absolute confidence. I will gladly put this masterpiece to work. Across the battlefield, the blood-crazed Minotaur bulldozed forward, launching a devastating hook. Jong-sun did not flinch, rocketing straight ahead to butcher the massive beast. Supreme Polarity Sword Art redirect their momentum to crush them. He calculated this flawlessly while blurring past. Gliding his radiant blade against the incoming strike, he brilliantly redirected the massive fist into the neighboring monster's skull. Caught completely off guard by the friendly fire, the second Minotaur was launched across the arena like a broken toy. While the remaining brute stood paralyzed by shock, Jong-sun exploded off the ground, vaulting high into the sky. Harnessing gravity's pull, he rained down a catastrophic slash designed to execute both towering monsters simultaneously. Game over, he whispered coldly. Instantly, both Minotaur bodies detonated into a bloody mist like triggered explosives, leaving the beggar chief completely petrified. Checkmate, Jong-sun declared, pressing the razor-sharp edge of Durandal against the cultist's throat. Meanwhile, watching its chosen vessel fail so miserably, the goat-headed deity descended into absolute madness, shrieking furiously. The constellation debaucherous satyr shrieks in utter denial, commanding its broken servant to rise up immediately. The constellation Mammon demands you execute the monster instantly and reclaim the holy divine sword. Refocusing, Jong-sun glared down at the defeated beggar chief who was currently convulsing and foaming at the mouth. Maintaining total vigilance, he mentally noted, Pan's pathetic puppet is crushed. But my mission is far from over. A deadly smirk crept across Jong Sun's face as he openly started trash-talking the Celestial Watcher. Pathetic. A supposed god, desperately possessing a mortal, just to settle a petty grudge. His words dripped with such heavy venom that the furious goat deity froze in pure shock. The constellation debaucherous satyr is deeply rattled, questioning if you dare address its divine presence. Jong Sun casually shrugged. Obviously, I mean you. You boast immense pride, yet completely lack the spine to confront the Demon King. So you pathetically hide behind a human vessel, right? Triggered by this absolute truth, the deity's expression morphed into a horrifying scowl. The constellation debaucherous satyr is absolutely stunned that a mere mortal dares to provoke it. Simultaneously, it unleashed a crushing celestial aura, attempting to suffocate Jong Sun beneath the overwhelming pressure of a true deity. Yet the young hunter didn't flinch or show a single ounce of fear. What did I strike a nerve? If you're so tilted, why don't you go cry directly to Mammon right now? Jong Sun mocked relentlessly. Right on cue, the majestic, terrifying silhouette of the constellation Mammon materialized directly behind him, issuing an undisputed challenge. The constellation Mammon unfurls its abyssal black wings, arrogantly daring the goat god to approach. The debaucherous satyr's face burned a toxic, furious red, practically vibrating with explosive rage. Meanwhile, our protagonist clearly held a deep-seated grudge, refusing to hold back. He mercilessly continued, verbally destroying the celestial coward. Zero real power, yet you terrorize mortals using your daddy's influence. I'm honestly amazed a celestial being could act this pathetic. He laughed with vicious mockery. That specific insult officially shattered the goat deity's last remaining shred of sanity. Abandoning all logic, it violently pumped raw divine energy directly into the broken vessel, sparking a horrific, flesh-twisting physical mutation. Veins pulsed violently. Human limbs grotesquely snapped into hooved goat legs, completing the vile metamorphosis into a monstrous hybrid. This meant the constellation debaucherous satyr was forcefully attempting a direct bodily descent. A descent occurs when a god physically possesses a worshipper to manipulate the tower, an absolute deeply forbidden taboo. Directly hacking the tower's rules triggers brutal penalties. First, the deity instantly suffers a massive rank demotion for breaking causality. Second, it alerts the entire system and rival gods. But their biggest fear, the catastrophic permanent damage suffered if killed during possession. This severe penalty is exactly why sane constellations never physically descend into their mortal followers. However, that idiotic horned deity wasn't thinking rationally. Blinded by pure, unadulterated fury, it possessed a single obsessive goal: manifest directly before Jong Sun and violently rip him apart. Yet a forced descent is far from invincible. A fragile human vessel severely limits a god's true strength, and fundamentally, this pathetic goat was already a bottom-tier constellation. So despite forcing a forbidden descent, it remained entirely incapable of defeating Jong Sunday. The precise second divine energy flooded the vessel. Jong Sun vanished instantly, reappearing to drag Durendal's edge across the mutant's throat. He severed the beast's head with a flawlessly clean strike. In its final moments, the monster could only wail in agony before its divine tether completely snapped. The constellation Capricious Goat has catastrophically failed its descent. A massive portion of its divine rank has permanently collapsed. The deity's descending energy completely vanished. System alerts relentlessly spammed across his vision. Even brutally decapitated, that freaky goat head refused to die just yet. Right before getting violently evicted from its mortal vessel, the beast spat one final venomous warning at Jong Sun. "I'll never forgive you," it screeched. Jong Sun simply glared back, his voice freezing cold. "Well, who told you to recklessly descend in broad daylight?" Without hesitation, he unleashed his gluttony authority. Grotesque maws ripped open in midair, locking onto the goat and plunging the beast into absolute terror. The horrifying pressure radiating from those jaws made the deity shiver like crazy. "Wait, what the hell are you doing? If you devour me, my father will literally obliterate you," it howled desperately, praying the hunter would back down. But Jong Sun was totally locked in. There was zero chance he was slamming the brakes now. Instantly, the jagged, fang-filled void lunged forward, violently inhaling the goat's fleshy remains. The second that divine meat hit its tongue, the demonic entity went absolutely feral. The constellation Prince of Starvation roared, "Man, it's been ages since I feasted on something this exquisite." The jaws stretched to an impossible size. Right then, even the dumbest deity would finally realize how incredibly screwed they were. Jong Sun possessed two top-tier constellation sponsors. "This is absolutely impossible. How the heck did you steal two divine authorities?" it shrieked, in total meltdown. But before any explanation could drop, the abyssal mouth violently snapped shut, consuming the god entirely. The constellation Capricious Goat has officially plummeted below the minimum rank. Due to this catastrophic rank drop, the fallen star instantly lost all system privileges. The Prince of Starvation casually noted that while the texture was kinda weird, the rich god-tier flavor hit completely different. Satisfied, the demonic glutton unleashed a thunderous burp, leaving our main character standing there totally dumbfounded. Honestly, just a second ago when he triggered his gluttony authority to devour a literal god, Jong-soon was secretly sweating bullets. He seriously doubted whether Beelzebub could stomach a divine entity's rank. But miraculously, this insane gamble perfectly paid off. Whoa. Watching nearby, the patron of wealth excitedly chimed in. You're literally the first human to slaughter a deity right inside the tutorial phase. The god shook his head in absolute disbelief. Meanwhile, after literally eating a god, Jong-soon felt slightly thrown off when 0 stat boost notifications popped up on his screen. Hold up, why isn't the stat leeching kicking in? He muttered. Glancing sideways, his eyes immediately locked onto the ancient pipes, abandoned by that defeated beggar sect leader earlier. Staring intensely at the relic, a holographic system window instantly materialized before him. Fairy's instrument. Type musical gear. Grade B. A mystical windpipe woven from magical reeds. Packed with the core energy of a holy relic, it pulses with the god Pan's essence. First skill, Seduction. Dominates beast-type monsters based on your actual playing skill. Second ability, Fear Resonance. Strikes absolute terror into enemies scaling with musical mastery. Third skill, Chaotic Cry. Plunges targets into severe psychological chaos based on performance stats. Reading these broken specs, Jong-soon's eyes practically glowed with hype. Damn, this is super sick. It's a replica exactly like the legendary blade Durandal. Though that performance skill requirement is kinda tricky. Whatever, it's definitely going to carry me later. Smirking, Jong-soon safely tucked the mystical pipes inside his spatial inventory. The exact second it vanished, a massive system alert violently hijacked his vision. You have flawlessly consumed the god Pan's celestial rank. Divine nutrient digestion has permanently boosted all basic stats by 10. Assimilation of Pan, the god of shepherds, is fully complete. You have been granted the legendary stigma of the forest god. As that epic alert echoed, the back of Jong-soon's right hand suddenly erupted in blinding divine energy. Searing into his skin, it began manifesting, an incredibly badass demonic goat skull tattoo. Drawing on his massive webtoon knowledge, Jong-soon instantly recognized the sheer magnitude of this insane brand. A literal divine stigma, an overpowered mark gifted exclusively to heaven's chosen champions. It was pure godly energy, forcefully shattering human-level caps. I literally never expected to score a stigma this early. This gluttony authority is straight up broken. If I just keep snacking on other arrogant deities like this, the scaling will be infinite. Jong-soon smirked at his own crazy theory. Completely oblivious to his dark ambitions, the system rapidly bombarded him with more blue screens. Divine Stigma data unlocked. The Forest God's sealed stigma. Classification, Divine Stigma. Current level unranked. A godly crest overflowing with the god Pan's wild energy. The undisputed ruler of nature, and shepherds packing insane dormant potential. Skills 1, 2, and 3 remain currently locked. Currently processing rank assimilation. By devouring more celestial nutrients via the gluttony skill, or clearing hidden system quests, this stolen divine power will forcefully evolve. Honestly, the stigma being temporarily locked didn't even faze our main character. Whatever this is, totally fine. I'm just going to spam this gluttony power from now on. What began as petty payback against Pan had suddenly mutated into the ultimate jackpot. A cocky grin spread across his face. Time to head back. Especially since this loot was way beyond my wildest dreams. Meanwhile, Seoa's squad was fighting tooth and nail against an endless monster horde commanded by that goat freak. Despite the crushing pressure, the squad held their ground, executing their battle formation flawlessly. Damn it. Another endless monster wave. A young fighter cursed. But hey, aren't we leagues stronger than before? Hell yeah we are, another warrior shouted. A teammate hollered back, plunging their blade deep into a charging beast's stomach. The real reason their defensive line hadn't collapsed. It was all thanks to Bake Gun and Lee Ha-eun's insane teamwork. Alongside Jong-sun's undead army, Ha-eun unlocked a terrifying new skill. A power that controlled blood itself, causing massive hemorrhaging. After shredding the beasts blocking her path, her loyal followers cheered together. Ha-eun just exhaled, catching her breath. She smiled brightly, glancing up to thank her divine patron. Thank you, Mr. Matt Bagel. The mighty Leo constellation awkwardly cleared his throat, looking away while muttering that she owed him nothing. Across the bloody battlefield, Park Jong-pil suddenly paused mid-swing. An eerie yet beautiful melody drifted through the chaos. What the hell is that noise? Jong-pil muttered. The haunting tune echoed across the war zone, and the moment it hit, the relentless monster horde completely snapped. Instead of rushing the humans, they violently turned on each other. Coa froze in pure shock. It looks like the entire beast army has completely lost their minds. There is only one guy capable of this. A soft smirk touched her lips. Rewind a few minutes right after obliterating the goat boss. Jong-sun had leaped onto the skeletal wolf Jong-pil gave him, tearing across the terrain to regroup with his squad. Anxiety gnawed at him. How is everyone holding up? Please tell me nobody died, he prayed silently. But as he crashed the scene, his jaw nearly dropped. His team was absolutely dominating the battlefield. These guys are seriously badass. I totally thought they would get wiped out by this insane monster wave. Looks like they totally held the front line without me. Still, dropping a little support buff wouldn't hurt anyone. With a swift motion, Jong Sun pulled the mind control flute from his system inventory, then unlocked the blind demon's vault. He yanked out a legendary score called Turbulent Sea, an epic battle anthem forged by the Naga, the half-snake warriors, designed to absolutely crush enemy forces. This divine melody ignites pure courage in allies, while terrifying foes. Instantly, his squad's morale blasted through the roof. Meanwhile, the monster front line completely collapsed into total chaos. The beast army was ruthlessly pushed back. Within seconds, the powerhouse Han Chul delivered a devastating lethal strike. He obliterated the final beast, charging them. Immediately, a glowing blue system prompt materialized in the air. Surprise quest cleared. Revenge of the Forest Spirit completely thwarted. Staring at the floating text, Jong-sun smirked, totally satisfied. That bastard Pan's master plan just went up in flames. Right on cue. Co-ah spotted his grand return and sprinted over with bright eyes. Jong-sun, I knew that was you. Thanks for the insane assist. Jong-sun just shrugged off the praise. No big deal, you guys had it under control, he replied smoothly. Suddenly, his dramatic junior Jong Pil charged at him, looking desperate for a giant bear hug. Boss, I never doubted your absolute greatness. Seeing this cringe attack, Jong-sun swiftly shot his hand out, palming his subordinate's face to block the embarrassing hug. Seriously, before I regressed, this punk's attitude was garbage. I absolutely hated his guts. But in this second life, he is growing on me. Plus, he is a damn useful pawn. Shaking off the thought, Jong-sun nodded. Right, thanks for the ride. Here is your white wolf back. Hold up the white wolf. Why did the color change? Jong Pil stammered. The pristine bone wolf was now glowing a deep rusted crimson. And obviously, Jong-sun was the culprit behind this cursed paint job. My bad, I heavily abused a divine relic to turbo boost my speed. Because of that insane friction, the poor thing turned permanently red. Basically, he had pushed the undead mount so far past its absolute limits. It literally cooked its own bones. Just like the legendary red hare, the mythical steed of the mighty warlord Lubu, a phantom beast that charged into hell and claimed victory. Holy crap, it actually turned red. Jong Pil screamed, completely fanboying over his terrifying new ride. Meanwhile, the overpowered main character just rubbed his neck awkwardly. My bad, man. I probably pushed the poor guy way too hard. Boss, how did you know my aesthetic? Ha ha ha. From today on I dub thee the Blood Wolf, Jong Pil cheered. The guy was absolutely obsessed with his ride's new crimson glow. Jong-sun watched Park Jong-pil beaming with joy, totally hating to be the buzzkill. But reality called. He stepped up, warning him that the flashy aesthetic wasn't the problem. That beast was completely drained from pure exhaustion. One wrong move and it would crumble. Catching their chat, Baiken casually strolled over, offering to help. Want me to check it out? Park Jong-pil chuckled, hyping him up as their resident skeleton master. His eyes sparkled, praying. His epic mount wasn't doomed. Stepping into the spotlight, the newcomer kept it brief. The name is Baiken. Without missing a beat, his eyes scanned every inch of the Crimson Wolf, instantly dropping his expert analysis. The base stats dropped a bit, but that bone density way harder than before. However, zero muscle mass creates a massive flaw. Every single hit strikes straight to the bone core, the medic explained. Soaking in the info, the proud owner stood nearby. Park Jong-pil couldn't stop flexing his awesome beast. This Crimson Wolf is top tier. You gifted it to me, so I am guarding it with my life. Oh, absolutely. The flex is real. That skeletal frame is basically built like a tank, Baiken agreed. He gently patted the wolf's terrifying skull. Meanwhile, Jong-sun just stared. Two grown men, totally geeking out over walking skeletal remains. The sheer weirdness sent shivers down his spine, so he silently backed away. Time is ticking. Let us wrap this up. We need to keep pushing forward. Treat that crimson beast right, Jong-sun muttered. Scanning the harsh terrain, he locked eyes with their commander. Sayla, the second we are geared up, we march. Got it. Sayla gave a firm, reassuring nod. Just one more day until we hit the destination. With the squad reformed and energy bars slightly refilled, the crew mobilized, eventually hitting a massive vertically dropping gorge, peering over the terrifying edge. Our guy. Park Jong-pil stared into the abyss, literal ice in his veins. This drop is insane. The bottom is literally swallowed by darkness. Stepping up, Sayla broke the silence. We are claiming this spot as our stronghold, right? Catching her drift. The main character turned, confirming the strat. Exactly. With this massive drop protecting our six, holding the line becomes a breeze, he declared. His gaze shifted toward the horizon, mind racing with heavy calculations. This exact ridge acts as the ultimate border for the third phase. It does not matter how overpowered my stats are. Crossing this barrier is impossible. which perfectly guarantees 0 backstabs from the rear. The vast majority of challengers will inevitably bleed out right at the entrance. Planting our flag here basically guarantees we survive this brutal trial. At least that was the master plan. But after Pan pulled that wild stunt, other cosmic gods probably want my head on a silver platter too. Those constellations might literally command their loyal pawns to hunt me down. Slipping up means death, Jongsun mentally warned himself, his blood still boiling over that arrogant goat-faced deity's ridiculous stunt. Sela, totally synced with the strategy, immediately vaulted downward to command the squad, alongside Han Aji and Han Da-un. Time to build this fortress. Oh, absolutely. My hands have been itching for some real action. Time to unleash our true potential. The twin sister cheered, totally hyped up. Han Aji flagged down their leader with a quick wave. Hey, mind farming some timber for the build? On it, Jongsun agreed instantly. Count me in for the grind. Same here, Han Cheol and Park Jongpil loudly volunteered. But before the logging squad could even move an inch, a chilling system alert violently flashed before their eyes. Phase 3 initiates now. The bloodbath. Stay alive until exactly 50% of players are wiped out. Current rule set active. Killing a player transfers all their earned loot and stats directly to you. Staring at the blue screen, absolute dread froze the team. Only Jongsun, a veteran of this nightmare, kept his aura completely chill. The mission parameters were brutally simple in his mind. Do whatever it takes to live. The outer woods must be turning into an absolute slaughterhouse right now, he whispered darkly. His intuition was dead on. Pure chaos had erupted deep within the trees, players mercilessly tearing each other to shreds for survival. Hold up, why is everyone suddenly turning into bloodthirsty monsters? A random newbie stammered, his face drained of all color. Stepping from the shadows to answer that clueless cry, a veteran player smirked. Are you seriously that dense? This exact rule is why your entire squad is already dead. Wait, please. Do you have any idea how much I suffered to reach? This point, the rookie begged frantically, causing his killer to basically die, laughing at the sheer pathetic display. Like I give a damn. One more skull added to my count secures my survival, making you the perfect stepping stone. Gripping his blade with murderous intent, the hunter launched himself like a missile at his helpless prey. And just like that, blood-curdling shrieks became the new soundtrack of the dying forest. Meanwhile, the camera cuts elsewhere. A lone wolf was getting divine coordinates, straight from a cosmic sponsor. The silver-haired deity screamed, declaring this was the ultimate window to strike. The guy lowered his voice, dropping a heavy question. If I crush him, do I actually secure your power? The silver-haired constellation glared, eyes practically rolling back in pure rage. You seriously have the guts to question my divine word? That furious reaction was all the confirmation he needed. Say less. I won't just crush him. I will obliterate his whole squad, he smirked. Jongsun's gut feeling about greedy constellations putting a target on his back was absolutely spot on. Meanwhile, this nameless attacker's heavenly sponsor wouldn't shut up. The boomer constellation screeched from the heavens demanding action. Stop wasting time. Flex your real strength. As a hot-blooded guy, getting bossed around like a cheap mercenary obviously made his blood boil. Who likes being treated like a disposable pawn by some ancient relic? He kept his mouth shut in reality. But internally, he was roasting the geezer's entire bloodline. This toxic boomer I am, nobody's lapdog, you stuck-up celestial freak. I only played along for the buff, but now you are micromanaging my every move like a control freak. Just you watch. The second I secure my own stats, I am permanently kicking this toxic trash tier constellation. Straight in the trash, his jaw clenched so tight his teeth literally ground together. Shaking off the rage, he locked his focus back onto ambushing Jongsun's crew. Whatever those guys pushed way too deep into this zone. How did they even survive all those monster swarms? A lackey muttered. Suddenly, the youngest squad member caught a wild detail ahead, wildly pointing it out. Boss, you need to see this. Following the kid's pointed finger, the leader's blood ran completely cold. Are you kidding me? Did these psychos construct a literal fortress? He froze in pure panic for a second, mentally pinging his sponsor. Hey, almighty constellation, what the heck are we looking at? Instead of dropping useful lore, the cranky sky boomer just roasted him with absolutely zero hesitation. Why are you just standing there, Breach? The old man barked. Glaring at the system prompt, the leader swallowed his pride. When a cosmic sugar daddy holds your leash, you simply have to obey. Heavily reliant on those borrowed buffs, he swallowed his raging pride and rallied his entire strike team for the desperate push. Listen up, they are backed against a massive cliff. One solid push, and we take the win, hyping them up. He white-knuckled his spear and fully initiated the raid. But seconds before his weapon even tasted the wooden barricades, his entire body crashed hard into an unseen energy barrier, cartoonishly flattening his face against the crackling force field. What is this glitch? A protective ward, the leader grunted nervously, tapping the crackling invisible wall of energy. Before they could even process the invisible trap, a lethal storm of arrows erupted from the stronghold. The mastermind behind this defense was Zhang Sun naturally. Deep inside the walls, he pressed his palm to the dirt, fueling a glowing, ultra-rare runic circle. System alert, Greed's treasure is live. Camelder's defense origin initiated. This was an elite ward crafted by Camelder, a legendary Black Tower commander. It burned through mana incredibly fast, but guaranteed absolute immunity against any raid attempt. Even though Sela and Li Hannon were totally used to Zhang Sun's overpowered hacks, this massive sky-high force field left them completely and utterly speechless. They seriously could not mask their dropped jaws. "Dude, how is that even physically possible?" Sela gasped, flashing a very confident smirk. Zhang Sun flexed the twin mana cores he looted from that previous goblin raid, casually explaining his cheat code. "Just a little souvenir I grabbed from our last goblin massacre. By feeding these rare high-tier cores directly into the defensive array, he basically supercharged Camelder's barrier. Without them, it would shatter instantly, but with this massive mana injection, they bought a solid 5 minutes of invincibility." Sela beamed at him. No matter how bad the crisis, their main character always pulled a genius countermeasure out of nowhere, leaving the fierce guild leader smiling like crazy. "You never fail to blow my mind, Zhang Sunday. Are you a time traveler or something?" she joked. That accidental bullseye made him sweat nervously. He quickly fake coughed to dodge the question. "Less talking, more blasting. Give the attack signal. This shield is draining fast." Snapping back into battle mode, Sela roared her command. "Squad prep for heavy retaliation." "Roger that," the crew yelled. The rumble of heavy wooden wheels echoed as they deployed an absolute beast of a catapult. "Base defense, 1-to-1, you always have to bring heavy siege weapons." Hanaji laughed manically. "All right, let it rain," Handan screamed. The massive timber arm snapped forward with terrifying kinetic force, launching a colossal boulder into the sky at breakneck speed. Down below, the clueless raiders were still scratching their heads over the barrier. Suddenly, a massive boulder shadow eclipsed the sun. Boom. In the next second, their entire formation was vaporized by the counterattack. Little sister Han Da-woon pumped her fists, absolutely hyped. The crazy plan actually worked. Older sister Hana-ji smirked. "Told you my strategy would absolutely dominate out here." Refusing to let the twins flex alone, the absolute unit Han Tae-ho launched a spear with terrifying force. His monstrous strength turned that basic weapon into a literal missile. Meanwhile, Zhang Sun wanted this battle over. Sitting back wasn't his style. "If that dude is a human siege weapon, I gotta step up my game." Mana surged into his palm as Zhang Sun ignited a massive blazing fireball spell. Boosted by the Black Tower's dark magic, he unleashed a roaring inferno straight into the enemy lines. The blast obliterated the invaders instantly. "Don't retreat, smash their defenses," the enemy captain roared in desperation. Using his detection skills, Zhang Sun spotted an absolute swarm of hostile players pouring out of the tree line. More enemies. Crazy how many constellations despise mammon. "But hey, this just means infinite farming for my achievements," he muttered with a smirk. Accessing the treasure of greed, Zhang Sun summoned a massive, intimidating bow. He instantly equipped the Grand Empire archery technique, an ancient combat art forged to create elite marksmen, a power that once terrified entire nations. Gripping the weapon, Zhang Sun locked his target and pulled the string taut. The bow arched like a crescent moon before he let go. The arrow tore through the wind at blinding speed. It slammed right into the dirt near an enemy's boots. Thinking it was just a pathetic missed shot, the squad instantly dropped their guard. "Wow, garbage aim. This dude is totally overhyped." They mocked, completely clueless about the absolute nightmare awaiting them. Because a split second later, the embedded arrow pulsed with a blinding light. Suddenly, an earth-shattering explosion erupted, swallowing the battlefield in thick smoke. It hit like a literal nuke. Through the chaos, 2 system alerts instantly popped up in Zhang Sun's vision. Those 2 trash talkers were instantly wiped out. Target Kim Tae-hee eliminated. Looted 3,910 points. Target James eliminated. Looted 4,180 points. He casually reviewed his massive new score. A cold smirk crossed his face. "Decent farm, but it sucks. I can't use the gluttony skill on human players. I could only devour the Godpan contractor once he ascended to godhood. Whatever the real event is starting anyway," he whispered to the wind. Right on cue, a chilling system message flashed before every surviving player on the field. Player count reduced to 3/4. Warning. The starving ogres have now spawned on the battlefield. Zhang Sun's eyes gleamed with pure excitement. Finally, some elite mobs with way better loot than these random players. Ready to skyrocket his rank, he glanced at their leader. "Seo Hua, hold the fort down while I'm gone." Panic instantly flashed across Seo Hua's face. "Are you crazy? Venturing out solo is basically a death sentence. Actually, moving solo is optimal. If things get sketchy, I can just dip without dead weight," Zhang Sun stated bluntly. He honestly just didn't want her slowing his grind. Suddenly, the powerhouse Han Cheol stepped up. "I'm coming with you." Rejecting this absolute tank was impossible. "If it's Han Cheol watching my back, we are good," Zhang Sun figured. Summoning their terrifying skeletal mounts, the duo charged out of the safe zone. Catching the wind, Han Chul shouted out, "Are these starving ogres actually dangerous? Insanely dangerous. Even a brute like you would get crushed in a head-on clash," Zhang Sun warned casually. But instead of feeling fear, a bloodthirsty grin spread across Han Cheol's face. He was hyped. "I am so ready for this," he growled. Zhang Sun totally got why the giant was practically vibrating with excitement. The man was starving for a real challenge after basically swatting low-level mobs all week. Forcing his battle craze down, Han Cheol questioned, "So, where do we track these beasts?" Zhang Sun just flashed a dark smirk. "Relax. Even if we tried hiding, they would find us." "What the hell does that mean?" the tank asked, completely baffled. He didn't need an explanation. The horrific truth revealed itself just a few steps ahead. Towering green giants were literally crushing players barehanded. A massive, razor-sharp horn protruded from their grotesque skulls. Radiating bloodlust from glowing red eyes, these monsters were effortlessly wiping out entire squads of players in seconds. Staring at their mountain-like presence, even Han Cheol felt his confidence shatter. "What kind of nightmare is that?" he roared. Scanning the bloody massacre, Zhang Sun remained dead calm. "Seems these things have been busy farming our competition. They are swarming the entire map, and we just pulled double aggro. Whatever, we will just split them. One each." "One each," Zhang Sun declared, unsheathing a wicked bone dagger. Feeding off that absolute confidence, Han Cheol finally steadied his breathing. He tightened his grip, adrenaline surging. "I've grinded for this every single day," he thought. "The power is right here. One strike is all it's gonna take." Across the battlefield, the massive ogre locked eyes on this tiny mortal sprinting straight toward his own doom. Human the beast roared, shaking the earth. "Pitiful meat, I'm starving." Salivating, the towering monster lunged, swiping a colossal hand right at our MC, intending to crush him. Hilariously enough, a divine being watching from the cosmos was craving the exact same thing. The starving prince constellation absolutely agreed. Practically drooling over the hulking ogre like it was prime rib, he spammed an urgent system alert. Zhang Sun sighed at this cosmic glutton's obsession. Yeah, hold your horses," he muttered under his breath, triggering the treasury of greed. In a flash of golden light, he extracted Camille's legendary dagger art. This ultra-rare mercenary combat manual belonged to only 5 elites globally. While Camille was famous for dual wielding, she engineered this specific brutal style to shred through giant bosses with insane physical resistance. The moment he activated the skill, scroll a flood of combat experience, forcefully downloaded straight into Zhang Sun's brain. In seconds, he mastered the complex footwork like a seasoned veteran. Without wasting a single heartbeat, Zhang Sun vanished, blurring into a streak of lightning that cleanly slashed the ogre's massive wrist. Initially, the arrogant green brute sneered completely, underestimating the tiny blade's damage. "Huh, a scratch," it mocked. Suddenly, that cocky sneer morphed into a blood-curdling shriek. A crimson fountain erupted from its severed veins, showcasing the terrifying reality of Camille's art. The skill specifically hunted vital tendons to slowly bleed out colossal titans. "I'm gonna shred every last artery," Zhang Sun smirked, hijacking 15 years of blood, sweat, and tears just by clicking my inventory open. "It's my system, sure, but this feels totally broken," he laughed inwardly, instantly launching a relentless storm of phantom strikes. His blade danced across the beast's vital points. The hulking predator could only wail in agonizing despair before crashing violently into the dirt. As the dust settled, that sweet blue system panel popped up. "Target eliminated. You have slain the quest boss." The thirsty ogre. Loot acquired ogre horn. Personal contribution points boosted by 10,000. Solo kill bonus extra 5,000 points awarded. Ogre horn secured in inventory. Watching from above, the starving prince was practically panting like an excited puppy, totally mesmerized by the fresh carcass. The divine sponsor glared hungrily at the meaty prize. Completely ignoring his greedy patron, Zhang Sun just swiped through his epic loot drops. "Man, this EXP and title payout is totally mid," he sighed. "Hope Ciola's having better luck over there." Meanwhile, our absolute unit Han Chul was locked in a brutal slugfest with the second monster. "Chunky human. You're my dinner," the one-horned green giant bellowed, launching a devastating right hook. Unfazed by the incoming doom, Han Chul smirked and fired back his own monstrous punch. Boom, their knuckles clashed head-on, exploding with a shockwave that shattered the air. It was a pure, unadulterated strength check, and nobody was budging an inch. Through that single explosive impact, Han Chul completely downloaded the beast's power level. "Okay, this freak hits like a truck, but I hit harder," he grinned savagely. Pivoting on his heel, he clamped both hands around the ogre's thick wrist. Channeling every ounce of his raw power, he effortlessly judo-tossed the mountainous giant right over his shoulder, cratering it into the dirt. The heavy slam triggered a mini earthquake. Dusting his hands, the tank glanced at Zhang Sun, who was already chilling post-kill. Seeing his bro finish first, Han Chul gritted his teeth. He knew his own grind was far from over to catch up. Meanwhile, his downed opponent was apparently hungry for more pain. "Scary human, I'll crush you," the battered titan roared. getting up and barreling toward Han Chul like a runaway freight train. Staring down the stampede, Han Chul inhaled sharply. His aura flared to life as he settled perfectly into a fluid Tai Chi stance. Blind to the trap, the raging giant closed the gap and launched a meteor-like hook at his face. Han Chul just slipped past the death blow like water, punishing that massive overextension instantly. He buried a devastating counterpunch directly into the beast's exposed gut before it could even blink. The impact was so god-tier that a visible shockwave blasted straight out through the monster's spine, warping the air itself. Cutting back to Jong Sun, he just stood there observing. Instead of carrying his teammate, he wanted to witness his bro's absolute limits. He fused my Tai Chi lessons perfectly with that war incarnate buff from Agarus, he noted. His battle IQ is insane. He was an absolute menace even before the timeline regression Jong Sun analyzed with deep respect. But now he's practically a god. Still, that mana drain looks brutal. Catching Han Chul's pale, exhausted expression, Jong Sun instantly tossed him a premium stamina potion. "Chug this," he yelled. "Good looks," his friend panted. Han Chul snatched the potion with a firm nod. "We are totally going to obliterate every last starving ogre out here. You holding up all right?" Jong Sun checked in. "Obviously, stop sweating over me," Han Chul smirked, thumping his chest with pure bravado. Meanwhile, inside the system control room, a stressed-out middle-aged admin hammered his keyboard like a madman, aggressively grumbling under his breath about some massive glitch. As the tutorial manager, he was absolutely losing it. Freaking hell, this entire session is a complete disaster. What went wrong? A massive wave of overpowered rookies spawned simultaneously. Total chaos. Way too many survived, forcing me to track every single movement. This is straight-up abuse. Once Chapter 3 wraps up, the survivor count must be slashed in half. Exhausted, he slumped back into his gaming chair to finally sip his lukewarm coffee. But his peace barely lasted 2 minutes before his intercom exploded with sheer panic. "Boss, are you seeing this right now?" The sudden scream made the manager jump, barking back. "Why are you shrieking?" intimidated the rookie. Staffer swallowed hard and stuttered out his report. "Sir, someone is actually farming the starving ogres. Players Jong Sun and Kang Han Chul are literally massacring the entire mob. If they keep this slaughter up, the tutorial timeline will get completely wrecked," he panicked. Surprisingly, the boss brushed off the warning with zero sweat. "Nope, not at all. That is absolutely not the issue, you moron. Did you even read the system manual? Once 90% of those famished monsters get wiped, the real nightmare spawns. Back on the battlefield, the grim prophecy came true. Hitting that 90% kill quota instantly triggered a colossal boss summon. Every single footstep shattered the earth beneath them. This terrifying aura totally caught even our veteran protagonist off guard. A hidden boss. Even my past knowledge missed this completely. Towering above them stood a monstrous two-headed beast, dwarfing the entire horde. "Meet the brutal ogre warlord Craig. Where is my meat? I am rotting from hunger," the titan bellowed. Pure wrath contorted its grotesque faces. Terrified, the surviving underlings groveled desperately. "Master, have mercy. We failed you." Staring up at this walking mountain, Han Chul swallowed his pride, refusing to blindly rush in. He immediately checked Jong Sun for orders. "Bro, what is our play here? Looks like all the trash mobs just rallied together." Despite the insane twist, a wild, thrilling adrenaline rush suddenly flooded through the veins of our protagonist. An unrecorded boss fight. "Now, this is getting insanely fun." Smirking, he locked eyes with the giant. "Obviously, we crush this thing right now. I am taking the warlord. Keep those grunts off my back." Flooding mana into his calves, Jong Sun blasted forward like a supersonic missile. In a split second, he blitzed right past 2 frontline guards, stepping straight into the domain of Craig. The dumb grunts practically cheered. Panicking over their lack of tribute, they watched a human literally deliver himself like takeout. "Fresh meat has arrived," the monsters squealed. But before those beasts could even twitch, Han Chul violently crashed the party, walling off their entire advance. "You freaks are dealing with me," he roared, flashing a fearless grin. Entering striking range, Jong Sun completely skipped the trash talk, unleashing a devastating storm of lethal dagger strikes straight at the boss. Yet Craig was not just some overgrown brute. Defying physics, the warlord casually raised its massive iron gauntlet, perfectly parrying the lethal throat slash. Shockingly, that max speed assassination attempt did not even dent the dark metal armor. His defense is absolutely cracked, Jong Sun realized. Outraged by this human insect, all 4 demonic eyes of the warlord ignited like blood-red high beams. Boiling with murderous rage, "You pathetic little bug," the titan spat out fiercely, tightening its crushing grip around a gigantic battle axe. Realizing physical blades were practically useless against this tank, our hero instantly pivoted to his trump card spellcasting. System prompt: Black Tower secrets unlocked. Lightning chain output maximally amplified. Black Tower secrets unlocked. Ice wave perfectly boosted. Dual notifications popped as Jong Sun aggressively fused both elemental affinities together. The second his mana stabilized, he launched the devastating magic combo straight into the monster. Savage thunderbolts and razor-sharp glaciers slammed into the colossal target flash, freezing the entire arm, holding its deadly weapon. Still, this barely phased the absolute unit. Simply flexing its massive bicep, the beast completely pulverized the heavy frost. Weakness, the warlord screamed, but Zhang Sun never expected the freeze to last. He only needed a split-second distraction to set up his ultimate combo. Let us see you tank this. Smirking, he channeled every drop of remaining aura into his palms, igniting the legendary forbidden spell, Black Flame, an infamous destruction art from the Dark Mages designed to swallow enemies in unquenchable hellfire. System warning: Black Tower secrets activated. Demonic fire abilities have been supercharged. Without hesitation, our hero violently thrust his hands forward, blasting an inferno of corrupted ash straight into the warlord. Instantly, the giant vanished inside a blazing apocalyptic tempest. A sickening aroma of searing flesh filled the air. Crag shrieked in absolute agony. "It burns. You worthless little snack, I will pulverize you," Crag roared, his monstrous eyes glowing with unadulterated rage. Yet, despite those blood-curdling howls, the beast barely took a scratch. Seeing this absolute tank, Jung Soo-woon's confident smirk instantly froze. What an absolute freak of nature. I have a nasty little trick in mind. I just hope it packs enough punch. Without hesitation, he yanked a crude blade straight from his inventory. Item: Goblin Longsword. Rank E. Description: a weapon snatched from a player, looted off a goblin, yet surprisingly still ready for bloodshed. Glaring at the metallic gleam, Jung Soo-woon whispered under his breath, "Betting my life on this trash-tier loot is insanely reckless." That beast shrugged off a dagger strike like nothing. "But honestly, this cheap blade's durability means absolutely zero right now. I literally just need it to survive a single devastating swing." Suddenly, he unlocked his legendary treasury of greed. He instantly infused the trash sword with the mythical power Beowulf wielded to butcher the mother of Grendel, a legendary blade that literally fortifies through violent bloodshed. Reacting to the spell, blazing purple energy violently swallowed the steel. Yet instantly, jagged fissures spiderwebbed across the metal. A pathetic rank E item simply could not handle such god-tier magic. But Jung Soo-woon just needed it to hold together for one lethal strike. That is plenty. Meanwhile, the clueless orc boss charged ahead blindly. Completely blind to Jong Sun's hidden trump card, the beast recklessly bulldozed forward in absolute rage. "You pathetic human," it roared. But before that threat landed, our main character effortlessly unleashed a single devastating sword strike. In a flash, a brutal bone-deep gash ripped across Craglock's massive frame, instantly choking out its final roar. Unable to handle that overwhelming miasma, the goblin's longsword violently exploded into countless useless metal shards. Toxic vapor instantly engulfed the arena. Smirking at the decapitated beast, Jong Sun tasted sweet absolute victory. Its thick hide was already roasted by dark magic. "No monster survives that toxic combo," he noted with a savage grin. Right on cue, the orc chieftain's colossal carcass crashed heavily into the bloody dirt. System alert: hidden boss Craglock eliminated. Level up. Your personal honor just skyrocketed by 100,000 massive points. Craglock devoured. Nutrients absorbed. Strength boosted by 30 points. The starving prince furiously snacks, his eyes practically bulging out. Calling it a gourmet feast, the starving prince greedily inhaled the remains, his face glowing with pure foodie bliss. Jong Sun seriously questioned if this dude actually possessed any taste standards whatsoever. Shaking it off, he turned around. Han Chul had completely wrecked the remaining orcs. Our main character was genuinely impressed by the clutch play. "Yo, not bad at all. Didn't think you could solo two of those freaks," he praised. Han Chul just totally muttered under his breath, "Yeah, well, I was still way slower than your crazy clear time. Obviously bro chugged this health potion then. Let's warp back to base," he smirked, tossing over the glowing red flask. Suddenly, a glaring system pop-up crashed his vision, leaving him absolutely speechless. Tower milestone unlocked. For the very first time ever, Orc Chieftain Craglock has fallen. As an epic bonus player, Jong Sun's squad receives a free skip pass to Chapter 3's test. Staring hard at the blue screen, our main character vigorously rubbed his eyes in sheer disbelief. He squinted hard. A Chapter 3 free pass. The system was acting way too generous. This massive head start meant perfect prep time for Chapter 4. Jong Sun let out a villainous chuckle. Meanwhile, inside the chaotic admin office, the main character's insane clear record was totally panicking the game masters. "Chief, are we seriously allowing this? A free stage skip has literally never been gifted before." The rookie dev panicked. Annoyed the head, admin quickly shut down his freaking out. "Use your brain, idiot. He literally soloed Craglock. Do the math. Next thing you know, he's actively hunting down rival players. If this anomaly slaughters our top-tier VIP rookies, the ruling constellations will absolutely lose their minds." The junior dev finally realized the massive crisis. The boss nodded darkly. "Exactly. This isn't some generous reward. We are purely quarantining a glitch. Plus, skipping them ahead barely breaks the upcoming balance. Anyway, Chapter 4 is an absolute siege warfare bloodbath.